Han strolls up to the noob zone expecting a smooth entry, but the game interface absolutely loses its mind. Blinding red glitch screens and critical error pop-ups flood his vision. The anti-cheat AI flags his character for entirely bypassing the tutorial phase and leveling up through illegal methods. Without warning, the merciless system starts stripping away every single one of his 99 levels. He totally snaps, shrieking in pure agony as 2 solid decades of blood, sweat, and absolute torture vanish into thin air. When the digital dust finally settles, he pulls up his character panel, bracing for the worst. But somehow, his base attributes are still absolutely broken. Every single stat is hard-capped at 99 except for his trash luck. Only his official rank got nerfed back to level 1, slapping a hard lock on his high-tier abilities and completely ghosting his premium gear. Honestly, he couldn't care less. Packing god-tier stats like a walking cheat code climbing the ranks again is going to be an absolute breeze. In his book, this is a massive win. He flickers his holomap open and pins a brand new waypoint, Urka's, the ultimate starter town. Now, you're probably scratching your head. How did a level 99 beast just spawn out of nowhere? Flashback to 20 years ago. Little Han was just minding his own business, strolling through the Adventurer Academy when an absolute psycho of a just casually committed a felony and kidnapped him on the spot, utterly convinced this random kid was a once-in-a-generation prodigy. This power-hungry boomer made the boy his ultimate passion project. Zero mercy, 0 days off. We're talking relentless, sanity-draining physical torture from dawn till dusk. Imagine doing push-ups until your arms snap, while this dusty fossil uses your spine. It was an endless cycle of physical abuse paired with mind-numbing rants about maxing out stats and breaking the level cap. Midway through one of these savage workouts, our boy Han brings up a fun fact. The #1 global player right now is sitting at level 89. The old geezer just cackles in his face, calling that global ranker straight-up garbage. According to his twisted logic, anyone failing to hit the level 99 threshold is basically a walking NPC. The second Han dares to question this logic, he catches a decade drags by. Then 2. Han practically ages in this living nightmare, constantly questioning why he doesn't just rage quit and delete his entire account. Until finally, the decrepit master drops the bombshell that his insane curriculum is totally finished, and he is ready to kick the bucket with absolutely zero regrets. Han slaps on an Oscar-worthy performance of a grieving student, praying this dramatic death scene triggers a massive hidden quest. And boom, it totally works. The master whispers a cryptic coordinate linked to his destiny, unleashes a violently suffocating wave of pressure, and finally drops dead. And just like that, Han is finally liberated from 2 full decades of snapping back to reality. Han breaches the perimeter of the starting village, officially branded with a massive level 1 over his head. His boots hit the cobblestone streets of Urka's, and the heavy reality hits him like a truck, 20 entire years of his youth just gone. He scans the bustling town square, memories flooding back of the exact spot he aimlessly roamed as a clueless kid. Street vendors are shouting out deals, parties are chilling with food, and the entire zone is practically vibrating with life. The sheer coziness hits him right in the feels, making him realize how desperately he craves society. Touching grass again feels so incredibly good. Refusing to waste a single second, he pivots sharply and marches straight for the high-risk hunting zones past the western gates. But right before he crosses the threshold, an armored guard throws an arm out demanding a stat check. Han deadpans that he's rocking a solid level 1, completely ignoring the fact he's 26 years old. The guard's jaw practically hits the floor. Spotting a total noob in the wild, the guard desperately points toward the beginner-friendly eastern exit. He gestures widely, warning that the western front is basically a death trap for fresh spawns. Han casually tilts his head, asking if the zone is actually blocked off by an invisible wall. The guard violently shakes his head, admitting he just highly advises turning back brutally, stating that a level 1 squishy would get utterly clapped by a basic fanged rabbit. The gatekeeper continues pleading with him to go grind the safe zone. Instead, Han just flashes a dangerously arrogant smirk. Knowing he's secretly built like a tank anyway, he just keeps walking forward while the guard lets out a massive, defeated sigh, realizing this stubborn kid absolutely refuses to listen. The guard figures this guy thinks dying just means taking a quick trip back to the respawn point. Still, it's just pure, unfiltered suicide. Suddenly, a glowing quest notification chimes in his vision, and Han realizes the NPC is actually just a bro looking out for him. But now that the mission is officially locked in, he decides it's time to put on a legendary showcase. He throws up a lazy wave just as a vicious fanged rabbit rockets toward his throat. The guard panics and sprints forward, screaming at him to dodge the fatal hit, but Han doesn't even blink. He casually obliterates the beast into floating pixels with a single devastating right hook, soaking up the sweet experience points. The guard stops dead in his tracks, completely paralyzed, trying to process the absolute insanity. Didn't this kid literally just claim he was level 1? Han just throws him a subtle nod, owning it, assuming the high-level sentry should easily be able to scan player stats anyway. The guard stammers that his scanner is working perfectly, but the math just isn't mathing. His mind races wildly, guessing what kind of broken exploit this guy is actually using. This dude is absolutely carrying. Han just stands there cheesing like a total goofball, keeping his overpowered secret strictly on the down low. Suddenly, a massive bloodthirsty boar bulldozes right at them. The guard literally turns ghost white, screaming for him to fall back. But our boy doesn't even flinch, flashing a cocky smirk that practically screams, "I got this." The guard knows this monster is an absolute menace. But Han could care less about the warning. He just launches a brutal hook, flatlining the beast in a single frame, and bagging himself a sweet level up. The guard's jaw drops, his brain completely short-circuiting over how a total noob just casually one-shotted it. He stammers that Han is absolutely unhinged. Honestly, it's undeniable now. Han casually pockets the 30,000 gold payout from that ridiculously free quest. The flex feels insanely good. His real stats are chilling at a solid 99 across the entire board. He brushes off the math for later. Right now, he's locked in on grinding a way higher tier zone. A low chuckle escapes him as he strolls off, finally feeling like he clipped through the absolute nightmare his life used to be. After 20 agonizing years, his grind is finally cashing out. He prays his main character energy keeps up from this point forward. But flash forward a few days, and he gets sucked into absolute brain rot. His eyes narrow, thinking, what in the actual world is this garbage? A glowing UI pops up aggressively, accusing him of catching a body. The chaos system goes online, branding him with a murderer's icon that literally the entire server can see. Over the last couple of days, he's been dragged into the most unhinged side quests that snowballed into pure gaslighting. Out of nowhere, swarms of NPCs start jumping him. Every single one is convinced he's some notorious villain, packing a massive bounty. Then the realization hits him like a truck. But this is all because of his -99 luck stat. With RNG that's severely cursed, the entire map is hard-coded to think he's the bad guy. One mob even blindsides him, and pure muscle memory takes over, deleting the attacker on the spot. It's not like he woke up choosing violence. He's literally just surviving. But out of all the glitchy scenarios, he catches the absolute worst one. The system hardlocks him into a max chaotic tier, smothering him with toxic debuffs. He knows he's completely cooked, and the threat isn't just NPCs anymore. Real players are heavily pushing his coordinates. The sweaty tryhards chasing him are practically foaming at the mouth, screaming that he's Get Rock, the legendary psycho killer. He sprints through the alleyways, totally flabbergasted as to why they're pinning that insane tag on him. Turns out, catching a toxic tier player like him grants you the ultimate hero title. So now every clout-chasing wannabe is zeroed in on his head, all thanks to that cursed red name. He ends up trapped in a dead end with 0 escape routes. The mob completely boxes him in, barking that it's game over and telling him to just drop his gear. But throwing in the towel, not in his code, he whips around, glaring with ice-cold predatory eyes. And then 0 hesitation. A catastrophic shockwave shreds the entire street, vaporizing the whole squad in a split second. He doesn't feel a single drop of remorse. It was literally kill or be killed. Right after wiping the lobby, he drops completely off the grid. Hey, at least those griefers fed him some sweet XP. Fast forward 2 weeks, isolated deep inside a dense jungle. He opens his menu to check that nightmare of a debuff. He'll have to ghost everyone for a solid year before this red name penalty finally expires. He reasons that if the game forces him to play the villain, he's going to be a villain living out his best life in absolute luxury, being the good guy. That concept is officially deleted. With his stats capped out at level 99, literally nothing can touch him. Then a dark realization creeps in. It's actually hilarious. After 20 long years of pure agonizing torture and hardcore grinding, the game traps him in this clown show. Right when he thought he caught a break, it force-feeds him a max chaos tag with absolutely 0 heads up. He's 100% positive Zeus is griefing him right now. That scumbag deity is definitely scripting some messed up master plan to ruin him. Next morning, he wakes up to a visual so goofy he almost chokes on his own spit. A massive squad of grown men is bowing right at his feet. His brain flatlines. What in the actual Matrix is happening? An old dude, literally bawling his eyes out, announces that finally witnessing the true heir of the absolute sovereign has cured his depression, and he can finally rest in peace. They hail him as the supreme overlord of the Sky Devil faction. He just sits there completely paralyzed, processing this wild new wave of absolute chaos. Suddenly, a holographic prompt flashes right in his face, dropping a god-tier triple S class quest. The system just hard-stamped him as the undisputed king of the Sky Devil cult. Zero debate allowed. Triple S-tier missions are the absolute peak of human achievement across the entire 200-year legacy of Olympus. In all that time, they have only dropped a staggering 3 times. When the stakes are that ridiculously high, it is a no-brainer that the core storyline of a Triple S-tier mission explodes on a global world-altering scale. Our guy freezes up completely baffled, but as he stares down at every single NPC dropping to their knees, treating him like the absolute savior they have waited centuries for, it finally clicks. He has just been dragged into a massive reality-bending saga. A master plan Zeus has been secretly pulling the strings on trapping him in the web for 20 straight years. Han pulls up, the lore drops, skimming through a brutal history of 7,000 years of pure chaos. Once the bloodshed finally stopped, a fragile peace blanketed the Earth, splitting the realm into 3 massive superpower factions. The most infamous of the bunch was Centinea, ruled by a ruthless tyrant known as Grazia Mentis, who casually flexed a harem of 14 wives. His 7th wife birthed an heir who passed down the bloodline, keeping this toxic generational cycle spinning for ages. Honestly, looking at these ancient dudes still kissing the dirt at his feet, our boy realizes he totally cannot hit the skip cutscene button right now. Not wanting to catch heat for being disrespectful, he keeps scrolling the archives, uncovering the dark rise of Shurtera, the ultimate overlord of that era. Shurtera was basically built different, having absorbed literal demon blood to become the most savage, overpowered menace in history. Legend says every top-tier hero was terrified of his aura until a massive uprising finally took him down using a desperate, sneaky honey trap. But they did not finish the job. Surviving the ambush, Shurtera dragged himself into a hidden cavern to lay low and grind his stats back up. A massive plot twist hits Han like a truck. His own quirky old mentor, yeah, he is literally Shurtera's direct bloodline. The system suddenly pings, flashing the exact milestone checklist he needs to knock out for this epic quest. Based on the vibes, Han figures his next drop zone has to be Seoul. He glances back down at the trembling boomers and questions if they are actually the legendary Sky Devil veterans. Their head honcho literally slams his forehead into the pavement, sobbing out a yes and praising Han for acknowledging their existence. Meanwhile, our guy is secretly sweating just trying to dodge this unhinged questline. He has absolutely zero clue who these grandpas are. Faking it till he makes it, Han smoothly lies, claiming his master prophesied he would boss up and to bring back their villainous prime era and dominate the entire continent once again. The elders instantly burst into literal waterfalls of tears, aggressively bowing in pure unfiltered hype. It dawns on Han that this is the infamous Council of Seven, and they are now his ultimate ride-or-die squad. Stepping into his CEO era, he commands one of them to clear the path. The old man stands tall, casually dropping the fact that he already wiped out the entire swarm of annoying roaches that were plotting to jump our protagonist. The exact second Han officially parties up with this overpowered squad, a radiant aura explodes from his body. Boom, instant power up, straight to level 9. Han's mind is blown trying to imagine the absolute boss-tier monsters these guys used to farm back in the day. Locking eyes with one of the veterans, he asks for his tag. The boomer respectfully introduces himself as Luxo, proudly claiming the rank of Prime Elder. Han locks in, dropping the news that they have a major operation ahead. Luxo bows low, completely ready to catch whatever orders his new boss throws. But Han hits him with a harsh reality, revealing his account is stuck under a nasty debuff. Despite perfectly following his mentor's guidebook, his master's overpowered. His brain has all the combat combos memorized, but Luxo gives a slow nod, admitting he already sensed the massive nerf. But Han smoothly flips the script to calm the squad down. He drops a crazy charisma check, telling his crew to bet on him because he is the undisputed king of this game. Swearing on his life, he promises to drag this entire squad out of the shadows. The veterans start gearing up for war, chanting Han's name like he is their actual god. A system prompt chimes in, confirming the Sky Devil faction's loyalty stats just spiked to the moon. Han flashes a wicked smirk, deciding it is finally time to push forward and storm their next checkpoint. Meanwhile, pulling off his headset in the real world, Han strolls into the kitchen to grab a quick caffeine fix, immediately crossing paths with his little sister Hansea. She excitedly brags about her guild clutching a massive raid, then casually mentions a psycho player killer named Getrock terrorizing the borders of Centinea. Han plays totally dumb, throwing on his best poker face, completely ignoring the fact that he is literally the exact menace she is ranting about. Sia keeps yapping, detailing how this rogue gunslinger rocks akimbo handguns and is hovering somewhere around a sweaty level 40. Rumor has it, this absolute tryhard can solo wipe an entire 7-man squad without breaking a sweat. She points out that the bounty pool for taking this dude out sits at a juicy 3 million gold. That math sounds mad sketchy to Han. He is sitting there wondering why she is only looking at a 3 million payout when the actual black market price on his head is a mind-boggling 100 million. Sia blushes hard trying to defend her guild's heavy tax rates by flexing their minor perks. But Han mentally rolls his eyes knowing she is just getting scammed. She and her party are literally the ones doing all the heavy lifting. Sweeping it under the rug, she giggles and claims if she actually snipes that bounty, she will sponsor an epic barbecue feast for him. Han drops a sarcastic thanks, grabs his gear, and dives straight back into the virtual grind. Now back inside Olympus. Luxo instantly pings his radar, warning their lord about a stalker tailing their squad. Han decides they need to run a quick background check on this creep, quickly pulling up his friend list to slide a whisper to his sister. But with her chilling on a totally different continent, that message straight up fails to send. Boom, she's instantly out of the picture. A shadowy silhouette slithers up right behind Han. Plot twist, it's the actual Gekrok barking at our boy and branding him a cheap copycat punk. Han totally draws a blank for a second, but catching the metallic glint of twin pistols in the guy's grip. Oh yeah, it clicks, this dude is the genuine article. The infamous outlaw in the flesh. He's absolutely seething that Han jacked his identity straight up, vowing to snuff out his life as payback. Honestly though, our guy is low-key hyped. His sister gave him the rundown on this absolute menace beforehand. Sure, his personal stats are insanely stacked, but this villain is sitting at level 40. Han's brain starts racing. What actually goes down when you clash with a massive 30-level gap? A wicked smirk creeps across his face as he remembers he's packing major backup. He summons Luxo, the first elder who materializes out of thin air in a heartbeat. The fugitive freezes totally flabbergasted. He's got zero clue how this ancient dude spawned in, especially since his radar didn't pick up a single trace. Han coldly drops the execution order on Gekrok. Overflowing with sheer ego, the outlaw scoffs, boasting he'll just slaughter the duo together. But Luxo's speed is straight up ungodly. He blurs out of existence, and before Gekrok can even process his own flex, his severed head hits the dirt. The elder smoothly slides his blade back into its scabbard, leaving Han absolutely paralyzed with shock. Wait, wasn't Gekrok supposed to be a solid level 40 threat? His mind is scrambling. Is Luxo legitimately just an overpowered beast? Han cringes pretty hard at himself, feeling low-key embarrassed that his eyes couldn't even track the elder's insane blitz. Still, he brushes it off, confident that if his visual abilities were active, he definitely could have tracked that surging mana flow. The old warrior casually tosses him the outlaw's decapitated head right as the system showers him with a fat chunk of XP and a ridiculous 100 million gold bounty. That's the massive payout for erasing a legendary serial killer off the map. He hypes up his elder's clutch move, soaking in just how wildly his reality has flipped. Back in the day, he couldn't even snag a basic gig, because his chaotic alignment was maxed all the way out. Now Han steps up like an absolute boss, hyped to demolish any scenario or insane quest the system throws his way, giving 100% to his grind toward becoming a monarch. Fast forward 2 weeks. Han casually strolls through a dense jungle while his squad of elders utterly curb stomps every single beast and hostile threat blocking his path. He smashes through to level 13 in record time, an absolutely cracked pace when you realize average players grind for actual years to hit that milestone. He's currently holding on to this insane technique called heaven-breaking ghost art, but that beast demands a minimum level of 40 to unlock, meaning hitting level 40 is when his true villain arc actually kicks off. He glances around, analyzing his overpowered elder entourage. He figures he's basically running a massive corporate scheme farming epic loot by power leveling his Sky Devil minions at max. Staring down at the bloody sack holding the fugitive's head, his brain short circuits trying to figure out how to cash this horrifying thing out in real life. Han dives onto his PC vigorously, typing up forums to hunt down the ultimate black market for high-tier loot. One random user aggressively pushes him to flip it in-game at Olympus. A whole bunch of players echo that vibe, but reality slaps Han hard. He's completely banned from public hubs because his chaotic status is maxed to the brim. Plus, the digital economy strictly runs on gold, which has zero street value out here, and dragging his real-life info into a shady trade is a massive security risk. Out of nowhere, his sister pops into the room beaming with a radiant grin. He silently cheers her flawless timing while she curiously asks what kind of mess he's brewing. She instantly jumps to the conclusion he's begging for an allowance, but he awkwardly shuts that down fast. Dropping a bomb, he asks how she'd react if he casually gifted her a wanted killer's head. She blanks out for a sec before busting into giggles, absolutely baffled as to why he'd hand over something that unhinged, assuming he even owned it. Playfully roasting him, she quips that if he actually snagged the bounty, he'd better go cop a burger and slide her a meal while he's at it. Flipping the switch, his face goes dead serious as he offers a clean 50-50 split, leaving her completely weirded out by his sudden, intense energy. Sia claps back, reminding him that Gekrok is literally a monstrous level 40 threat. In her mind, even if Han resurrected like a zombie, he'd never stand a chance at dropping that outlaw. On top of that, rumors said his garbage tier training restricted him from ever exploring outside his starter zone. But Han casually drops the mic, revealing he busted out of there days ago and legitimately secured the target, leaving his sister totally jaw-dropped. She frantically hits him with a reality check. The rogue is sitting at level 40. How in the world did a noob like him pull off that execution? Han rubs his neck with an awkward chuckle, claiming the dude basically folded the second he tapped him. Oh, and his own secret power level is chilling at 99. He jogs her memory about a spicy screenshot he texted her exactly 10 years ago. It clicks, she totally remembers getting a wild flex from her bro claiming he'd maxed out at 99. Back then she figured he was down so astronomically bad that he resorted to pulling desperate internet trolls on his own flesh and blood. Snapping back to reality, she flashes a sheepish smile and confesses she swore that pic was photoshopped. Honestly, he couldn't care less if she buys his story or not. He just barks an order telling her to fast travel to the Centenia Mountains if she wants a piece of that bounty. He's shooting the exact coordinates to her screen right now. Firing up the game, she groans about hiking into some absolute middle-of-nowhere forest just to meet up. That's when her bro drops the lore he's flagged as a max chaotic player. That heavy detail completely drains the color from her face. Inside the virtual world, she rolls up to the west gate, casually telling the armored characters she's got errands in the peaks. But the guards physically block her path, warning that the local horrors will instantly shred her to pieces the second she steps out. Brushing off the terrifying warning, she drops an awkward giggle and straight up ignores every piece of their survival advice. They try to hold her back, but she just shoots them a wave and plunges straight into the overgrown jungle. 3 grueling hours of trekking through the thick brush later, the dead silence starts creeping her out. Then it clicks. Her brother promised he'd wipe the map clean of every single mob and monster before she even got there. Scanning the shadows, she realizes it isn't just the monsters that are missing, but every single living, breathing thing has been completely wiped out. Out of nowhere, Han materializes right behind her, and Sia shrieks in pure panic. Heart pounding out of her chest, she snaps at him for ghosting up on her without making a single sound. That's when she spots the absolutely suffocating aura radiating off her brother. It hits her he wasn't capping at all about being a max chaotic player. She stammers, asking if he actually murdered an NPC, but he completely brushes her off, casually tossing over a dripping bag. Inside, the severed head of the most wanted criminal, carrying a massive bounty of 100 million gold coins. Her jaw drops. Is she hallucinating? Staring down at a literal fortune resting in her trembling hands, reality finally sinks in. She immediately bombards him with questions, demanding to know how he pulled off such an insane flex, calling him an absolute legend. Han just rolls his eyes and tells her to hurry up and cash the bounty in. He jokingly threatens to end her if she even thinks about running off with the loot. Cut to the Adventurers Guild. Sia drops the bag on the counter and a shocked staff member officially verifies the identity of the notorious criminal Get Rogue. Boom. The ultimate assassination quest is officially cleared. Sia is still completely stunned. The system pays out the epic 100 million gold reward, and her mind instantly starts racing. If she pockets her 50% cut, she could basically inhale endless stacks of her favorite gourmet burgers for life without stressing over cash. But then a flash of guilt hits her. Her brother literally dragged himself through hell for this, and his insane grind is finally paying off. She treks straight back to the jungle to hand over his massive cut of the gold. Han blinks, realizing she's transferring 99 million gold instead of her promised 50 million. He wonders what's up with her sudden generosity, but a massive grin spreads across his face, as he figures he absolutely deserves this fat paycheck. After surviving 20 brutal years of pure, unadulterated, Sia refuses to take her half of the pie, just keeping a cool 1 million gold as a tiny tip for running his errands. Feeling generous, Han tries to offer her way more gold for the help, but she completely ignores him and dashes off. Mid-sprint, she yells back that her morning shift off is over, so she has to log out for work. Han is left totally speechless as she promises to treat him to epic burgers later tonight. She tells him to definitely pull up and join her and their parents for dinner. Han just smiles softly, hoping she makes it home safe. Now alone, he checks his stash 99 million gold. After crunching the crazy exchange rates and heavy taxes, it translates to a staggering 80 million won in the real world. That much cash on his very first attempt. This is straight up the quest of a lifetime, making his max chaotic penalty feel like an absolute joke. The main SSS class quest hasn't even kicked off yet, and he's already rolling in serious dough. Armed with an 80 million won safety net, his mind races with the possibilities. Once he actually beats the main storyline, the final reward is going to be incredibly massive. Now the mission is simple. speedrun his way to level 40 so he can trigger the next phase of the quest. To pull that off, he needs to power level like a madman, making every single ticking second count. Later that evening, Han meets up with Sia back in reality. Thanks to his glowing red max chaotic status, he literally can't step foot in any towns to shop, so he begs her to act as his personal game shopper. Exhausted from work, she tries to shoot him down, but he hits her with a tempting promise if things go smoothly. He'll drop a 300,001 monthly allowance on her. She smirks, immediately countering for a clean 500,000 instead. Deal secured. Sia dives right back into the servers. Fast forward a few hours. A completely drained Han equips all his brand new gear, bought through his sister, a highly specific set of items engineered to severely boost his experience point gains. But here's the massive catch. This little shopping spree just drained a jaw, dropping 70 million won out of his account. For the very first time in his life, he had actually hustled and made real bank on his own. Meanwhile, Sia could not care less about his master plan. She just wants her promised commission instantly. After playing delivery girl all night, his sister absolutely destroys his wallet by casually stating she charges 3 million gold for the first drop-off, plus another 300,000 gold for every extra stop. Han sighs, dramatically accepting his fate, completely locked in to tackle whatever insane quests the system throws his way. He is putting everything on the line in his journey to become an absolute monarch. Time to get to work. He rallies the elders, ready to hyper-focus entirely on the ultimate leveling grind. By the next morning, Han reaches the treacherous Zeph Mountains, but while he's just chilling and minding his own business, a heavily armored player spots him from the shadows, eyeing him suspiciously. He instantly notices Han's glowing max chaotic tag, and a greedy party member smirks, thinking this is the ultimate chance to farm some massive fame points. To them, Han looks like absolute trash, rocking garbage tier beginner gear, making them assume he's just a noob who died a million times to get here. The squad leader, thinking Han is completely clueless to their ambush, assumes his awareness is incredibly pathetic and writes him off as a total amateur. He aggressively signals his entire crew to draw their weapons, hyping them up to slaughter a high-value max chaotic. But as Han casually strolls through the woods, he immediately notices the environment shift to an eerie dead silence. The clearing fell dead silent, but the system immediately flashed a bright red warning across his vision. An invisible force tried pinning his body to the dirt. Han barely felt a breeze, but the ambush squad creeping in the shadows absolutely lost their minds when he just walked right through their high-tier binding spell like it was nothing. Whispers broke out, maybe he was a squishy caster. I mean, look at his fit. Bro was rocking absolute garbage tier armor. Figuring he was some low-level noob who had respawned one too many times, their sniper drew back a glowing arrow. But the guild leader barked at his crew to shut up and just secure the bag already. The raid boss ordered his vanguard to draw aggro so Han couldn't pop a teleport, while he and his right-hand man flanked him for the execution. Just as they readied their blades, Han slowly turned his head. Shooting them a dead-eyed glare, he offered one final warning: dip now or get packed up. Naturally, these clowns thought he was capping. Certain he was faking his confidence, the captain went all in, launching a full power charge while Han just yawned, asking what level they even were. A colossal warhammer smashed into his shoulder and violently rebounded off his skin like solid titanium. Panicking, the lieutenant followed up with a vicious cross slash. 0 damage. The entire squad scrambled, dumping all their cooldowns as a hail of arrows rained down from above. The dust settled and absolute dread washed over the ambushers. Han's HP bar hadn't dropped a single digit. Scanning their stats, he figured the beefcake wielding the greatsword hovered right around level 40, looking way too old for this nonsense. Up in the trees, the sniper's brain was short-circuiting. Han wasn't wearing heavy plating and he hadn't chanted a single incantation. The only logical answer: bro had precast some insane defensive buff. He threw up a hand signal warning the team that their target was fully prepped. The squad leader's face drained of color. Meanwhile, Han stood there looking painfully bored, mentally rating their ultimate moves as glorified mosquito bites. Yawning, he decided playtime was officially over. With his magic completely locked down, he just shifted his weight, dropping into a bare-knuckle brawler stance. The sniper's eyes went wide, bracing for some cataclysmic screen-wiping magic trick. Screaming at his front line to fall back, the archer frantically knocked a piercing mana arrow to interrupt the cast. Too slow. Han was already airborne, caving the director's face in with a brutal right hook and sending him straight to the Shadow Realm. The interface angrily pinged, crying about his skyrocketing player kill penalty. Ignoring it, Han sidestepped as the hammer-wielding tank rushed in blind with fury. One devastating counterpunch later, the heavily armored Goliath crumpled like wet paper. The red penalty numbers kept ticking up. Han actually blinked low-key, shocked the beefy vanguard folded in one hit. The backline support just stood there completely paralyzed, realizing they were totally useless. The surviving brass screeched at everyone to scatter and run for the hills. This wasn't a boss fight, it was a slaughter. The sniper scrambled backward, cold sweat dripping down his neck as reality set in. They had just ganked an absolute demon masking as a frail mage. He spun around to vault into the brush, but a shadow loomed over his shoulder. Han materialized right behind him like a literal jump scare, completely shattering the archer's sanity. How did he close the gap? Han just tilted his head, flashing a psychotic, toothy smirk dripping with pure menace. He coldly whispered that they pulled the aggro first, so playing the victim now was a pathetic look. Pure terror flooded the sniper's veins. This psycho hadn't been trapped earlier. He was hoarding his teleport skill just to toy with his prey. The realization hit him like a truck. Only one class moved with that kind of broken agility, a maxed-out close-quarters battle mage. Somebody easily pushing past level 60. A monster on par with the legendary hunter Rufendal. Han proceeded to absolutely lay out the remaining stragglers. By the end of the bloodbath, his status had already rocketed to level 16. After using their guild as a mop, he surprisingly let the bruised losers crawl away. A golden notification dinged. Sparing them actually farmed major rep, with the elders instantly unlocking a brand new passive trait, Charisma. Han had absolutely no idea what the stat buffed, but it sounded cracked, so he just shrugged and took the free W. Out of the literal blue, Luxo dropped in. He told Han to fall in line, claiming he had an exclusive spot to show him. Cut to 7 agonizing sweat-soaked days later, Han practically crawled into the hidden Sky Devil sanctuary. Looking like a glitching NPC running on 0 sleep and empty calories, he violently cursed whoever built this base in the absolute middle of nowhere. The flashback was infuriating. One minute he was vibing, the next, some boomer elder ordered him to tag along. The guy ripped open a warp gate straight into a scorching wasteland, rambling some cryptic lore about the Adventurer's Pillar. At first Han was totally down to farm, easy mobility points. But a straight 7-day hike bro was absolutely going through it. When the elder finally pointed out the settlement gates, a tiny spark of life returned to Han's dead eyes. He desperately prayed to the pixel gods for a hot meal. Stepping into the crumbling, dirt-covered wasteland of a settlement, his heart plummeted. Was this absolute wreckage actually their final destination? Scanning the pathetic ruins, a wave of vertigo hit him. It clicked. His master definitely left this place completely and totally wrecked. The locals were practically skeletons dragging themselves through the dust, yet the second they spotted him, they slammed their knees into the ground. Chanting his title as their absolute ruler and ultimate savior, these people fully believed their literal deity just touched down. While they pressed their foreheads to the dirt, a glowing system prompt flashed. Mission: revive this absolute disaster of a dying town. He forced a shaky grin, desperately hiding the fact that his own stomach was eating itself, and he was basically 1 second away from passing out. A fossil of a dude named Prophet Carl, who was somehow 163 years old, shuffled forward, practically weeping with relief that his master finally arrived. Carl spilled the lore. Decades ago, he secretly trained 12 elite elders right here in the shadows, completely off the Empire's radar. These 12 legends literally threw away their entire lives grinding for one single goal: tracking down the true bloodline of the absolute ruler. Only one massive issue: this zone was a dead barren rock, with zero. Han just blinked at him, thinking this entire setup was incredibly brain-dead. Like, why not just haul in resources from another zone? The ancient prophet shook his head, claiming that was physically impossible. Since not a single soul here, not even the overpowered elders, could break past the borders for food, the reality of his first mission clicked. He desperately needed to figure out a way to stop hundreds of people from turning into literal ghosts. Gesturing for Luxo, he quietly asked for a countdown. How much longer could this village survive before wiping? The elder grimly whispered, 14 days at best. Taking a deep breath, Han marched up a jagged cliff face to address the crowd. Projecting his voice, he acknowledged their agonizing hunger and pure desperation, confessing that he had been trapped in relentless, brutal training. That isolation kept him from protecting his people. But starting this exact second, the suffering ends. He vowed to burn himself into the ground to guarantee their survival. 14 days, that was more than enough. At least he prayed it was. Begging them to hold the line just a little longer. The system interface flashed wildly. Village morale skyrocketed, and their fierce loyalty maxed out. Pivoting to Luxo, he ordered the elder to fall in line. A 2-man squad moved faster, meaning the remaining elites would stay locked down to defend the turf. Luxo dipped his head in absolute obedience, and the duo dashed into the wild. Han immediately designated the elder as the muscle for any incoming mob encounters. He also made it crystal clear to snatch up every single scrap of loot and rare crystal. Honestly, he was starting to think this survival mission was going to be a total cakewalk. Flash forward 7 days deep in the rugged peaks, Luxo is practically glowing with pride, totally hyped that his leader pulled off the master plan perfectly on schedule. Han just casually brushes it off, making it brutally obvious that he speed ran the easiest tasks first because the clock was ticking. Chilling on a massive boulder, he stares down a mountain of mysterious cargo bags. Rewind just a few days, Han fired off an SOS text to his sister begging for a massive favor. He needed her to secure an expansion pouch, cook up enough hardcore rations to feed 800 starving souls and drag it all the way to the highlands. Just like her last crazy delivery run. Reading that text nearly gave her a heart attack as her brain short-circuited trying to figure out why her brother needed enough oatmeal to feed a small army. That insane supply drop. He totally orchestrated the entire food pipeline through her in advance. Reaching the summit, she is silently losing her mind, violently questioning what kind of shady business her brother is running. Without missing a beat, Han casually tosses a glowing blue crystal at her as payment. Her jaw hits the floor. Her mind instantly spirals into wild conspiracy theories. Is he getting bankrolled by some elite billionaire backer? Or maybe a shadow syndicate, but Han shuts that down fast. Zero shady sponsors. He just needs her to pawn the gem and pocket a sweet 10% commission. The color completely drains from her face, but she quickly chalks it up to insane beginner's luck, refusing to believe her slacker brother is suddenly a boss. Since he managed this solo, he throws another massive quest at her: liquidate the crystal and buy 3 teleportation scrolls on her return trip. The mastermind strategy: link a fast travel network from these peaks directly into the core of the Sky Devil's hideout and their ruined settlement. By snapping those portals together, a grueling 7-day death march turns into an instant seamless jump. Han considers it a genius-level strat, even if nuking his wallet to buy 3 portals simultaneously makes him want to curl up and cry. Meanwhile, back in the slums, the 12th Elder Erda is spiraling into rage, convinced this new leader completely ghosted them to rot in the dirt. And now this arrogant punk expects to just waltz back in and watch everyone blindly bow, purely relying on his fancy title as the chosen heir. Yeah, First Elder Luxo might be brainwashed enough to take a blade for the kid, but Erda knows for a fact the rest of the council isn't buying this act. Erda locks onto a brutal vow: the second Han disrespects the Sky Devil legacy or gets caught in a single lie, he will finally have the perfect excuse to end him. Out of nowhere, the warp cracks open. Han steps through, and the entire starving population absolutely loses their minds. They start violently cheering, screaming at the top of their lungs that their supreme god has returned packing an ocean of food. Pushing through the mob to see the chaos, Erda's jaw literally hits the dirt. Mountains of steaming rations are stacked sky high while Han just flashes a cocky smirk, flexing his massive haul. He tells the crowd he'd love to spoil them with rich milk and honey, but stuffing greasy food into starved stomachs is a one-way ticket to explosive disaster. So bland porridge is the move for tonight. Meanwhile, the dude just stands there completely paralyzed, racking his brain over how Han materialized that massive mountain of grub. The locals practically melt with relief. They start hyping him up to the heavens, chanting "absolute great ruler" at the top of their lungs. That completely skyrockets his clout. The entire village is now convinced this dude is practically a god who can pull off the impossible. He just flashes this incredibly sinister smirk, thinking to himself, "You're damn right I can." He barks an order for one of the elders to tag team with Luxo and pass out the rations while he dips inside. But as he leaves them to manage the chaos, he knows damn well that handing out snacks won't fix everything. He still has to secure solid shelter and proper gear, though for tonight, keeping bellies full and borders locked down is the ultimate priority. Suddenly, a heavy knock echoes through the room. Han calls out for them to enter, and Erda walks in only to instantly collapse to his knees. The guy starts desperately begging for forgiveness over his garbage loyalty. Han watches this and immediately realizes Erda folded way faster than he ever predicted. The elder is straight up sobbing like an overgrown toddler, mentally punishing himself for how Han originally braced himself for a painfully brutal grind, but this questline is speeding by at a terrifying pace. He cracks a devilish smile, realizing things are going perfectly according to his script. He casually tells Erda to take a breather. He completely owns up to his current limitations, basically saying it makes total sense why Erda was incredibly skeptical from the jump. Realistically, he admits he'd feel the exact same way. But right now he demands Erda's absolute faith, promising to reward that loyalty 10 times over. He delivers this whole speech flashing a glowing, warm smile which just makes Erda cry even harder, spitting out endless apologies. That perfectly crafted monologue secures him total unquestioned recognition from the 12th Elder. But deep inside his own head, he's laughing at what an absolute clown this guy is. Meanwhile, Han officially dings level 19, hoarding a massive stash of step-up points in the process. He immediately starts brainstorming a sick location to take his up. He quickly remembers Luxo's heavy warning to lay low and stay totally off the grid, keeping the Empire completely blind to their movements. The rest of the elders echoed that exact same caution, but he calculates that if he needs a wingman, Erda is the ultimate choice thanks to his insanely overpowered stealth skills. Trekking high into the snowy peaks, he crosses paths with a savage wild bear. He blinks hard quickly, realizing this beast looks nothing like the usual trash mobs. It has to be a giant bear or some mutated nightmare. Erda instantly rips his blade from its sheath, ready to strike, but Han immediately waves him off. His memory clicks these massive bears usually hover right around level 40. Under normal circumstances, it requires a fully stacked squad of 5 or 6 fighters to slaughter one of these things. But Han, he's the type of menace who wipes out entire squads all by himself, so he decides to straight up one-on-one this monster. The giant bear locks eyes with him and lunges forward. Han launches himself into the air, rocketing back down with an earth-shattering punch. He completely flattens the massive beast into the dirt in a split second. He just chuckles, calling it the easiest money of his life. He scoops up 20,000 gold pieces alongside a few garbage experience points. Erda just stands there completely frozen in awe, his respect for his boss shooting straight through the roof. Staring down at the mangled carcass, Han is genuinely confused why the creature couldn't even sponge a single strike. Was this beast just tragically weak? Or is his power level just ridiculously broken now? Either way, he barks at Erda to keep moving. It is officially time to raid a Mantium dungeon. Erda gives a sharp nod, and after several grueling days on the road, they finally hit the glowing dungeon gate. Erda's senses immediately spike, detecting a massive crowd waiting inside. Han nods back, recalling that a Mantium dungeon is parked right inside the village of beginning. It's a pretty basic low-level zone right outside Urka's. The difficulty curve is super manageable, and since every single player farms step-up points just for beating it, elite academy students and great union instructors are always camping here to grind out levels. Han just smirks his mind, flashing back to how he effortlessly pancaked that massive bear. He starts getting curious, wondering how these so-called elite Great Union instructors actually stack up against his raw, untamed power. With that wicked thought, he strides forward, ordering Erda to shadow his every move by activating those totally broken stealth abilities. Deep inside the dungeon's glowing safe zone, a nervous student admits this is barely his second, but the kid is still absolutely terrified, practically shaking in his boots. Muttering to his friend, he just prays they can actually survive, and right at that moment, both of their eyes lock onto Han, the legendary, completely unhinged max-level menace. Pure panic instantly paralyzes them, and they instantly sprint off to track down their instructor, begging whatever god is listening that their teacher can step up and save their lives. Then out walks this incredibly arrogant jerk, glaring daggers at Han like he's some reckless punk looking for Back when he was casually slaughtering mobs earlier, Han stumbled onto a massively infuriating realization. Literally zero monsters drop any legendary loot whenever he delivers the fatal strike. He swipes open his glowing stat menu only to stare at his luck stat sitting at a completely tragic -99. That basically nukes his drop rate straight to the ground. Feeling like the entire system is deliberately trolling him, he groans internally, wishing he could just force the Elder to land all the finishing blows from now on. An instructor struts up, barking at him, demanding to know what business he has being there. Han flashes back to his sister's warning. She told him these great union instructors love creeping around the lower levels. Since most of them are rocking stats past level 40, she told him to keep his guard up. Guess she wasn't capping. These ego-tripping tryhards really do live for the drama. The guy barks the question again, accusing him of loitering. But Han just flips the script. He glares right back, asking who gave this random dude permission to talk down to him. The instructor sneers. He claims he's dealt with plenty of wannabes just like him. If Han dips right now, he'll pretend this never happened. Scanning Han's player stats, the guy smirks. The kid is only sitting at level 19, rocking absolutely zero decent gear. The instructor instantly writes him off as a total scrub, some bottom feeder who probably jumps rookies just to flip their dropped loot. Han is low-key baffled. Where is this guy even getting these wild accusations? Still, he figures it's best to kill the tension. There are innocent rookies standing right there after all. He tells the hothead to take a breather and get back to teaching. He clarifies he's literally, but the instructor isn't having it. He scoffs, acting like he's already exposed some massive villain arc. Suddenly, a crimson system alert blares. The safe zone timer is collapsing. Panic shifting his tone, the instructor barks at his students to get behind him. The whole squad realizes this dude is flexing his guild union status. Pure annoyance flashes in Han's eyes. He snaps at the guy to back off, repeating that he isn't looking for a fight. But the arrogant instructor just shrugs him off as another clout-chasing fraud. Han exhales sharply. He spells it out again, he isn't here to grief a bunch of low-level newbies like some total creep. He just wants to clear the zone. The second the system announces the safe zone's collapse, the instructor unsheathes his blade. Lunging forward to strike, he screams at Han for being an arrogant punk. Han's patience officially evaporates. He issues one final icy warning, but the crazed instructor goes all in, diving for the kill. The heavy blade slices clean through Han's body, yet he doesn't even flinch. He just stands there completely unbothered. The instructor's jaw straight up drops. His brain short-circuits trying to figure out what kind of broken magic trick this kid is using. Han locks eyes with him, delivering an icy glare. "Was that weak little swing really your best shot?" he asks. Cold sweat drips down the instructor's neck as reality hits. There is something terrifyingly wrong with this guy's aura. Spiraling into full panic, the instructor frantically scrambles to ping for backup. His mind races, convinced this level 19 absolute menace is hacking the system with some overpowered hidden skill. Han coldly reminds the idiot that he already laid out his intentions. He wasn't here for drama, and he had literally given him a final warning. Done playing nice, Han finally moves. He drives a devastating, bone-crushing punch right into the instructor's gut. Pure terror floods the man's eyes. He finally registers that this kid just tanked a lethal blade attack and countered completely barehanded. He desperately scrambles to send out an SOS, but it's too late. A blinding one single brutal strike. That's all it takes for Han to completely fold him. The remaining students cower together, frantically checking on each other. Han sweeps a menacing gaze over the group, his eyes silently daring them to try their luck next. Two of them shake their heads violently and surrender. Han smirks. "Yeah, that's what I thought," he mutters. He tosses them a casual piece of advice: focus on grinding their quests, and try not to grow up into toxic jerks. Moments later, he finds himself wandering deep in thought, mentally replaying the clash. He really wasn't trying to traumatize a bunch of rookies after all. Snapping out of his thoughts, he gazes upward. He's arrived at a massive defensive fortress, swarming with heavily armed skeleton soldiers. Judging by the sheer scale of it, this has to be the core stronghold sitting dead center in the dungeon. Flashing back to the guidebook's strict advice, he knows the drill. He has to completely demolish this base before the system will unlock the final boss stage. Since his cursed stats mean he gets 0 loot drops anyway, he refuses to waste precious time farming these vicious undead grunts. Completely ignoring their glowing hostile eyes, he locks onto the target and the interface starts spamming him with frantic red warnings, hyping up the monster's aggro levels and predicting his immediate brutal death. But Han brushes off the red flags. Cracking his knuckles, he calculates that maybe 10 solid punches should be enough to shatter the walls. Boom! With just a single earth-shattering impact, the entire giant structure crumbles. It literally caves in like it's built out of wet cardboard. He stands in the rubble, honestly feeling super underwhelmed. Wait, wasn't this legendary stronghold supposed to be built like a tank? Still, a fast clear is a fast clear. Without missing a single beat, he brushes off the dust and pushes forward to sweep the rest of the zone. Meanwhile, the high-level backup squad called in by the terrified students finally rushes onto the scene, but they freeze in their tracks. The unstoppable dungeon fortress has already been reduced to a smoking pile of... Checking the logs, they realize a level 19 player did this. The math simply isn't mathing. They stand there utterly paralyzed with shock. Their brains literally cannot process how he nuked the main building while completely bypassing the elite skeleton guards. The only logical cope is that he triggered some insanely rare, overpowered artifact. But right on cue, the system chimes in with a global announcement. The dungeon has been fully cleared. The pro instructors are left standing in the dust, completely and totally speechless. Absolute shock. They're calling it straight up impossible. Refusing to buy into the madness that just dropped inside the dungeon, Han is dead confused. Why the hell is this entire zone crawling with a massive horde of skeletal warriors? He gets it for your average level 19 scrub. This whole setup would be pure nightmare fuel. But the dude is simply built different. He bulldozes his way right to the boss room, completely shrugging off the boneheads, jumping him from every single angle. Zero sweat on his brow. He effortlessly locks in, ready to see if this ultimate phase actually brings the heat. No hesitation, he explodes off the ground, slamming into the barrier with bone-crushing momentum. Deep down, he's low-key praying it doesn't instantly dust under his fist. Tough luck. The so-called ultimate shield folds like wet paper the second his knuckles connect. His brows knit together. What kind of trash-tier defense crumbles that fast, especially when he knows the remaining faculty are about to crash the party at any second? Time to speed-run this mess. Right on cue, the interface flashes, hyping him up for dominating the zone. He scoffs. If he just walked right through it with zero effort, this place was nothing but a pathetic rookie trap. Cashing in his rewards, he dumps every single stat point into his build until that sweet level 20 notification pops. Finally, now he's completely cleared to crash the field of darkness. He fully expects the teachers to be hunting him down like hounds, but shockingly, total radio silence. He wagers they're probably holding down the fort at the main gate, but the second he steps foot outside, his pupils dilate. A massive, overwhelming battalion of instructors is just waiting for him, way more backup than he bargained for. Suddenly, a guy up front roars out, ordering the commander of the hostile forces to step into the light. Han just blinks, scanning the empty space. Dude, I'm literally flying solo out here. Who on earth are these guys barking at? He shoots a quick look at the ancient spirit hovering next to him, asking if he slipped up and deactivated his cloaking skill. But the old man shakes his head. Stealth is still fully locked in. The lead teacher plays it cool smoothly, claiming he gets exactly what Han is after, totally hoping to dodge a massive bloodbath today. This guy is obviously dropping the logic card to kill the rising tension, but honestly, it just pisses Han off. He was actually hyped to throw hands with the faculty. Watching them act all soft and diplomatic is seriously. Still, he runs the math. If he actually pops off right now, a bunch of random kids are definitely gonna catch a stray and drop dead. And honestly, ganking squishy noobs just isn't his style. The head teacher announces he's giving him a free pass this round, adding that he knows. Han probably doesn't want to flush his own life down the drain for nothing either. Playing along with the charade, Han nods. And casually agrees. He wasn't really planning on throwing down. Before hitting them with a cold reminder, he already warned the last guy to keep his distance. Zero hesitation. He strides right through their ranks like an absolute boss, laser-focused on his main quest, hitting the field of darkness. So he can go full predator on other players later. The lead teacher lets out a massive exhale, the heavy tension leaving his body, while his sidekick stays totally silent, praising the heavens that they just dodged a massive. With zero casualties on the board, Instructor Zergo plays it cool, acting like he just handled a minor glitch. But reality check, Zergo already got the intel. The last teacher who tried checking Han ended up in a brutal deathmatch. And that little brawl, it got several innocent students flat out deleted. Even with everyone walking on eggshells, Han just speedran the zone at a terrifying pace. Probably just to flex on everyone and prove he's got some heavy-hitting backup in the shadows. Zergo calculates the risk. There are way too many low levels here. Their number one priority is keeping the kids breathing, so shoving him out the door without triggering his aggro was the only playable move. Off to the side, another teacher is just glaring low-key terrified, wondering who the hell this absolute psychopath actually is. But one fact is crystal clear. Han is 100% a maxed-out chaotic player. Hell, there's even a wild rumor floating around that he's literally Rufendal in the flesh. Everyone claims Rufendal is capped at level 50, but the dude could easily be rocking a cheat code to mask his actual stats. Cut to somewhere else entirely, Rufendal is having an absolute blast, casually wiping out an entire squad with his death nail. He drops an icy laugh, mocking them to prepare for the grave, as he mercilessly deletes their HP, trash-talking them to just uninstall the game if they're gonna stay on the floor like dead weight. He's the ultimate max-level chaotic menace, and he's only farming this spot for the massive loot drops raining from their corpses. Scavenging their gear is basically an infinite money glitch. But then it hits him. Lately there's been some random dude trying to track him down. They haven't even locked eyes yet, but the server chat is blowing up, with rumors that some wild player is tearing through the map, stealing his whole identity. Rufundal figures it's just some try-hard chaotic wannabe desperately clout-chasing using his name. Word on the street is this total poser just threw a massive, unhinged riot inside the Amantium dungeon. And Rufendal knows the score. If this fake keeps ruining his rep, he's getting permanent. Messing with the Great Union is basically a death wish. Our guy knows he needs to hunt down this imposter pulling off an identity theft before everything totally hits the fan. Cutting back to the Sky Devil village, Han drops back in and hypes up the elders. He drops the scoop. Their next raid is a creepy zone, swarming with hovering beasts. Scanning the room, he's hunting for that one specific geezer who totally rocks ranged magic. Uxo connects the dots in a heartbeat, and an elder thrusts his hand into the air, flexing that his ranged spells are absolutely goated. Han locks him in as today's +1. The old dude just gives this bone-chilling, wicked smirk. Out of nowhere it hits him. His sister's birthday is coming up. Time to stop slacking and actually play the good brother role. He resolves to sweat it out and grind like a madman. All to bag a sick birthday gift, and hey, maybe cop her a whole apartment down the line. Touching down at the Field of Darkness, the place is absolutely packed with players. A system chime rings out, flashing a timer for the next monster wave. Realizing the chaos is about to kick off, he glances over at Zeta, his elder sidekick. Turns out, Zeta is straight up unhinged. The guy starts hollering at the top of his lungs, swearing absolute loyalty to his master. He's ranting about snapping spines, shredding flesh, and torching every piece of garbage in their path with pure hellfire. He even promises to rip the arms off anyone who tries to step up. Han just blinks, totally weirded out by this boomer's insane energy. This whole dark alley murder hobo vibe is definitely not what he expected. Meanwhile, randoms nearby spot Han's max chaotic status. One dude sees a golden ticket for instant clout, and his buddy totally backs the play. Han ain't having it, ordering Zeta to absolutely wreck these clowns before backup can roll in. while sweeping up every monster on the field, specifically targeting those blue storms. The entire lobby zeroed in on jumping the max chaotic player, aka Han, but he stays chill knowing he can just teleport out whenever. He shoots Zeta a look, basically asking why he even dragged him along before demanding the old man flex those ranged magic skills instantly. The fanatic geezer nods aggressively, vowing he'd rather die than let his master down. Slowly he lifts a single hand toward the sky, praying for Han's glorious future. Suddenly, a blinding neon purple flash swallows the entire horizon. Zeta straight up summons an evil deity, barking orders for the colossal beast to steamroll anyone stupid enough to block his boss. The player base absolutely loses it, shrieking and scrambling for their lives. Zeta just cold-heartedly commands the Titan to crush them into absolute dust. Han throws a quick thumbs up at Zeta's insane carry, figuring it's time he popped off with his own moves. His killer mark flares an ominous pitch-black shade, broadcasting his massive sin level for everyone to see. The server chat goes wild, spreading rumors of his slaughter. A system alert flashes, slapping him with the wild title, Saint of Murder. And honestly, even Han is low-key stunned reading that notification. See, when a max chaotic player hits a specific infamy cap, the system slaps a giant murderer target on their back. And here's the catch: if these murderers try to PvP against a hero title holder, their attack and defense stats absolutely nosedive. Worse, getting folded means suffering a brutal 240-hour respawn timer, and your gear dropping on your next spawn hits a locked-in 100% guarantee. But Han, he's just chilling as the supreme boss of the Sky Devils, eyeing the screen and wondering if his infamy score is just going to keep skyrocketing. He shrugs it off like it's no biggie, everything will sort itself out. Meanwhile, his charisma stat gets a massive buff, dragging the Sky Devil's loyalty meter right up with it. While the human scrubs are still panicking over one crazy elder, Han decides he'll deal with their drama later. Right now, he's fully locked in on wiping this map clean. As the dust settles and the battlefield goes dead silent, Zeta flashes a sinister smirk and Han figures they're done here. Then something catches his eye in the distance. He can feel the aggro shifting. A massive red alert flashes across the HUD: chaos incoming. The bull monsters have spawned. Out of nowhere, this herd of savage beasts comes charging right at him. But Han, totally unfazed, fully trusting his sidekick to sweep the floor with them. The boomer looks hyped enough to slaughter a whole steakhouse's worth of beef. Han hypes him up, ordering him to leave 0 survivors. As for our guy, he decides to jump into the pit, just praying at least one of these bulls can tank more than a single punch. Spoiler alert, they don't. One swing and the mob is literally deleted. Hey, at least he pockets a clean 18,000 gold coins for the one tap. Watching that cash stack up, he stays in the brawl, treating everything like a punching bag while the elder vacuums up the dropped loot. The two of them fight like an absolute cracked duo, while a pair of spectating players from afar whisper that these guys must be insane. One mutters that this is just standard mob farming, but his buddy scoffs, swearing there is absolutely nothing normal about that sword guy, claiming he's gotta be a close combat mage. Plot twist, they're totally talking about Zeta. Totally blind to the deadly attack skill he's hiding, they are dead set on labeling him a mage. I mean, the dude literally didn't even flinch while erasing their entire squad from existence. Just moments ago, his buddy gave a solid nod, betting their lives that he's rocking at least level 50. Out of nowhere, Zeta launches himself into the stratosphere, screaming some wild oath about glory to his lord and master before dropping a massive neon purple strike that absolutely vaporizes a whole mob of monsters into pixels. He low-key thinks it's complete overkill, but hey, a win is a win. Right on cue, the system chimes, flashing that sweet level-up notification. He immediately orders Zeta to grind out those stones while his own overpowered skills are stuck on cooldown. Zeta doesn't waste a single second. Our guy pockets 7 blue stones, absolutely buzzing over their lightning-fast farming speed. But right at that peak moment, the boss monster drops into the zone. He figures it's time to secure the bag and ghost before things get messy, locking eyes on the boss while those two distant players just stand there frozen. He instantly recognizes the terrifying threat, the Chaos Bull King, a massive hulking minotaur nightmare. He swears it's the very first time he's crossed paths with one of these mutated freaks. He barks at Zeta to mop up the trash mobs and snatch their loot, keeping his own eyes locked dead onto the Chaos Bull King to gauge its power. Sizing it up, he realizes this beast is way tankier than your average field boss. He's just praying this absolute tank at least drops a fat bundle of 20 blue stones. Deep down, he's actually hoping the boss can take one of his raw hits, just so Zeta can swoop in and steal the final kill. But before he can even flex, Zeta frantically points out a heavy squad of elite presences rushing their location. The math isn't mathing, there's 0 chance he can melt the boss before the squad crashes the party. Knowing it's time to dip, he yells at Zeta to abort the mission. Cursing under his breath at the sheer annoyance, the sting of humiliation burns deep. He absolutely despises feeling this powerless, but he violently swears. He will resurrect the Sky Devil's legendary glory across this entire continent. Tears literally prick his eyes as they book it out of there, mourning those lost blue stones, leaving the two randoms staring at their dust in pure confusion. Back in his dark room, he aggressively scrolls through the game's message boards, hunting for any sneaky monster patch notes, but comes up empty. His brain spins trying to figure out why that Black Chaos Bull crashed his run, especially since it was never even officially released. He figures his cursed -99 luck is just trolling him again. Honestly, he can't tell if it's a blessing or a straight-up death flag. Either way, the regret is eating him alive. He should have just punched that black bull into orbit and snatched that sweet stone bundle. He clicks on a viral post claiming the hunting ground difficulty just randomly spiked without any warning, skyrocketing all the way to level 97. One user drops a horror story about hitting a mansion dungeon today, calling it absolute hell. Pitch black skull soldiers spawned out of thin air, and the mobs were so ruthless they couldn't even hit the eject button. Another player vents about getting brutally ambushed by a massive black bear out in the jungle. Players in that specific bear zone are blowing up the thread, wondering if the devs shadow buffed the standard difficulty behind their backs. A cold realization hits him like a truck. These are literally all the spots he's grinded in recently. The exact same coordinates. Panic starts setting in, as he wonders if he's the walking glitch causing this chaos. Scrolling further into the doom scroll, he stumbles on more wild rumors. One thread exposes a new black monster sighted in the dark desert today. He instantly connects the dots. It's the exact same beast he just bumped into. The comments are dragging the max chaotic player who deleted the Chaos Cows earlier, laughing about how he chickened out the second the Black Chaos Bull King dropped. To make it worse, some high-level sweatlords swooped in, executed the Black Chaos Bull King, and bagged 3 entire bundles of blue stones. With around 30 in each stack, the entire comment section is losing their minds over the insane RNG, reading that his soul literally leaves his body. He spits curses at his own garbage luck, violently agonizing over how those random sweats just casually banked 90 blue stones. Actual tears stream down his face like an absolute clown as he mourns his massive fumble. Crunching the numbers on today's sad haul, sitting at 11 blue stones and 5.5 million gold, he does the tragic math and realizes it barely covers 3 days of basic survival. The target was roughly 36 million gold. After getting robbed by exchange fees, taxes, and sending his sister's cut, he's left holding a pathetic 15 million won. Not even enough cash to cop her a proper birthday gift. Glaring at his own trash stats, he violently grumbles that with all this sweat and blood he should be flexing a penthouse and a sports car by now. But his pathetically low actual level keeps him completely hard stuck, locking him out of all the premium endgame zones. On top of that, he can't even pop most of his skills because of the massive penalty debuff suffocating his account. The reality check hits hard. He lets out a heavy sigh, realizing there's literally only one play left. Time to grind levels like an absolute psycho. Meanwhile, in a sterile corporate office, a suit wraps up his briefing, confirming that the target's ability metrics have spiked aggressively. Lounging in the shadows, a mysterious executive drops a question about the Black Chaos Bull anomaly. The suit nods, verifying the intel, and stressing that the monster's raw power scaling has blasted through the roof. The shadow leans back, connecting the dots that this isn't your average NPC glitch. He coldly orders his pawn to keep their shady hunting ops running as usual, but demands they flood the zone with more bodies. To them, the player base is nothing but disposable cannon fodder anyway, so drafting new meat shields won't be a problem. This absolute menace with ice in his veins, none other than UN Director Young Wook-hyun. The pawn gives a silent, obedient nod, but right before he dips, the director pulls him aside to drop some heavy news. A masked, chaotic player is absolutely tearing up the desert today. His face goes ice cold, realizing it's gotta be the exact same scumbag. This menace has been trolling their alliance for what feels like an eternity. Fast forward 3 weeks and the system hits him with an alert. His level just spiked again. Dead serious, he smirks. It is about damn time, considering he just officially crossed the threshold into level 29. Luxo rolls up, stressing out loud that his body is going to completely give out after 3 straight weeks of relentless grinding. As sweet as the old man's worrying is, he totally brushes it off. Even locked down by massive debuffs, he absolutely refuses to back down or show a single ounce of weakness. He practically swears an oath right then and there to show his students the absolute peak glory of this world. He promises Luxo that he'll survive long enough to witness every last person grovel. Taking a breather, not on the menu. He's going to keep pushing day and night so Luxo can just chill and not stress. Just back his play. Hearing that speech hits Luxo right in the feels, turning him into a total bowing his head like an absolute loyal puppy. The guy swears he'll ride or die for him until his legs literally give out. But inside his head, his actual motivation is loud and clear. We're talking a luxury penthouse, a totally tricked out sports car, and his absolute endgame dream of buying out an entire skyscraper. He flashes this totally villainous smirk, but it drops the second a direct message slides onto his screen. He figures it's just his sister hitting him up. She's pinging him to ask if he caught the new quest, pointing out how these specific missions are literally popping up all over the server right now. Frowning, he digs into the text, super curious. As he skims the details, it hits him hard. This is straight up tied to the 7 constellations. Han glares at the glowing system prompt. It's issuing a massive challenge, giving players a shot at ascending to become one of those legendary 7 constellations. The catch: he has to completely wipe out some ultimate evil faction and prove he's worthy to become a peacekeeper for the entire continent. He squints at the screen, wondering who this so-called ultimate evil even is. A dark thought crosses his mind. Wait, is this thing talking about him? He instantly boots up his computer to check the forums. The entire server is absolutely losing its mind right now. Literally everyone is hyping up this random new quest drop. He's scrolling through the madness while his sister reads over his shoulder. She calls the whole situation a complete dumpster fire. He nods, wondering why the player base is always so unhinged. He's pretty clueless about what this hidden class actually does. But if it's genuinely hardwired into the main storyline of Olympus, the sheer power scale they could unlock has to be completely broken. Sia turns to him, asking if he's actually going to try and challenge the 7 constellations. He highly doubts any NPC in their right mind would ever hand him a quest line, considering his chaotic alignment is literally maxed out. He flips the question back at her, asking if she's going to run it, but she just shrugs, totally on the fence. Honestly, he knows she doesn't have the bandwidth, since she's already swamped grinding away with the Union. Looking a little flustered, she argues that only top-tier rankers with 0 social lives and sweaty international players would even bother with it. He wasn't seriously considering it anyway. Besides, he's starting to notice the monster zones he's been farming have massively spiked in difficulty. Plus, his gut is screaming that this new quest is straight up targeting him and the Sky Devil crew as the server's absolute evil, pushing the main narrative forward. If his big brain theory is right, that means all 7 constellations wielding their busted hidden classes are going to crash down on his head all at once in the worst-case scenario. Man, he really just wanted to coast and live that peaceful, low-key life. But if he stays chilling, he's basically dead meat. So the new game plan: grind like a maniac and get insanely overpowered, whatever it takes. He jacks straight back into Olympus, and the exact second he spawns, he drops a bomb on the elders. He's going totally solo for this next run. All 3 of them instantly drop their jaws in pure shock. They start freaking out loudly, demanding to know why he totally flipped the script out of nowhere. They're practically begging him to rethink this right away, insisting it's way too risky. But he cuts them off, telling them he already knows they are completely ride or die for him. The harsh reality is, according to his latest intel, the Empire has already zeroed in on their exact movements. They need to play it super stealthy this time. Going lone wolf is his only real option here. Hearing his noble reasoning, the elders get totally choked up, praying through their tears that their glorious leader stays safe out there in the wild. Internally, his logic is pretty simple, with the massive 7 constellations questline actively burning through the server. Dragging his crew along would just paint a giant bullseye on their backs for the Empire. He just needs them to lock down the village properly, especially since the real chaos hasn't even kicked off yet. He lovingly calls them his squad of totally precious idiots. First things first, he urgently needs to earn the respect of the remaining elders before time runs out. Getting the nod from Erda right out of the gate was a massive stroke of luck, but he's still got 4 left to win over. By some absolute miracle, he already clutched up and fixed their massive food crisis, meaning he can finally start upgrading their actual base. But his wallet is bleeding gold right now, leaving his hands totally tied on the upgrade front. So his one and only play right now: grind his absolute heart out and power level like an absolute madman. That way he can finally hit level 40, unlock the legendary heaven-shattering ghost art, and actually tackle the mysterious map his master left behind, along with those lingering quests. Hopefully that'll open up some fresh loopholes to fix this mess. He already knows scoring premium loot like those ultra-rare blue stones is basically a pipe dream, thanks to his absolutely garbage RNG. But hey, it is what it is. He locks eyes with a pack of ferocious black wild bears, planning to trigger an absolute grindfest and skyrocket his stats for whatever's coming next. The massive beasts stampede straight for him, but he casually one-taps the entire mob, instantly triggering a system alert. Boom! He just unlocked a brand new skill called the Unordinary Powerful Fist. His eyes light up, thinking this might be the ultimate hunting cheat code. But diving into the stats screen, he realizes it's literally a self-nerfing ability that brutally slashes his attack output just to keep the monsters breathing. Despite it being an absolute trash tier move, he starts jumping around like a total goofball, realizing it's the perfect farming exploit. Now he can just feed the final blow to someone else. Hell, maybe he'll cop a high-tier pet, let it secure the kill, and finally bypass his cursed drop rates. Since his own luck is chronically broken, he's totally hyped and spins around to head back to base. But suddenly, a dark shadow slinks up right behind him. A raspy voice growls that the hunt is finally over. The stalker is dead set he's locked onto his target. Glancing over his shoulder, our guy gets a major sense of déjà vu. The cloaked stranger snarls, demanding if he has any clue about the absolute hellstorm he just triggered. Cue the dramatic reveal. It's Lupin Dahl, the top-tier chaotic outlaw who's currently taking all the heat for our hero's recent wild antics. And literally no one is buying his innocence. Lupin is raging hard about those stuck-up Great Union elites. Murder is practically dripping off the guy. He's here to catch a body and clear his name. Meanwhile, our MC just stares at him, absolutely drawing a blank. Though he definitely senses that heavy, toxic red aura radiating off the dude, Lupin just freezes in pure disbelief, spiraling internally over whether this punk is trolling him or legitimately has zero clue who he's beefing with. Lupin explodes, asking if the kid even possesses a single shred of human decency. He's praying. This is just mind games, but nope, the guy is genuinely clueless. Instead of panicking, our MC just flashes a cheeky smirk and calls him mildly entertaining. That single comment, it totally nukes Lupin's patience. Pure rage ignites in his eyes as he barks out his identity, Lupin Dahl, the exact freaking legend this imposter has been framing this entire time. He's on a mission to drag this fake by the collar and personally deliver him to those Great Union scumbags. He wants to make it crystal clear just how deep in the trenches this kid really is. Lupin expects tears. He wants him groveling and begging for mercy on the dirt. But facing that completely deadpan, unbothered expression, Lupin decides this clown is going to bleed for hijacking his clout. Assuming the kid is secretly shaking in his boots, Lupin figures he'll just surrender peacefully, take a brutal beating, and walk away alive. Nope. The MC just casually shrugs it off, telling him to quit yapping so they can throw hands already. Lupin spits out that he's an absolute psycho. He lets out a heavy sigh, grumbling about how he really didn't want to clash with another Max Chaos player, but whatever. Masks off. He shifts into pure try-hard mode and lunges forward at breakneck speed, low-key, hoping the kid doesn't get one-shotted immediately. Lupin wants a satisfying, slow beatdown. Boom! The MC tanks the massive strike directly to the chest, but his health bar practically yawns. It drops by a pathetic 3%. He just stands there totally unimpressed that this is the legendary outlaw the whole server is sweating over. Yeah, sure, a level 50 player usually stomps anyone in the level 40 bracket, but this is just sad. Without missing a beat, he fires up that brand new ability, dropping into a rock-solid combat stance to launch a deadly counter. Triggering the skill, he purposely nerfs his own attack power by 90%. Why? So he doesn't accidentally vaporize the guy in a single punch. On the flip side, Lupin is sweating, assuming the kid is charging up some god tier, game-breaking ultimate move. If his gut feeling is right, this is the exact same monster who completely obliterated the Great Union director with one blow. A skill like that has to pack apocalyptic damage, demanding an eternity to cast while leaving the user totally exposed. While Lupin's brain works overtime cooking up these crazy theories, the MC simply flickers out of sight, instantly closing the gap and locks a vice grip right around the villain's throat. He drives a brutal fist into his gut and instantly backsteps, kind of wondering if the connection was solid. Lupin just arrogantly scoffs, taunting that he was a fraction of a second too sluggish. Turns out the outlaw managed to deploy a defensive barrier just in the nick of time. Our boy clicks his tongue, super annoyed by the miss. Such a buzzkill not landing a clean knockout. But hey, now he knows this outlaw can tank a bit more heat. Smirking, he cranks his damage cap back up by 40%. Lupin genuinely thinks the kid is just talking trash to buy time for his cooldowns. In standard gameplay, if a fighter's next ability is locked and loaded, they don't sit around monologuing. They just blast you back to the lobby. Utterly convinced the MC is completely defenseless, Lupin charges in like a feral beast. Big mistake. The kid whips around and buries a devastating right hook dead center into Lupin's face. The sheer kinetic force is so insane it launches the notorious criminal flying backward through. Warning panels rapidly spam the interface, confirming that every single shield and defensive aura Lupin had stacked up just violently shattered into digital dust. Rufendal grinds to a dead stop, his boots tearing up the dirt. It hits him. This punk is way more cracked than he thought. That first strike, pure bait just to test his reflexes, while the follow-up was the actual kill shot. But he notices the dude looks visibly annoyed, meaning whatever combo Han planned completely backfired. He groans internally that Blink's skill is straight up broken. If only he had grinded to level 55 to unlock the Eye of Mind ability. Rufendal lets his aura explode, flooding the battlefield with pitch-black energy. He is going all in on this next strike. He is dead set on dropping this guy right here and dragging his half-dead body straight to the Union. Meanwhile, Han stares him down. Recalling a rumor about Rufendal's ultimate broken finisher, pretty sure it was called Heart Attack. Judging by that insane power-up stance, this is definitely it, but Han already has a counter ready to go. He turns off his damage-nerfing passive gearing up to dish out maximum DPS. Rufendal thinks Han is completely out of juice, caught entirely lacking. Screaming like an absolute maniac, Rufendal blasts forward. Han matches his energy, and the moment they collide, the impact triggers a massive shockwave that straight up obliterates the surroundings. Once the dust finally clears, Han just stands there deadpan while Rufendal's eyes go wide, absolutely mind-blown that this dude is still on his feet. That heart attack ultimate should have wiped his health bar completely. He quietly freaks out, wondering what kind of monster tanks a hit like that without even flinching. Han just glares at his dropping body with pure disappointment, low-key annoyed the guy actually croaked. As Rufendal fades out, his last thought is whether Han belongs to some overpowered hidden martial arts class. Thinking Rufendal is just faking it, Han assumes that Heavy Strike must have completely shredded the guy's armor stats. Han simply cannot compute why anyone would rush into melee range when their defense was already totally zeroed out. For a split second, he actually bought the hype and thought Rufendal was but that final ultimate did not even chip away 10% of his HP. Rufendal might be a corpse now, but his ghost can hear every single word silently begging this dude to just shut his mouth. Han just keeps rambling about how Rufendal's DPS was complete trash, questioning why he even attempted a counter after his shields got totally wiped. He calls him an absolute bot, and complains out loud about how a max-level chaotic player got clapped without dropping a single piece of rare loot. Then it clicks for Han. The guy's gear probably shattered mid-fight, leaving literally 0 drops. Those metal shards scattered on the ground must be the leftovers. Hearing this absolute disrespect, Rufendal's spirit basically coughs up blood. That loadout cost him a literal fortune. Han just shrugs, figuring a broken inventory means 0 rewards anyway. He figures he has finally leveled up enough to solo the level 50 zones, dusting himself off to bounce. Han assumes this easy win is his ticket to way better grinding spots. He launches himself into the sky with one massive leap, leaving Rufendal's ghost sobbing in the dirt, whispering pure venom, cursing that toxic sweat and whining like an absolute toddler. Seething that this absolute fraud jacked his identity, he vows to rise up and completely cave Han's smug face in. He triggers his Soulbind ability, an instant self-revive cheat code, and desperately tries to glitch back into his corpse. But right before he links up, some sketchy dude in a cloak rolls up calling his spirit premium crafting material. His face is totally swallowed by the shadows of his hood, muttering about scoring an S-tier body. Talk about insane RNG, Rufendal's ghost recoils in sheer panic, freaking out over who this creepy rando is and what sick, twisted stuff he has planned. The stranger casually lifts a hand and snags his spirit like it is nothing. He murmurs that catching Han's soul would have been peak, but this leftover will do the trick. A freezing dark energy explodes outward, instantly rewriting Rufendal into one of his undead minions. The system flashes a brutal warning: he is permanently locked under hard crowd control unless he somehow breaks the tether. The hooded creep smirks, commanding his new pet to drop and grind out 10 push-ups. Rufendal's ego completely shatters. Like hell he is doing that. But the Soulbind hard engages, shooting raw electricity through his phantom veins until he is forced to obey. He is literally pumping iron against his own will while the cloaked psycho laughs, threatening him with way worse torture if he acts up again. His mind goes into overdrive. He has never even seen a Soulbind skill on the forums. This guy has to be running an ultra-rare hidden class, maybe a Necromancer. Based on that voice, this kid sounds incredibly young. The shadowy freak just keeps giggling totally, roasting his new minion for being a complete pushover. But wait, Rufendal realizes that if he plays it smart, he can totally manipulate this kid to his advantage. Forcing the most painful fake smile, he calls the kid his master and immediately starts snitching on that overpowered sweat who just killed him. His eyes flash with absolute villain energy as he pitches a deal to help hunt Han down. Cutting back to the real world, Han is spoiling his little sister with a massive... Her face totally lights up, seeing those double cheeseburgers literally scratching her biggest craving. She timidly asks if she can snag 2, or maybe even 3. He just stands there grinning like an absolute goofball, watching her stare at the grub like she struck gold before absolutely devouring it. Han chuckles to himself, realizing that while stuffing those scar devils was straight up torture, Spoiling his sister with fast food is the easiest flex ever. He just chills, letting her vibe and chow down at her own speed. Blinking in surprise, she stares up at him, totally baffled by this sudden softy energy. Back in the day, he used to completely rip into her. If she ever dared to order a second burger, she side-eyes him, asking if he is acting big because he is finally securing the bag. Han just stares blankly, completely clueless about the scolding part. Clearing his throat, he admits he actually needs a huge solid. Rolling her eyes, she immediately assumes he is begging her to cop him some gear again. He straight up vents that his luck has been pure garbage lately, getting totally screwed over by beast spawns and loot drops, all because of his max chaotic status. A few NPCs are actually down to back him up, but managing them right now is a massive headache, and trying to level up a pet in this absolute disaster, forget about it. He takes a breath, locking eyes with her, and pitches a wild idea. What if they launched an entire freaking foundation? Together, she practically chokes, almost spitting her soda right in his face. Glaring at him like his brain just blue-screened, she demands to know if he is dead serious. Who on earth casually builds a foundation in this economy? Throwing his hands up, he quickly promises it is not the boring corporate kind she is picturing. Leaning in, she drops some harsh truth, warning him that without elite-tier intel or massive stacks of cash, the Great Union will ruthlessly swallow up everything they try to build. Especially with this new wave of shadowy beasts ruining the meta, the entire economy is crashing hard. She points out that his rank up is right around the corner, meaning their rent and finances are totally safe, begging him to seriously weigh the risks before full sending it. He nods slowly, soaking in her reality check, but his mind is set on making the pitch. Letting out a massive sigh, she finally caves and asks what crazy scheme he is cooking up. As Han breaks down his master plan, the scene shifts. Deep inside the Union's high-tech boardroom, the director is dropping some incredibly dark updates. Hunters are getting completely wiped out back-to-back out in the pitch-black wildlands. He brings up that the max chaotic player specifically swore off catching bodies unless someone aggroed him first. But the big boss, the Union leader, instantly interrupts, snapping that they already blasted a server-wide warning for everyone to keep their distance from gearless max chaotics. However, the director is super skeptical, convinced the guy in the leaked clip is definitely not Rufendal. He throws a high-res combat recording up on the screen showing an intense forest showdown between him and Han, explaining they just scraped this data a few days prior. The clip shows the max chaotic engaging in a brutal head-on PvP brawl. The leader practically applauds the director for managing to secure such extremely rare and top-tier visual intel. The director admits he totally threw the match, making a massive rookie mistake by pushing offensively right after his defensive shields shattered. He was fighting like a cornered animal, which felt totally bizarre. After analyzing every frame, the experts lock in their theory. Han is a god-tier close-quarters brawler, rocking off the chart stats, yet he looks ridiculously young. The director is convinced this kid is secretly wielding an ultra-rare hidden class. Based on his wild, unpolished raw power, it is painfully obvious he has not fully mastered his own build yet. The director casually adds that while farming this info, they also triggered a massive rank-up quest from a high-tier aristocratic NPC. Intrigued, the leader demands the details. The director slides a photo across the holographic table, and the leader, this dude looks totally different from the guy in the footage. The director nods, backing it up by saying he double-checked with the elites. Turns out the system tagged this max chaotic anomaly as Ramthedian, and wiping him off the map is the only way to shatter the curse. The director makes his case, arguing that it is way smarter to track down a target they actually have data on instead of chasing absolute phantoms. The boss just shrugs it off, making it crystal clear that he only cares about bagging those stable points. He asks how much muscle the director needs for this raid. The director casually drops that 30 bodies should be plenty, scheming to toss their lowest-level rookies into the meat grinder first to chip away at the target. The unlucky ones who bite the dust get a pathetic payout of 100,000 won, while the MVPs score a 300,000 won bonus. One girl chimes in, straight up questioning if that chump change is really worth risking their actual lives over. Because let us be real, dying inside Olympus still hurts like absolute hell. The director smooths things over, promising they will score massive step-up points. And banking on the guild's blind loyalty, he is dead set that they will go all out. He wraps up his pitch with a super arrogant smirk, spouting some boomer logic about how the youth need to be on that endless grind. The boss just chuckles, laughing off the concern and agreeing that 300,000 won is a massive flex for motivation. With a jaw-dropping 700 million gold bounty slapped on the target's head, this greasy director fully plans to embezzle 200 million of it for himself. The big boss greenlights the operation, figuring 3 million is a solid cut. He literally could not care less if his entire squad gets wiped, just as long as he gets to secure the bag. This absolute psycho finishes his pep talk with a spine-chilling grin. Meanwhile, way up in the freezing peaks of the Lepnia Mountains, Zia finally manages to track down her brother Han. The second he spots her, his whole face lights up like a Christmas tree. He instantly hits her up, asking if she smuggled in all the gear he ordered. She nods, even though heavy doubts are seriously clouding her judgment right now. She is seriously questioning if this trash even counts as legit study material, considering they are literally just tutorial-level spellbooks with magic weaker than what a zero-level mage uses. Plus, she is convinced it is totally pointless to cram new skills right in the middle of a class advancement anyway. With his ridiculously busted stats, he honestly should have locked in his class an eternity ago. Han just looks at her and asks if she knows the old saying. In the grip of a true swordmaster, even a flimsy blade of grass turns into a lethal weapon. She just blinks in confusion, totally clueless about the quote. He breaks it down for her, saying it is the exact same vibe here. When your stats are literally god tier, even a basic attack hits like a total nuke. He speedruns through the massive stack of noob guides, flawlessly downloading every single skill into his brain in just minutes. Honestly, he finds it incredibly tragic that with his cracked specs, he is basically forced to cosplay as a budget one-punch man. Suddenly, it clicks in her brain that this dude still has not done his job advancement, hitting her with a massive wave of pure shock. He casually points out that is exactly what he has been trying to tell her. She completely, absolutely baffled as to how a guy with his insanely broken power level is still rocking the unemployed title. She swears life is just totally rigged at this point. She literally rage quit her comfy guild job just to back him up, and yet here he is completely classless. Her brain cannot even process the absurdity of it all, and she frustratedly mutters that he better take full responsibility for her survival, since she is basically risking her entire future on his success right now. Han already knows exactly what she sacrificed, which is exactly why he is endlessly grateful for her loyalty. Deep down, he is manifesting that they can resurrect their fallen family legacy together. To test things out, he casually tosses a beginner healing spell straight at his sister. She aggressively rolls her eyes, completely convinced that this trash tier level 1 magic will not even put a dent in her gnarly wounds. But Han just tells her to, powered by nothing but a tutorial level heal, her deep gashes instantly stitch themselves completely shut. Still playing the skeptic, she begs to chug a health potion just to be safe. He just smirks and tells her to check her health bar before she panics. She stares at her stats, completely dumbfounded, realizing her health bar is literally maxed out. Her brain totally short-circuits trying to process the glitchy reality. He keeps the momentum going, stacking massive attack and defense buffs on her so she can test drive this insane new power-up. She glances around, totally clueless, wondering what the hell she is even supposed to fight out here. She figures she might go bully a random skeleton mob or something. Han just points right behind her back, casually dropping that she does not need to look far. She whips around and practically loses her mind when she spots a colossal muscle-bound black bear. This is not some weak magical illusion, but a fully enraged, terrifying apex predator charging right at her. Pure horror completely freezes her in place internally, screaming over whether her insane brother actually expects her to solo a boss that normally takes a fully geared rating. Fast forward 3 minutes, and by some absolute miracle, she manages to completely obliterate the monster. She is still shaking, calling the entire ordeal totally unhinged but undeniably badass. Han flashes a smug grin, asking if she is finally a believer. She openly admits she is, especially after looting a hyper-rare blue mana stone from the Carnage, a drop that could easily fetch a sweet. He hits her with the reality check, reminding her that handing it over to the official guild would only net them a pathetic 100,001 crumb. But since they are completely off the grid, now 100% of the loot goes straight into their own pockets. He then reveals his master plan to power level her all the way up to level 45 inside the notorious Field of Darkness. She is totally down for the grind, so the duo immediately rolls out. The second they step into the zone, Han just casually strolls through the danger like he literally owns the place. A literal avalanche of nightmarish beasts is hot on his heels, but she doesn't flinch instantly, weaving a deadly incantation. High-voltage lightning shreds the demonic cattle as he effortlessly plays the ultimate decoy. He drops a smooth compliment while glittering blue gems shower the blood-soaked dirt. They sweep up a whopping 18 crystals. She is practically vibrating, hyped out of her mind, knowing this stash will fetch a fat 90 million won. She playfully flexes about launching her very own burger empire with that kind of cash, but his eyes are already sweeping the desolate terrain. The zone is a total ghost town. He narrows his gaze, guessing the sudden drought of players is tied to that shadowy freak spawning nearby. Because honestly, this grinding spot used to be packed shoulder to shoulder with greedy hunters. Out of nowhere, a squad of ratty players jump them from the blind spot, salivating over scoring that mass. He barely even tries swatting an attacker away like a mosquito, while heavily capping his own strength. He is serving them up on a silver platter for his sister to finish the job and snatch their drops just like the good old days. She flatlines the grunt and snipes a glowing artifact from the dirt, but pauses asking if they are basically mugging people at this point. He waves off the guilt trip, reminding her the whole server assumes he is just a trash-tier villain. Nobody with a single brain cell would dare test him, but if some fool steps up, he is going to wipe them off the map with zero hesitation. He casually points to the horizon. A literal armada is marching straight down their throats. Her breath hitches as she spots one heavily armored tank, flexing level 50 vibes leading a whole battalion. The terrifying truth smashes into her. This entire army formed up for a massive raid, and he is the raid boss. He gives a chilling nod. Pure panic spikes in her chest, begging him to dip out before they get absolutely folded. But he knows the exit window has officially slammed shut. She spirals into a full-blown meltdown right as the merciless system pops a glowing red alert. Combat is locked, and escape is disabled, until every single hostile player bites the dust. He sharply tells her to chill out, swearing he has everything under control. He commands her to step back so the mob does not tag her as collateral damage. A demonic grin splits his face. He locks eyes with the sea of tryhards who traveled miles just to bag his head. He throws down a cold ultimatum: keep your weapons sheathed and you get to breathe another day. The commander pivots to his grunts and barks that this is their golden goose, the legendary Max Chaotic. Yanking his blade free, he orders the squad to execute the master plan and clear the drop zone. Turns out this arrogant shot caller is an executive big shot named Jin. His magic casters immediately sync up, throwing down heavy snare spells to lock our boy in chains. But instead of fear, sheer mind-numbing boredom washes over our protagonist's eyes. He practically spoon-fed them a free survival pass, but clearly these chumps have a massive death wish. With a mere flex, he shatters the mystical chains like glass and hurls a blazing sphere of fire right at their front lines. Jin lets out an elitist snort, mocking the basic tier sorcery, and barks at his vanguards to pop their defensive auras. In Jin's arrogant brain, even if this spell packs a punch, the target is purely a close combat brawler, meaning these pathetic flames will barely scratch their paint. He commands his snipers to queue up their ultimate combos the second the smoke clears. Every single scavenger is foaming at the mouth for that 3,000,001 prize, following Jin's orders like absolute lapdogs, while our hero stares them down with a dead, soulless gaze. He mentally shrugs, trying to remember which guild of losers he is vaporizing today. Yesterday, it was that Rufundle clown. Suddenly, a cataclysmic blast violently ruptures the battlefield. Jin clings to life by a literal thread, hacking up smoke as his eyes widen in pure, unadulterated horror. His entire invincible army flattened into glowing ash. His brain totally short-circuits. He cannot fathom how a supposed fistfighter just nuked an entire platoon with a dollar store fire spell. Screaming for a ceasefire, he scrambles to figure out how a beginner's attack triggered a bloodbath. Cold sweat drips down his neck. As a terrifying thought hits him, what if this monster is actually a hidden grand mage? No. That logic is completely busted. If he were a top-tier spellcaster, those early snare traps would have bounced right off. But the absolute craziest part, the guy has not even shifted an inch from his original footprint. Raw survival instinct kicks in, screaming at Jin to pack up and bail before he is next. Our protagonist stays icy quiet, casually mumbling that, yep, pretty much anything gets deleted if his spells make contact. His sister peeks out, totally shell-shocked, swearing she has never seen a basic flame pack a nuclear payload. He just shrugs, admitting he is just as surprised. She squints, assuming the boss is still rooted by that trap spell, but he shuts that down fast. Nah, he broke free ages ago. Bewildered, she demands to know why he is just standing there like a statue. He smirks, claiming he was too busy vibing with her. Plus, that apocalyptic spell is still ticking down on cooldown. He is itching to drop a few more of those fiery nukes on these absolute bozos just for the science of it. As a menacing, straight-up villainous chuckle escapes his throat, she just stares. Her jaw hits the floor as the reality sinks in. Her older brother has evolved into an absolute anomaly. While the mighty guild exec is busy losing his damn mind, Han just lets out an exaggerated yawn, looking bored out of his skull. The timer finally hits 0. He clicks his tongue internally, complaining that waiting 60 whole seconds for a recast is a massive buzzkill. While the panicked commander frantically lines up his surviving snipers to hold their fire for his mark, the dude is totally lost in the sauce, deeply questioning if Han's entire physical combat persona is just a massive troll, and he is actually a cracked-out sorcerer hiding in plain sight. Meanwhile, miles away in the concrete jungle, another faction boss picks up a frantic SOS from Jin, who is practically begging for reinforcements, because things just went completely off the rails. He screams that Han isn't some basic brawler after all, demanding heavy shields above level 30 to absorb incoming magical damage. the guild boss demanding to know what kind of bloodbath is unfolding. Jin stammers that 3 guys are already dead in the dirt. But, supposedly, their target is currently locked inside a snare spell, buying them precious seconds during his cooldown, though Jin panics that they have to end this right now. Before Han slaughters the rest of the vanguard, the boss realizes their scouts totally fumbled the bag, but honestly, he could not care less. He just figures this rogue player is craftier than they anticipated. He barks at Jin to hold the line while the cavalry arrives, figuring that even if he has to share the loot, dropping more bodies into the meat grinder is absolutely worth it. Cut back to the war zone. Jin screams at his rangers to notch their arrows. Since Han is seemingly paralyzed by the hex, Jin jumps to the brain-dead conclusion that he must be a squishy mage. Taking the bait like a total fool, he declares this their golden window and orders a full bombardment. Han merely flashes a devilish smirk. The frontline gunslingers pull their triggers while the backline unleashes a massive volley of arrows, triggering a deafening explosion that engulfs the whole zone in raging flames. Jin shrieks at his squad to keep pouring on the damage, desperate to deny their prey a single second to breathe. He fully believes he is winning this exchange. He genuinely stops caring about Han's actual build. The only objective now is keeping this monster suppressed. A shaky, nervous grin creeps onto his face, hoping that if RNG blesses them, they might just shred half of Han's health bar before the backup units even arrive. Suddenly, Han bursts through the smoke like a lightning bolt, brutally executing a vanguard, leaving Jin absolutely paralyzed with shock. His brain glitches trying to process the scene. Han was supposed to be completely immobilized, yet here he is tearing through them like a rabid predator. Smirking that his cooldowns have finally reset, he begins a savage massacre, carving through soldiers like butter, hurling scorching fireballs he just unlocked. Jin shrieks at his troops to block him, but Han coldly reminds them they had their chance to run, and now they get to meet the Reaper. He goes full psycho mode, shredding the raid group, like he is just toying around in a twisted sandbox. As the survivors start Jin frantically screams at them to hold their ground and stop retreating. Right then, the guild boss suddenly steps out of the shadows, patting Jin's shoulder for holding the vanguard together. He smugly declares he will be taking the steering wheel from here. Jin stutters about the reinforcements, and the boss flexes that he already pinged their allied networks. Eliminating Han is now the ultimate server-wide priority, meaning he is officially splitting the bounty. A massive swarm of backup is rolling in, because he just broadcasted an escalation quest. As Han stands amidst the carnage like a literal grim reaper, the guild boss finally registers, the insane mountain of corpses piling up so quickly. But with 200 armed players surrounding the zone, he arrogantly assumes victory is practically guaranteed. He tells Jin to chill out and watch the show. Han, meanwhile, casually checks his own health bar, realizing it hasn't dropped a single point. Compared to Rufundel, these guys are absolute fodder, meaning his passive regen totally outpaces their pathetic tickle-level damage. He lets out a dark chuckle, realizing Rufundel was actually built different. Flashing an arrogant grin, he figures that massacring an army of 200 scrubs is going to be an absolute cakewalk. Off to the side, his sister spectates the entire chaotic bloodbath, sweating over whether he can actually survive this. Han suddenly whispers for her to jump in and start throwing hands at him too. She stares blankly, totally confused, but he explains she needs to fake an attack so she doesn't look like a suspicious AFK bystander. She hesitantly asks if she should fry him with a lightning strike. He gives her the green light, so she shrugs, whispers, "Screw it," and blasts her own flesh and blood with high-voltage magic. Right as a massive system prompt flashes in his vision, he yells at her to pause so he can read the screen, but he is already getting barbecued by her spell. The glowing blue text announces Han just unlocked a hidden special class. She blinks in confusion, wondering what the heck just triggered. The system blares that he has hit an insane maxed-out chaos state, with his killer brand shifting pitch black. He knew this evolution was coming eventually, but definitely not this freaking fast. The system officially crowns him as a divine, bloodthirsty constellation. As his infamous kill streak gets broadcasted across the entire continent, his stats absolutely explode. With his eyes glowing like a feral demon, he swipes open his title window, which labels him the ultimate predator born from pure, unfiltered killing intent. And damn, the buff he gets from it is absolutely broken. Still getting stamped as history's most savage killer feels a little extra. He lets out a heavy breath, realizing he's plunging headfirst into pure villain territory while slicing through waves of grunts. He catches on quick. Every brutal act he pulls off sends the Sky Devil clan's loyalty skyrocketing. Plus, he spots a fresh buff in his stats that's going to be an absolute game-changer if he ever squares up against a hero-tier enemy. Han processes all this data while effortlessly carving up the squad, blocking his path. The poor scrubs on the receiving end are completely mind-blown, unable to tell if this dude is throwing hands or casting spells. They have zero clue what kind of raid boss they just aggroed. Flashing a wicked grin, Han casually drops the bomb that he hasn't even picked a class yet. That single sentence paralyzes the troops in pure terror. They stare at him, wondering what kind of glitch in the Matrix this dude is. Up in the VIP box, the executive director turns to President Jiang, sweating bullets as he begs for a new strategy. Jiang knows the vibe just shifted from bad to apocalyptic. The old suit assumes our boy is just masking his true class to protect his blind spots. Convinced every build has at least one fatal nerf, the president orders Director Jin to tag along. They're going to body Han personally. He barks down at Han, branding him a trash-tier villain and swearing he'll expose his weak point before wiping his account off the server. Instead, Han absolutely shreds both of them without breaking a sweat, dropping the cold truth that he lived. Stretching out his shoulders while standing in a sea of bodies, a random thought hits him. His one and only downside is his total lack of area of effect skills. He groans, figuring he needs to speed grind some levels and unlock one as soon as possible. Just then his sister hits him up asking if they can test out a few theories. He arches an eyebrow, highly suspicious of whatever she's cooking. She casually mentions that he probably just sparked a hidden class questline. The duo zones into a dungeon where she warns him to lock in. Stacking her buffs, she straight up blasts him with a high voltage strike, miraculously shaving off a chunk of his health bar for the first time ever. A genuine wave of agony hits him, realizing her max buffed damage output rivals Rufundle's ultimate strike. But even though the burn is absolutely brutal, his healing factor goes into overdrive, confirming that catching a game over screen is practically impossible for him now. She doesn't let up, unleashing a relentless barrage of magic right at his face. She keeps spamming her heaviest spells, and right when his health flashes red for a critical warning, she completely passes out from 0 mana. Suddenly, the interface flashes, unlocking his true title, the Heavenly Murderous Constellation. It took her 1 solid hour of non-stop nuking to drop his health that low. He's way too exhausted to hype up his new rank, assuming this was the endgame of her crazy quest chain. And, boom, the system confirms it. He's officially a walking apocalypse. With mobs crawling out of the shadows, he steps up to wipe the floor with them, ordering her to stay put. The interface starts spamming wild, glitchy alerts left and right. Even though she knows he's pretending to be completely unbothered, she stares in awe as he effortlessly blitzes through the skeleton army. Ready to dive deeper into the abyss, he tells her he's pushing forward and to slide into his DMS if things go south. She gives a nod as her screen pings, announcing the constellation's departure. But since she just nailed the final hidden objective, an intense aura wraps around her, supercharging her stats. Right before his eyes, she ascends into the 7th constellation, triggering an insane evolution on the spot. Han stops in his tracks, wondering what kind of absolute madness just dropped. Meanwhile, somewhere else, his sister fully shifts into her awakened state while the system showers her with god-tier passive skills. She stands totally shell-shocked by the massive power creep. Cutting back to reality. Inside the Union's sleek boardroom, the Effort Guild's boss tips his head, thanking the top players for logging on in real life. Before boldly crowning himself the supreme commander of their coalition, he lets out a heavy sigh, apologizing for dragging them out to a physical meetup, then immediately drops the hammer. Their entire faction is currently in absolute shambles. Turns out, the Maximum Chaotic raid tanked completely after a massive intel leak derailed everything. Thanks to that epic fail, heavyweight merchant guilds cut their ties, leaving the alliance bleeding out in the market. To stop the bleeding, they're about to ban-hammer a bunch of their own members. Furious mutters erupt around the table, with players flaming the Maximum Chaotic scumbag who triggered this whole disaster. The crowd assumes their new boss is cracking under the insane stress, but then a sick, calculated smirk spreads across his face. Every single piece is falling perfectly into his 4D chess trap. He formally apologizes, announcing a sudden pivot. They are going to keep farming this shared quest. He owns up to the fact that the clear time is a total mystery, but swears on his life that when the boss falls, everyone in the room will be swimming in bonus stat points. He figures that vow will cool their jets for a minute, crossing his fingers that their next link-up goes down under way better vibes with a totally stacked alliance. Since there's literally a never-ending line of wannabes, but the real priority right now is doing damage control with the merchant guilds before things go completely sideways. Sinking back into his plush massage chair, he gears up and dives straight into Olympus. He grumbles to himself that this massive headache wouldn't even be a thing if he had just flatlined out there with his squad. Bouncing back from a nuked reputation is an absolute nightmare, but he is fully ready to roll the dice, because wiping that bastard off the map is the only shot they have at reviving their coalition, even if it means blowing the 1 billion gold he and the corrupt board directors embezzled. Spawning into the world of Olympus, he smirks, convinced that massive bag is more than enough to slap a lethal bounty on Han. Striding through the game world, he hits up a shady tavern. The bartender throws him a slick, polite greeting, clearly wondering what kind of dark business dragged him in today. The geezer slides a hit list photo across the wood, demanding an execution contract from Murdervale. The middleman scans the picture, raising a brow at the target's insane threat level, but brushes it off, claiming Murdervale eats jobs like this for breakfast. When asked if he brought the cash, the old man doesn't even blink, slamming a staggering 1 billion gold down as an upfront deposit. The broker guarantees a clean kill in exactly 3 days. The old man smirks, knowing full well that Murdervale and the Black Floral Group are the absolute top-tier death squads in the Empire. That Max Chaotic punk is officially about to get erased, even though dropping 1 billion gold in 24 hours feels like taking a shotgun blast to the gut. He hypes himself up, swearing he will make it back 7 times over the second Han hits the dirt. Plus, with step-up points practically falling from the sky right now, this aggressive play is his biggest brain move yet. Strutting past the safety zone, he steps straight into the open wilderness. Now he just needs to wait out the 3-day timer. But the literal millisecond his boots touch the forest floor, a blade cleanly lops off his head, one-shotting him on the spot. As his HP hits 0, he realizes he just got packed up, but his brain short-circuits because he literally didn't detect a single damn thing. System prompts flash, locking him into a soul state until he logs out, hovering there like a totally helpless ghost. He spins around and catches a masked phantom, casually dropping a calling card onto the blood-soaked dirt, stamped with the sinister crest of the Black Floral Group. He just stares at it, completely mind-blown as to why they just hunted him down. The masked killer coldly states this is just the warm-up and he had strict orders to butcher him. Cut to the pitch-black halls of Murdervale's headquarters. An operative reports to his boss, confirming he passed the hit along to the Black Floral Group exactly as instructed. The boss figures the old man is already worm food by now. A wicked smirk stretches across his face. It is finally time for him to crash the party. The underling mutters that, given the bounty, they could have easily just zeroed the boomer themselves. Instantly, the boss rises from his throne, blasting out a blood-curdling aura that completely suffocates the room. He snarls at the grunt to shut his mouth and blindly follow orders, unless he wants his skull caved in right here, right now. The fiery crimson-haired leader, his insane bloodlust literally rattling the walls, declares he is taking this contract on, personally commanding his lapdog to spread the word. The grunt lets out a shaky breath, thanking his lucky stars his head is still attached to his neck, stepping out into the night. The crimson-haired warlord mentally hypes himself up. The clock has finally run out for the absolute embodiment of evil Han. For 30 brutal years he has stood as the untouchable founder and king of Murdervale. But the ultimate boss-level evil he has been praying for is still underleveled. He guesses some system restrictions are heavily nerfing the kid, but that is Han's problem to fix. This legendary monster known as the Second Elder Yuhan is totally ready to test if Han actually has the juice to be crowned the absolute ruler. Meanwhile, in a completely different zone, Han's jaw literally hits the floor. Flashing a massive grin, she brags that the second she unlocked her new class, her EXP gauge went completely berserk. Flexing her status as the 7th constellation, the pure white mage, she casually reveals she is already pushing level 31. He frantically points out her step-up points are sitting at dead 0, but she just brushes it off like it is nothing, claiming she does not even need the system's handouts. Now that she has claimed her throne as a legit constellation, she internally hypes herself up, realizing this god-tier power trip is exactly why players grind like absolute maniacs for class evolutions. Still, she throws Han, fully aware she only secured this epic W because he carried her. Han just stands there totally shook, piecing together that she likely triggered her class evolution just by landing one single attack on him. If the system works like that, it proves he really is a walking cataclysm. She bounces with excitement, asking him to party up and go mob hunting together soon. But a dark realization hits him like a freight train. If all 7 constellations can speedrun their leveling without burning a single step-up point, they are way more broken than he thought. Bro is genuinely cooked long-term. His ultimate dream was just vibing and eating top-tier meals, but with how things are escalating, his sister, hitting level 99 is practically a guarantee. I mean, she partied up with him back when they were grinding through his custom-built Field of Darkness. He equips her with some mind-jamming gear so he can use direct voice comms. Sending chat logs would be a rookie mistake that could totally dox her secret identity. She sweetly asks if she can just casually poke him with a few stray attacks. Cue a massive system alert flashing before his eyes, announcing she just ascended to a platinum tier hero. He does the math in his head. If she's skyrocketing to platinum, literally just by scratching his HP bar, he's about to be a walking magnet for hardcore aggro. He gives her the green light to keep swinging, but drops a heavy reminder to dial it back and actually keep him breathing. Her face instantly glows, morphing into this wicked goblin mode smirk as she teases that she low-key hopes she gets to execute him eventually, since just using him as a punching bag power-leveled her into the stratosphere. Eyes flashing with pure menace, she straight up asks for permission to end his run. He has to pause and remind her they share DNA. She immediately claps back that it's just pixels, and they can just 50-50 the rare drops like usual. He sighs, promising that if his final boss moment ever arrives, she gets dibs on the final strike. The sheer thought of deleting her own brother sends her into maximum hype mode. He only agreed because morbid curiosity is getting the better of him. But deep down, he's sweating bullets trying to figure out why she's this absolutely pumped to catch a body. He brushes the intrusive thoughts aside, honestly just breathing a sigh of relief, seeing her flex her brand new constellation aura. Flash forward a few days and she's out here one-shotting massive black bears like they're literal gnats. The dynamic duo steamrolls the entire dungeon layout without even trying. She bags some insane epic loot, and he instructs her to secure it in her inventory. He summons his holographic stat interface, hyping himself up for a level up, only to realize he's missing a microscopic fraction of XP. He's literally hovering at 99%. He decides to grind out a few more mob spawns while she dips back to town to restock on heals and utility items. He warns her to stay frosty and not fumble the bag on the way out. She just swats the air dismissively, promising to be right back, and logs out of the zone. He calculates he has a solid 10-minute window to farm enough kills for his next milestone. But out of the absolute shadows, a suffocating boss-level pressure slams into him. A cold voice slices through the deadly silence. Absolute ruler of the sky. Devil Johann phases into reality right at his back, pressing cold steel flush against his jugular. The assassin drops his title, the Second Elder, and announces it's game over. This is the ultimate trial by fire to prove if he actually deserves the absolute ruler crown. Choke now, and he's permanently deleted on the spot. Plus, the Murdervale Guild will instantly broadcast a massive bounty on his head. His HUD violently glitches as a fresh quest drops the Second Elder Johann's ambush. The difficulty rating: a terrifying SSS. Red warning screens flood his vision, screaming that Johann is the undisputed rank 1 player in stealth and assassination stats, out of all 12 legendary Sky Devil Elders. So Han's mission is brutal. Fold the Second Elder Johann in combat and force him to bend the knee. A secondary pop-up flashes threatening that if he fumbles gaining the absolute ruler's respect, he's diving headfirst into an insanely toxic mess. He analyzes the situation, even if this is masked as a basic side objective branching off the return of the absolute ruler main campaign. It's still flexing that brutal SSS threat level, factoring in that his little sister unlocked literal god-tier constellation status just from spamming basic attacks on him. Odds are incredibly high that he's the actual raid boss of this entire storyline. And if it's true that the rival constellations don't have to grind progression points, the way his sister bypassed them, these entities are about to scale insanely fast, with totally broken meta-defining skills. A bunch of them could easily shatter the level 90 cap. In the darkest timeline, if he has to solo the entire constellation roster, back to back, it makes total sense. The server AI is feeding him a SSS quest to buff his stats and rebalance the odds. He slowly shifts his gaze to Johann, who sharply orders him to draw his blade. Internally, our guy smirks. This assassin definitely already read the room. Johann is acutely aware he's entirely unarmed right now. He starts running the mental calculations, questioning why he even has to flex his worth to this random NPC. Johann glares back, trying to read his poker face. He bets his entire inventory that if Johann actually wanted to gank him, the guy wouldn't be monologuing right now, which practically guarantees this dude is just a devoted fanboy, praying for the Sky Devil's epic respawn. Honestly, totally on brand for a cult follower. He casually reminds Johann that he's currently locked under a brutal debuff, and that restriction is inches away from shattering. Johann slowly sheathes his dagger, so he completely leans into the act, throwing his hands up like, "Of course. I'm absolute trash right now, just pathetic." That's exactly why breaking this cursed seal is taking an eternity. He already knows the whole faction is holding their breath for his grand return. If they can just stall for a bit more time, he's guaranteed to evolve into their absolute ruler. That's not even up for debate. But seriously, he ponders why Johann is sweating so hard, trying to snuff out his tiny sliver of survival. He totally gets that the assassin is speedrunning this, but drops a cold warning. Will the Second Elder really be okay with the fallout? Johann instantly goes radio silent. One glance at his face and Han knows this dude is swallowing the bait hook, line, and sinker. Time to lock this in. Han smoothly admits he probably looks like absolute trash to Johann right now. But give him just 10 minutes and he's going to fully unleash the heaven-shattering ghost art passed down by his master. Just 10 minutes. Johan's eyes practically bug out of his head. He stammers the legendary name out loud, demanding to know if Han is actually dead serious about pulling that off. Han doesn't even blink. He confidently fires back that if Johan just chills for a few minutes, he'll drop the ultimate proof right in front of his face. Deciding he needs to see this flex with his own two eyes, Johan completely melts into the shadows, whispering that he'll be watching closely, and tossing Han exactly 10 minutes on the clock. The holographic system flares up, confirming a 10-minute countdown courtesy of Johan's fleeting mercy. Han lets out a massive, shaky breath, as pure relief crashes over him now that he's successfully scammed his way into a brief lifeline. He is hovering right on the edge of leveling up. All he needs is to shred through a handful of basic mobs. Dashing out of the dungeon, he figures his abysmal -99 luck stat guarantees monsters will literally throw themselves at his throat anyway, making this a total breeze. But the absolute second his boots hit the dirt outside reality slaps him silly, as he frantically sprints in circles only to find the entire zone completely dead. Not a single monster in sight. Usually, there'd be some rabid bear or undead skeleton just chilling right here. Actual tears prick his eyes as he hopelessly wonders why the spawn rates have flatlined. The literal one time he needs to grind. He straight up breaks down, screaming at the universe for leaving him completely high and dry, when his life is genuinely on the line. The glowing timer ruthlessly ticks down to just 30 seconds. Panic spirals in his chest as he wonders if just throwing hands with Johan from the jump would have been a less pathetic way to die. But then, a flash of memory hits him, Johan nearly turning him into sliced sashimi in a microsecond, and he instantly scraps that delusional thought. The brutal countdown flashes, 20 seconds remaining. Total desperation kicks in. He frantically scrambles for another galaxy brain lie to extend the timer, but no matter what absolute garbage he spins, he knows Johan won't give him a single extra inch. Just as doom sets in, his sister literally explodes out of the brush, panting that she's been tracking him down everywhere. He immediately barks at her to run for her life because this zone is a death trap, but she just blinks at him like he's crazy. She sprints straight toward him, dragging an entire chaotic stampede of bloodthirsty monsters right on her tail. She triumphantly yells that she busted her ass kiting this massive aggro train just for him. For a split second, his jaw just hits the floor in pure shock. Then a downright unhinged manic laugh rips from his throat as he launches himself forward. She watches totally baffled as he blows right past her, screaming for her to get to safety and swearing on his life he'll hook her up with crazy rewards once the dust settles. He violently plows straight into the surging wave of beasts, butchering them left and right with merciless precision, successfully dinging level 40 milliseconds before the timer flatlines. Now that he's hit that sweet level 40 milestone, he instantly triggers his trump card. Right as the lethal second elder materializes from the shadows behind his back, chillingly warning him not to fall behind, the holographic windows erupt into a blinding golden light. The notification drops: requirements cleared, heaven-shattering ghost art successfully unlocked. A massive shockwave of golden aura blasts outward, granting him absolute razor-sharp control over the Sky Devil energy. And to top it all off, he's got a lethal new advantage, perfectly compensating for his trash physical base stats. He mutters under his breath that it was way too close for comfort, but he's absolutely positive that this insane light show will instantly shut Johan up. His terrifying title as the Murderous Constellation officially gets hard-locked into the system, leaving him sweating over what kind of cursed lore the system is cooking up next. Without warning, a massive prompt crowns him as the absolute evil, and an overwhelming tsunami of pure savage energy violently erupts from his core. The second elder completely freezes in his tracks, utterly paralyzed by the horrifying realization that his master truly is the genuine absolute evil. Han forces out a tense, awkward chuckle, mentally noting that he totally saw this coming, but actually getting permanently branded as the universe's ultimate villain still hits him with a weird, sickening gut punch. Shaking it off, he immediately pulls up his status window. Reading that terrifying new title, he watches an absolute avalanche of broken new abilities stack up. Realizing this heaven-shattering ghost art can be evolved to even more god-tier levels, the glowing blue notifications just keep rapidly firing off like the system is on pure steroids, aggressively spoon-feeding him wild, overpowered buffs back to back. Utterly overwhelmed by the sheer pressure, the second elder instantly drops to his knees, slamming his forehead to the dirt, to furiously beg for mercy for ever doubting his supreme power. Han smoothly plays it cool, assuring Johan that it's totally fine. Honestly, he would have questioned the flex too, if the roles were completely flipped. Deep down, he's just sweating bullets of relief that this terrifying assassin finally respects him as his true lord. But hiding right behind that chill smirk, gears are aggressively turning. He is 100% dead set on hijacking the Murder Veil organization for himself. And right on cue, Johann vows his undying loyalty, instantly wiping out the system quest in one incredibly smooth sweep. He mentally pats himself on the back, hyping himself up since there's literally only one boss elder left on the hit list. He tells Johann he's heavily counting on his skills, but abruptly chokes on his own words mid-sentence. When his sister's icon pops up aggressively spamming his vision with frantic system messages, he frantically types back asking if she's still in one piece. But she just casually brushes off the danger bluntly, telling him to keep his head in the game and focus on the real mission. Did you catch those wild server announcements, she asks, to which he casually hits back that the entire game is basically losing its mind right now? The servers are literally on fire because the absolute evil just spawned. The player base is absolutely spiraling, frantically hunting for this mystery villain's identity, hoping to cheese their quests. She pitches him a team up, promising that if they track down this ultimate boss together, his sky-high chaotic stat will totally reset. He just stands there sweating bullets because she is dead-ass plotting to hunt him down right to his face. Trying to pivot, he mentions his stats just shattered the 100 mark, all thanks to her carry. Her eyes widen as she immediately demands to know his exact stat jump. He just shrugs, dropping a casual 19. Her jaw practically hits the floor considering grinding even one single point is mathematically borderline impossible. She just stares at him like he grew a second head, trying to process what kind of glitchy nonsense he pulled this time. She eventually chalks it up to his insanely busted luck, assuming he just spammed random moves again. She forces out a congrats, but her brain is visibly short-circuiting. Her pulse is pounding so hard, she feels like she might straight up faint. Needing to touch some actual grass, she logs out of Olympus to breathe. She always knew her brother was a different breed. But this flex is just way too ridiculous. Shaking off the shock, she steps outside to clear her head. Meanwhile, still plugged into the server, he realizes he completely broke her brain. He sighs, wondering how the actual hell he is ever going to confess that he is the server's public enemy #1. Shoving that massive red flag aside, he pivots his focus to bagging his juicy SSS tier quest loot. He gestures for Johann to spill the tea, secretly crossing his fingers that he just inherited the entire Murdervale syndicate, because having a shadow army would make clapping those arrogant constellations a breeze and print him infinite money. The second elder clears his throat, announcing a massive intel drop. Han gives him the green light. Johann dives into a deep breakdown of the syndicate's current firepower and strategic standing. But before he can even finish his sentence, a squad of uninvited mobs crashes the party. The elder instantly melts into the shadows like a ghost. Han violently clicks his tongue, supremely pissed that his loot drop just got interrupted. A heavily armored platoon marches up, screaming the name Ramtadian at him. Their captain roars out a bounty, promising that whoever drops this target is going to bag a massive payday. Han glares at them, annoyed out of his mind that these clowns are still mistaking his identity. Letting out a heavy sigh, he realizes these brain-dead NPCs will literally never stop spamming the exact same aggro trap. The Vanguard Knight spots Han flying solo, so he orders his entire squad to rush him down, hyping them up with some cringe speech about. Han just stands there deadpan, watching this metal tsunami stampede straight toward him. Usually toggling the heaven-shattering ghost art projects a massive aura of pure dread, but staring at these clueless foot soldiers, he just cringes internally. This might be his first brawl with heavily armored knights, but these guys are straight-up trash-tier mobs. The beatdown is so brutally quick, it honestly leaves him yawning. The enemy commander, though, is literally having a panic attack. He starts violently screaming, coping hard with the delusion that even if Han wiped his squad, the guy must be critically low on HP. He launches himself forward like an absolute psycho, aiming straight for Han's neck, only to hit an invisible brick wall. Han lets out a dark chuckle, slightly hyped, wondering if this boss mob actually drops some premium gear. The desperate commander still thinks Han is on his last breath, but Han just drops a bored shrug, before effortlessly caving the guy's helmet in with a single devastating right hook. The game interface flashes, confirming the Bavarian Viscount has been deleted. Han smirks, realizing this heaven-shattering ghost art is completely broken. Even after spamming high-level combos, his stamina bar barely even twitched. With the trash mobs finally wiped, he is more than ready to claim his god-tier loot. He drags the second elder back out of stealth and tells him to start yapping. But right when he tries to relax, a creepy voice from the shadows starts slow clapping his DPS, instantly tilted. Han groans, wondering which annoying NPC is trying to crash his cutscene now. He barks at the stalker to step into the light, revealing a sketchy dude covered in robes. Han questions his identity, asking if he is just another scrub trying to cash in on his bounty. The cloaked freak chuckles, claiming he is not a basic bounty hunter. He is just here to harvest Han's corpse and turn him into a literal puppet. To flex, the sick bastard whips out a creepy voodoo doll, showing off his undead collection. In a split second, Han recognizes the exact scumbag who previously murdered him. His eyes go dead cold, completely zoning out the killer's face, while Professor Daly drops a massive sigh, admitting Han is genuinely cooked this time. The robed psycho just nods cockily, guaranteeing that Han is about to join his undead roster. He flashes a psychotic grin, yapping about how incredibly blessed he is to farm such top-tier body parts. Totally on the house, swearing to cherish him once he is completely leashed. Then he chants his awakening spell, and the exact same crew he butchered mere moments ago violently snaps back to reality. The Viscount and his fallen grunts stagger upright, making our boy realize this cloaked weirdo is totally a necromancer. The zombie brigade locks onto him with pure murderous rage. He quickly deduces this freak is rocking a secret class since, unlike your average mindless zombies, these guys crawled out of the grave with their personalities and brain power fully intact. Trippy enough, his usual tracking skills are completely glitching out on their stats. Honestly, they might actually pack more of a punch now than when they were breathing. The Viscount instantly bows down, calling the cloaked dude his master. Bound by some twisted soul pact, he swears to lay his life on the line for him. Our guy realizes this dark magic is insanely overpowered. The undead noble pivots toward him, absolutely obsessed with ending his life right here, totally believing our hero is backed into a corner. But right before the flesh-eaters can even land a scratch, they completely paralyze. Han just raises an eyebrow, staring at the frozen statues while his system drops a massive truth bomb. Since he is literally the definition of absolute evil, he commands terrifying dominance over anything born from dark magic. The sheer flex of his signature phantom aura straight up shatters the summoner's control. The robed freak starts dripping sweat, completely baffled as to why his puppets are glitching out. He barks out commands over and over, but it is pure static. Han totally overrides the connection, hijacking the entire undead army by fusing his ultimate villain title with his devastating ghost energy. Even he is slightly shook by the upgrade, realizing these undead goons are basically his loyal simps now. Feeling deeply irritated, he simply commands them to drop dead all over again. Rufendal instantly processes that he is about to get folded for round 2. While the Dark Mage screeches at his minions to ignore the new boss, Han flashes a wicked grin, fully confirming the noble is a literal zombie. Flashing a dark, twisted smile, he tests his new authority and orders the undead aristocrat to hit some jumping jacks. The guy tries to fight back, but a vicious surge of violet lightning zaps his spine, puppeteering him into hopping around like a total clown. The original summoner is practically vibrating with panic, completely lost. Han slowly pivots his gaze, locking eyes, and casually asks his age. The absolute brainlet stutters out that he is 19, instantly regretting it. Han just exhales heavily, ruthlessly tearing into him about how trash his summons are. So what is his master plan now? Just to be fair, Han drops a casual reminder that he never slaughters anyone who has not actively plotted his murder first. The teenage necromancer instantly drops his pride and begs for an exit. Feeling uncharacteristically chill, Han shoos him away and the kid bolts like a frightened rat. Shifting his icy stare back to the criminal, Rufendal desperately starts Glazer mode, laughing off their previous deathmatch as a harmless prank. Flipping the script at lightning speed, he calls Han his boss, pledging to be his faithful little attack dog, waiting for his every command. Han cuts through the nonsense, laying down the law: if this zombie ever tries pulling a fast one, he will get deleted permanently. Rufendal aggressively nods, understanding the assignment. A cocky smirk stretches across Han's face. Guess shopping for a loyal beast is crossed off the to-do list. Cut to the real world. A player aggressively logs out of Olympus, stumbling from her capsule with her hands visibly trembling. Whispering frantically about how monstrously intimidating Han was, she thanks her lucky stars, her character survived. Her brain is practically short-circuiting, trying to figure out how anyone could absolutely dismantle her dark magic so easily. A sudden realization hits her: maybe he is the legendary anomaly her mentor hyped up. Her mentor once preached that down the line, the ultimate ruler of this entire realm would finally step out of the shadows. And when that absolute unit dropped, she had to pledge eternal loyalty, helping him bulldoze every threat and conquer the entire continent. She questions if this insane player is the chosen conqueror destined to run the board. Glancing down at her phone screen, the time hits her like a truck, and she mutters some heavy curses about running super late before sprinting out the door. Back in the digital realm, the second elder pops into view, casually dropping that he still has a couple of massive secrets locked in the vault, ready to spill. Han is genuinely blown away by this ghost's sheer dedication, so he orders him to speedrun the lore drop before another random idiot crashes the party. The spectral elder kicks off, unveiling the dark history of the Murder Veil Syndicate. Currently, the organization boasts 2 totally lethal S-tier phantoms, fully equipped to effortlessly assassinate high-ranking Imperial bigwigs. alongside 20 A-tier shadows, 100 B-tier executioners, and a swarm of C-tier grunts so massive it breaks the counter. As we speak, endless waves of recruits are fighting for a spot in the syndicate, while tons of others are literally kicking the bucket trying to pass the trials. On top of that wild roster, the intel suggests this shadowy guild has dirty money and royal connections infecting the entire continent. Across 3 decades of underground hits, they have hoarded 2 billion gold in raw operational cash, plus a massive stash of 4 billion in untraceable private wealth, tied straight to his name, bringing the grand total to an absurd 6 billion gold. And now, every single coin is his. The system alerts that the mission to secure the old man's ultimate blessing is officially complete, letting him bag the jaw-dropping 6 billion gold payout. He is definitely hyped, but his brain is literally buffering trying to comprehend that level of wealth. The pure shock is practically tattooed on his face. But he instantly masks his shock, keeping his poker face flawless, so the old man suspects nothing. He gives a slow nod, praising the elder's unbreakable loyalty. He drops a massive flex, handing over 2 billion gold just to keep the Murdervale Syndicate operating without a hitch. As for the remaining 4 billion, he casually claims it's funding the Syndicate's future and backing the. Hearing that astronomical number, tears literally stream down Johan's face as he drops to his knees, swearing absolute ride-or-die allegiance. Internally, Han is throwing a massive party. He can hardly believe his absolute BS sweet-talking actually worked like a charm. Now that he has the murder veil wrapped around his finger, his future quests are practically guaranteed. But then Johan drops a sudden warning. It's about their third boss, Lexer, and apparently this guy is a total menace. Johan explains that unlike himself, Lexer doesn't do warnings. If that guy makes a move, he is going straight for the throat, no questions asked. Han guesses this Lexer dude must be an assassin, which Johan quickly confirms, revealing him as the lethal mastermind behind the Black Floral Group. That name drop makes Han freeze in his tracks. He immediately holds up a hand, telling the old man to pause for a second. Glancing at his system alerts, he notices 2 cosmic constellations have just been chosen. Honestly though, he doesn't give a single damn about who they are. If those cosmic beings want smoke, they can bring it. His own sister is literally the 7th constellation, and he just pocketed a massive dark guild. Out of nowhere, his phone explodes with a spam wave of texts from his sister, leaving him entirely confused about what got her so hyped. He assumes she just made it back to their apartment, but the frantic vibe is definitely raising some red flags. Did she somehow sense those 2 new constellations? Nope, Sia shoots. This tea is way spicier. She just bumped into a super close bestie of hers. Flashback to their meetup, Sia practically tackled the girl with a massive beaming hug the second she showed up. Her friend Sisong flashed a sweet smile, asking if she kept her waiting. But right as they start catching up, some random creep slides up from behind. He instantly demands her digits, which she politely but firmly rejects. It always gives her major ick when guys swear she is exactly their type. Especially when they are complete strangers. She knows for a fact they are only obsessing over her pretty face. Honestly, it completely grosses her out. Sia, however, doesn't think it's a huge deal. To her, love at first sight totally exists. She just figures Sisong has major trust issues when it comes to guys. Sisong's cheeks flush bright red as she stammers that she isn't terrified of them at all. It suddenly brings back memories of the Academy Wars. Back when literally everyone on campus branded her the untouchable. Still, Sia totally gets why her friend keeps her guard so high, shifting the topic to ask what Sisong has been doing lately. Swearing her to absolute secrecy, Sisong finally spills the tea. By the time she finishes dropping her massive news, she is glowing. She looks so relieved, feeling like she completely nailed her decision, and is incredibly thankful Sia just listened, without cutting her off. The 2 besties say their goodbyes, with Sia yelling to text when she gets back safely. But a moment later, reality hits Sia like a truck. She remembers begging Sisong to never ever breathe a single word of that secret to another living soul. Pure panic instantly fries her brain. What the hell is she supposed to do with this info? She realizes she needs to warn her brother right now. Cutting back to the apartment, Han stares at her, wondering what could possibly be this urgent. He remembers how she dragged him to a random capsule cafe and started whispering frantically. But terrified of eavesdroppers, she practically sprinted the whole way back home just to secure the room. He slides her a glass of water as she groans about her burning lungs. Catching her breath, she swears nobody else on Earth knows about this. She honestly never expected her sweet bestie to drop a bombshell like this. Taking a deep breath, she cuts straight to the chase. The entire world thinks the absolute evil is doomed to fight the divine constellations completely solo. But guess what? There is a legendary class explicitly designed to serve him. Turns out her childhood bestie literally just triggered a quest to become his ultimate right hand. She is destined to be the absolute necromancer. That revelation hits Han like a freight train, but his stomach drops. Isn't it incredibly reckless for Sisong to leak something so massive? He starts sweating, wondering if hearing this puts a target on his back. His sister waves him off, explaining Sisong only confessed because they are basically platonic soulmates who share everything. Besides, she argues he has every right to know this top-secret lore, mostly because he is the freaking absolute evil himself. Han completely short-circuits. He stammers, sweating bullets, trying to play dumb about her wild accusations. But the jig is up. She already knows. She was just patiently waiting for him to confess. Honestly, it was painfully obvious. He literally vanished into thin air for 20 years, to grind levels in some twisted dimension. And every single time he steps outside, nightmarish black monsters magically spawn. He is ridiculously overpowered for a low-tier player, and his chaotic karma is completely maxed out. Oh, and right when the server announced the birth of the absolute evil, his personal stats exploded off the charts. Not to mention, she literally evolved into the 7th constellation just by trying to slap some sense into him. She figures it'd be totally brain-dead of him not to be the absolute evil. Deep down, she fully gets his twisted logic. Still, a tiny piece of her stings from the secret. Han knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on here, so he pulls this goofy defensive stunt. He caves, confessing she read him like an open book, though he totally banked on her connecting the dots sooner or later. But watching him play dumb right now, she thinks he looks like a colossal clown. She swears up and down that her lips are sealed. She hasn't spilled the tea to her bestie about his whole villain era, nor did she drop the bomb that she's a literal constellation. It might be a little late for a reality check, but she drills it into Han's skull. If they get outed, they're both totally cooked. Han nods, knowing she's dead on. While Sia debates having a sit-down with Saesong to just lay all their cards on the table, Han's brain is spinning with a massive lightbulb moment. He doesn't actually have to solo these overpowered constellations. Now it's just a game of figuring out how to weaponize that advantage. Cut to the next day up on Lepnia Mountain. Han flashes back to his sister, hyping up her friend, a 19-year-old who's already deep into the dark arts of necromancy. This girl straight up ghosted the academy and is currently chilling at level 14. Sia even slid him a mask to keep his identity on lockdown. With both the Empire and the Union hunting him down, he's gotta stay paranoid to keep his cover from blowing up. His mind drifts back to this mysterious 19-year-old necromancer. Could she be that exact same chick he bumped into earlier? Rufendal is a heavy-hitting level 50, meaning a level 14 rookie has zero chance of pulling his strings. Unless she bags some crazy hidden class, the math just ain't mathing. It feels literally impossible. Fast forward, Han links up with his sister and her squadmate deep in the jungle. Saesong locks eyes with Han and the dude is instantly thrown for a loop. The realization smacks them both in the face. They've definitely crossed paths. Saesong freezes, totally shook before shrieking, "Big bro," and his eyes immediately flood with dramatic tears. He dryly mentions she probably shouldn't be calling her literal savior Big Bro, but lets it slide. Saesong's face flushes beet red the second Han calls out that she's actually a girl, which is wild considering she sounded like a whole different person the last time they chatted. She scrambles frantically, explaining she only faked that deep voice because she assumed all necromancers had to act super edgy and tough. Now, she just feels like a massive weirdo. Off to the side, Sia's jaw drops, shook that her brother already knows her bestie. Han just shrugs it off, claiming they randomly bumped into each other. Saesong is losing her mind, fully convinced this has to be destiny. Sia had previously hyped up Han as a guy deeply tied to the absolute evil. Now Saesong's brain is working overtime, wondering if he is the big bad villain himself. She whips around, begging Sia to explain how exactly she knows this guy. Han doesn't even sugarcoat it, flat out introducing himself as the absolute evil while Sia drops the ultimate lore: she's his little sister. Oh, and also the 7th constellation. That double whammy hits Saesong like a literal freight train. She just stands there glitching for a second before shrieking at the top of her lungs. She freaks out, demanding to know why Sia kept her in the dark for so long, totally mind-blown over why her bestie is suddenly spilling all the server secrets right now. Sia immediately apologizes, explaining she wanted to respect her brother's privacy before broadcasting his crazy identity. She's only dropping this lore because Saesong is her ride or die. Then the realization finally clicks for Saesong: this terrifying guy is her bestie's older brother. She instantly starts fidgeting, panicking that her fit isn't cute enough for today. Sia just rolls her eyes to the back of her head, completely done with her friend stressing over zero-stakes drama. Saesong straight up starts bawling like a toddler, frantically swearing to Han that she isn't usually this much of a mess. Han just sighs and decides to take her word for it, flashing back to his sister, hyping up Saesong as some top-tier beauty. But in his eyes, she's literally just a noisy kid. Han totally shuts down the nonsense, steering them right back to business. He reminds the girl about that ultra-rare quest she mentioned, the one about serving the absolute evil. Saesong aggressively nods and slides him a dusty scroll mentioning it's a relic left behind by her master. Han unrolls the thing, realizing it's actually a cryptic map. Out of nowhere, a tiny detail catches his focus, and his whole vibe shifts into pure shock. Back when Han was surviving that hellish training arc, his old man had suddenly ordered him to hit this exact location. He had been drowning in those psycho drills at the time. Turns out the old geezer actually had some top-secret intel to drop. Now staring down at this worn piece of paper, Han's brain goes into overdrive. Every single landmark, every coordinate on this parchment lines up perfectly with what his master handed him. One glance, and he knows this is hardcore tied to the absolute evil's legacy. The whole thing practically screams quest trigger for the heaven-shattering ghost art, but the absolute smoking gun, that tiny emblem sketched in the corner, there's zero room for doubt. This is the signature crest of the heaven-shattering ghost art, the legendary Black Flame. His master warned him back in the day that this very mark would define his whole existence moving forward. It's his literal brand, and he knows damn well it didn't just spawn here by accident. It finally clicks, there have to be other broken players out there who somehow snagged SSS-class quests linked to the absolute evil. It totally makes sense. There's no universe where he's soloing these godly constellations. Plus, anybody pledging loyalty to the big bad would instantly get wiped if they tried to fight it head-on. While he's quietly putting the puzzle pieces together and cooking up a massive scheme, Saesong breaks the silence, asking what's going on in that big brain of his. He tosses the map back to her with a casual shrug, muttering that it all adds up. Guess he really did level up into the ultimate villain. But for now, they need to get a move on. She perks up, asking where the squad is headed next. He casually drops that Sia mentioned she's still hard stuck at level 14, so first things first, time for some heavy grinding. They definitely need to power level her up a few ranks. A few days just blur right past them. Sia absolutely vaporizes a beast with a crackling lightning strike, completely deleting a massive black bear. While Saesong just watches totally starstruck, hyping up her bestie's insane combat skills. In the background, Rufendal actually catches a level up, racking his brain trying to remember the last time his stats even moved. Han catches him just zoning out, and glares at him. The guy jolts back to reality, ducks his head, and frantically scurries around, sweeping up the dropped loot like a trained golden retriever. He scoops up the glowing blue crystals, practically offering them to Han, with this absolute hero worship in his eyes. Han finally cuts the guy some slack while Rufendal is having an internal meltdown over his shattered ego. Bro has literally been downgraded to an NPC fetch dog, but honestly he cannot even argue it because Han's kit is straight up broken. Insane heals, god tier buffs, massive XP boosts, guaranteed rare drops, the whole package. And the worst part, Rufendal is getting way too comfortable with this freeloader lifestyle, violently mentally slapping himself because this is just tragic. Meanwhile, Han checks in on Saesong's current stats. She beams, announcing she just hit level 19, so the grind continues. He studies her, silently processing the fact that she is an absolute necromancer rocking a super rare hidden class that directly buffs the ultimate villain. Sia leans in, asking if Saesong has just been soloing this whole time. Her cheeks turn bright pink as she shyly nods, confessing her skill control is honestly garbage. Han watches her awkwardly fidget, knowing full well she plays the clumsy, helpless rookie card. But it is a total front to mask her terrifying potential. Right on cue, she summons a massive horde of skeletal warriors, and Han instantly realizes these undead units completely outclass the weak mobs regular necromancers spawn. She gushes over how cute they are, making him wonder if all necromancers have this weird obsession with their creepy minions, which honestly gives him the major ick. But the main takeaway, the insane volume of units she can command, and her raw mana output are just in a completely different dimension from basic players. They are not even playing the same game. Right now, Han is walking on eggshells trying to avoid the Empire's radar. The high-ranking elders might be locked down temporarily, but he can absolutely weaponize a few top-tier players if things go south. With a quick command, her skeletal strike team swarms another black bear, shredding it to pixels with terrifying precision. Saesong is easily evolving into his most overpowered chess piece right now. As the two girls loudly celebrate the squad's flawless victory, Han mentally notes that her active quest perfectly mirrors his own. They are both targeting the exact same ancient ruins. He flashes back to the fact that this mission was personally handed down by his absolute demon of a man, so the difficulty scaling is guaranteed to be straight-up nightmare fuel. Just visualizing that manic master sends literal ice water down his spine. Who even knows what kind of apocalyptic disaster would trigger if he tried to solo this run? Taking everything into account, having her on the squad is a massive carry. For once in his life, his RNG is not complete garbage. Suddenly, she blindsides him with a massive goofy hug, screaming at the top of her lungs that she hit level 20. Rufendal literally cracks up, joking that Han totally thought a boss monster just jump-scared him. Han freezes, completely caught off guard by this sudden burst of golden retriever energy. She rambles about how incredibly fast she leveled up because of his hard carry, showering him with thanks. He gives her a tiny nod, then immediately tells her to peel off. One reflexive counterattack from him and she would be a literal stain on the dirt. He pivots to Rufendal, dropping the pet nickname, barking at him to stop slacking. The guy violently flinches and instantly sprints off to farm the leftover items. Han announces that since Sisong hit level 20, they are officially advancing the questline. Next destination, the Cargonis Mountains, all the way in Lunia. He instructs his sister and Sisong to exploit the Imperial warp gates while their aggro is still low. They are supposed to push ahead and scout out any solid intel. Meanwhile, since Han and Rufendal are both rocking max chaotic status, they have to trail behind, sneaking through a portal run by the Underground Alliance. The girls nod and vanish into the gate, prompting Rufendal to nervously question if they will even survive the trip. With their max chaotic reputation, Han deadpans. Obviously not, but they are completely out of options. They have to keep moving. Sure, catching an airship or a blimp would save them some serious coin, but the travel time is agonizingly slow, and unpredictable random encounters could easily wreck them. So even though it is going to drain their funds, the warp gates are their only viable play. Alliance gates are budget-friendly, but incredibly scarce, meaning his options are practically non-existent. The second a player hits max chaotic, the system literally bans them from most portals. The Great Alliance hoards all the portal networks, gatekeeping the entire travel system. Cut to the terminal where an Alliance agent whips around to face her captain. "Captain, you need to see this," she blurts out. The captain asks what the emergency is. She stammers. 2 max chaotics just triggered the gate. The captain slowly rises to his feet. He barks at her to stay put, and flashes a wicked grin, practically drooling over the thought of high-roller VIPs walking in. Enter the almighty Alliance Raft portal boss, Captain IB. Rufendal is sweating bullets, silently begging the universe for a smooth ride. Meanwhile, Han is chilling. Since PvP is locked out here, nobody's catching hands today. The captain swaggers over, bragging that this gate drops them right into Lunia's Cargonis Mountains, so he better see some heavy bags of gold. Suddenly, he catches their deep red max chaotic status and raises an eyebrow. Squinting at clicks, the blue-haired dude is the notorious Rufendal. He smirks, assuming Rufendal dragged his personal loot monkey along. Right on cue, Rufendal flips the switch on his arrogant boss persona exactly like Han ordered, scoffing that he brought the kid purely to haul his drops. Han had orchestrated this entire play back at base, so Rufendal is just sticking to the script, flexing like the absolute top dog. The captain suppresses a laugh, thinking Rufendal could have at least hired a sidekick with a pulse. In his eyes, Han is nothing but a brain-dead noob. Rufendal's eye aggressively twitches, as he bites back, snarling that whether his pet is hot garbage or a total scrub is none of the captain's damn business. IB just shrugs, dropping the bomb that standard civilian tickets don't cover max chaotics. The price: a brutal 13 million gold per head. Rufendal physically recoils, spitting that this is absolute daylight robbery. The captain hits them with a mocking smirk, basically telling them to hit the bricks if their wallets are too light. He mocks them, suggesting they use the budget Imperial portal instead. Oh wait, Crimson-tagged PKs like them are permanently blacklisted from that one. Checkmate. Rufendal grinds his teeth in pure rage while the captain basks in his own trap, knowing he's got them cornered. Rufendal seethes, asking if this corrupt, treating a massive 30 million won fee like it's spare change for a bus ticket. IB shifts his gaze to Han, greed flashing in his eyes as he calculates if he can squeeze these desperate targets for even more cash. While Rufendal keeps barking at the manager, Han's interface suddenly pings with a direct whisper. He glances down. It's straight from the slimy captain, secretly sliding into his DMs. The captain bets Han is absolutely exhausted from being treated like a disposable dog. He claims he doesn't give a damn about Han's backstory, but offers a golden ticket out if Han plays by his rules. Han's lips twitch into a terrifying hidden smirk. Hook, line, and sinker. Internally, Han is howling with laughter. This absolute clown practically jumped into the trap headfirst. But outwardly, Han dials the pathetic crybaby act to 11, whimpering that he'll do anything to ditch this miserable, bottom-feeder lifestyle. Meanwhile, Sisong and Sia finally touch down in the snowy peaks of Cargonis. Sisong shakes off the portal sickness, amazed at how insanely fast those premium rafts are. Sia just beams, nodding in totally hyped agreement. But the vibe shifts as Sisong starts stressing over Han. She's heard the horror stories shady private runners love milking. Max chaotics for every last penny, and backstabbing clients is basically their side hustle. Sia just brushes it off with a wave, stating as a matter of fact that Han is the kind of monster who'd casually snap the neck of anyone stupid enough to cross him. Sisong sighs, admitting that is 100% accurate. Honestly, she's starting to question if calling a total psychopath old man is a death wish. As literal tears of frustration prick her eyes, she whines that staring at the minimap is just making her brain melt. Sia just giggles, patting her back since she's already got the entire route memorized. Cut back to Han, who is currently analyzing IB. He scans the guy's aura, maybe level 40 max. For a squad captain in a powerhouse guild like Ellen, that is embarrassingly weak. The only reason this scrub secured a cushy portal management gig is pure nepotism. His aunt is sitting pretty on Ellen's executive board. Life handed this guy a cheat code. Since joining Ellen, he's never had to grind, bleed, or prove a damn thing. God-tier positions just fell into his lap and promotions were served on a silver platter. Born with a platinum spoon and deep connections, he actually thinks he's built different. Han looks at him and just sees a walking, talking sheep, watching the manager swallow the bait. Without chewing, Han leans hard into the performance. He knows IB is currently visualizing him as a spineless wimp, with 0 brain cells and no future. Han mentally rolls his eyes. The guy's god complex is so fragile it's hilarious. Masking his wicked grin, Han subtly leans over to Rufendal, murmuring that Captain Nepo Baby is already plotting a backstab via private chat. Rufendal's eyes go wide, but Han tells him to chill. He's stringing the idiot along. They'll strategize once they secure the raft, so Rufendal just needs to keep the diva act going. Rufendal harshly demands Han fork over 6 million gold, and Han meekly agrees. Rufendal screams at him to hurry up, acting totally unhinged while secretly praying Han doesn't murder him later. Thanks to their Oscar-worthy drama, they secure a VIP raft and blast off toward the northern peaks of Cargonis. But the second they cross the safe zone border, Han's radar pings, IB, and his hit squad are hot on their trail. The captain furiously messages Han to initiate the ambush on Rufendal, prompting Han to whisper a chilling warning brace for impact. He triggers his ability banking on Rufendal to sell the fake outrage while Rufendal is low-key praying that this stunt actually deals 0 damage. Han buries his fist into his gut, but his barrier completely eats the impact. Rufendal is absolutely sweating bullets internally, but he puts on an Oscar-worthy performance, wildly swinging right back. Han acts like he is totally done playing the obedient pet, and the two just start throwing hands like crazy. While they are brawling, the squad captain barks at his goons to spam Dispel Magic, locking down Rufendal so he cannot teleport away. The lackeys fire off the spell and immediately swarm him, throwing absolute haymakers. Han just chills on the sidelines, trying not to laugh at how 5 grown men are desperately jumping this guy. The captain sneaks up behind Han, figuring that since he already passed Rufendal, 6 million gold, he is practically a walking piggy bank. That setup is too perfect, and the captain wants all that loot. He unsheathes his blade and rushes Rufendal head-on, totally dead set on making this chaotic menace burst into a massive loot pile. He is just praying Han does not instantly fold from collateral damage when he unleashes a sweeping slash to carve them both up. But Han pivots around, flashing a wicked smirk, and absolutely clocks him. The captain's jaw practically hits the floor. He barely scrapes by leaping backward at the very last second. He is completely shook. How in the world does Han hit like an absolute freight train? He starts guessing Han is secretly a brawler class, but then he spots his stamina bar, which is barely moving at all. Plus, there are 0 debuff warnings popping up. He rationalizes that Han must have completely min-maxed, dumping every single stat point into agility, instead of raw power. That is literally the only logic that tracks. Meanwhile, Han casually pulls up his interface, realizing he did not even intend to throttle his damage output. It just naturally happened. eBay keeps barking insults, calling him pathetic trash, but Han just stares at him with dead eyes, asking what he is even yapping about, considering eBay threw the first punch. While they are exchanging words, Rufendal absolutely obliterates the rest of the mob, effortlessly chucking a battered player straight at the captain's feet. The guy is completely paralyzed. His brain literally crashes trying to process the scene. He realizes his intel must have been complete garbage, because Rufendal is flexing some ungodly endgame level strength right now. The surviving goons start panicking, screaming that they got utterly baited. Rufendal, wearing an absolutely unhinged slasher smile, cleans up the trash with a series of bone-crushing strikes. He cannot even compute how he just steamrolled an entire squad without breaking a sweat. Honestly, he credits everything to Han's broken buffs. The loyalty he feels in this moment is unreal. He is fully ready to dedicate his entire life to being Han's personal servant, no questions asked. He catches Han still toying with the miserable captain. For a split second, Rufendal questions why Han has not just deleted eBay yet. Han just shrugs, dropping the cold truth. If he finishes eBay off, they get 0 drops because his luck stat is rotting at -99. Meanwhile, eBay is spiraling into a total panic attack, frantically trying to guess what kind of twisted execution these two are plotting. Rufendal steps up, shooting him a completely psychopathic glare that instantly glues his mouth shut and puts him right back in his place. Han casually orders him to milk the loser dry for every single gold coin while he stands guard. Rufendal snaps to attention, leaning down to menacingly ask eBay if his pathetic life is only worth 6 million. Deep down, he views this as his ultimate chance to impress Han. eBay's voice shatters, pathetic tears streaming down his face. He begs for mercy, throwing out 7 million, then frantically jacking up the price, until he is practically shrieking 100 million gold. Han literally does not even flinch. He silently nudges Rufendal to squeeze the guy for at least 130 million. Desperate to look competent for his boss, Rufendal unleashes a horrifying bloodlust, reminding eBay that backstabbing them comes with a massive premium. Claiming they suffered severe emotional damage, he demands a cool 130 million as settlement. eBay is shaking like a leaf, immediately caving to cough up the 130 million, begging them to just relocate to a safe zone first. Rufendal snorts at the audacity, pointing out that this clown clearly does not grasp how massively cooked he is. That harsh reality check completely breaks his spirit. He scrambles to wire the cash and immediately tries to sprint away. Han just tilts his head up, watching the hilariously desperate escape attempt. The captain is already plotting a massive revenge arc for this disrespect once he survives. But Han can read this sneaky rat like an open book. In his mind, completely deleting this guy is the only right call. Han gives the green light to execute him, and Rufendal launches forward like a feral beast, screaming that he is serving up pure justice today. While the captain sobs for his life, Rufendal is secretly hoping the guy can tank at least one hit just to keep things slightly entertaining. But honestly, he is obsessed with Han's ruthless streak. Ultimately, he flattens the captain in one brutal strike, feeling mildly disappointed by how fast he crumpled. While eBay bawls his eyes out over his scattered loot, Rufendal feels like he just won the lottery, eagerly snagging every single shiny drop on the ground. The broken captain even tries bargaining to buy back one specific piece of gear. Like he gives a single damn about 1 billion gold. He feels the unexpected weight of the stash as the captain's desperate pleading echoes out. But he completely ghosts the guy without missing a beat, leaving the captain paralyzed in absolute shock. The dude screams, asking if he even comprehends what he's holding, but Rufendal literally could not care less. His only obsession, delivering the entire payload straight to the master he worships. He dumps the massive haul right at Han's feet, casually dropping the fact that the captain begged to buy back just one piece for a cool billion. Han casually sifts through the spoils, but the exact second his gaze locks onto that specific item, his brain practically blue screens from sheer disbelief. Both Han and Rufendal huddle up to inspect the mysterious pouch they just hijacked. Rufendal squints, his face twisting up, like he has zero clue what the hell he's staring at. Han, on the flip side, can't shake off this intensely sketchy vibe. We're talking about round 2 loot stuff that players are supposedly ready to nuke their bank accounts for, yet staring at it just feels insanely mid. He tears the pouch open. The system instantly pops up the inventory, one heavy steel gauntlet, a taming ring, and a massive glowing pile of 500 million gold. But even stacked up, this stash absolutely does not scream billion gold tier. Han's mind briefly races, wondering if there's some insanely rare hidden or smuggled gear tucked away, but he quickly hits the brakes. It isn't worth blowing a gasket over. Whatever. Pivoting to Rufendal, Han casually drops a massive flex, a flat 3 million gold if the guy officially signs a contract as his pet. Rufendal acts like the heavens just parted, dropping to his knees and pledging his eternal die-hard loyalty with absolute main character energy. Flashing a cocky smirk, Han announces he's crashing in Runia to sweat out some heavy grinding. This entire zone, it belongs to him now. Cutting to the jagged peaks of Mount Runia, Sia spots a lone figure blazing up the trail. It's her brother Han, throwing her a chill nod. The whole squad survived the chaos without a single scratch. Catching her breath, Sisong hypes Sia up, claiming she hard-carried the entire trek. When Han asks if they caught any weird vibes around the area, Sisong spills the tea on a massive rumor circulating among the local NPCs. Apparently an absolutely broken god-tier beast has been terrorizing the zone. A legendary NPC hunter already got shredded, and a full-stacked level 50 party just got totally wiped out trying to clear its quest. Han's brow furrows instantly. Zero mentions of this nightmare have hit Olympus Mania or the hardcore gaming threads. Sisong shoots him a desperate, hyped-up look, straight up asking if he can solo the monster. Fast forward exactly 3 days. Han, Sia, and Sisong finally breach the dead zone of Carginus Mountain, only to instantly collide with a violently aggroed beast. Mid-brawl, Sisong aggressively flexes her necromancy, instantly dinging level 23. Sia, currently chilling at level 33, shoots her brother a massive grin. and admits these passive buffs are completely busted. She totally gets why the player base avoids this hellhole like the plague. Surviving here is an absolute nightmare. Han locks eyes with her, totally agree. He honestly didn't expect the difficulty spike to be this toxic, throwing mad respect to both girls for standing their ground. Just as Sisong channels her dark mana to resurrect the slaughtered beast, twisting it into a loyal undead minion, Han side-eyes her, asking if spamming summons is going to completely tank her mana bar. She effortlessly waves off the concern, bragging that her mana pool is basically bottomless. With a flick of her wrist, she reveals an entire terrifying army of rotting monsters at her back, stating that her hoard's stats actually scale up with their numbers. Sweeping his gaze over the 200-plus monstrosities, Han quietly mutters that her build is actually god tier. Out of nowhere, Sisong kills the chatter, announcing they've hit their destination. A colossal sheer cliff face violently juts into the sky, totally dead, ending their path. Han aggressively squints at her, practically asking if she's navigating with a broken GPS. But Sisong, stone cold and completely unfazed, swears they are standing on the exact right coordinates. Groaning, Sia asks if they seriously have to free climb this absolute unit of a cliff. Han throws out the idea of using flight magic, but Sia immediately shuts him down. All airborne spells are hard-locked in this specific zone. While the trio strains their necks staring into the clouds, Sisong suddenly points a shaky finger toward the peak. For a split second, Han's vision catches pure air, but as his eyes adjust, he spots an absolutely massive, terrifying shadow. It's Carria, the undisputed apex predator ruling over Carganus Mountain. This mutant bird has basically been speedrunning its own evolution gorge, feasting on glowing monster cores to boost its intellect and raw power. Somewhere along the line, Carria figured out that human players carry the premium shiny loot, turning into an absolute menace obsessed with jacking their gear. Han instantly signals the girls to fall back and stay out of aggro range. Carria suddenly unleashes a piercing shriek that hilariously sounds like a cracked-out chicken. That derpy sound instantly sparks a memory in Han's brain about a super-specific item he just looted. But the absolute second his hand twitches toward his inventory, Carria violently dive-bombs, sinking its talons in and launching Han straight into the sky. Sia and Sisong scream, his name absolute panic breaking out. Free falling upward while trapped in the mutant eagle's death grip, Han locks eyes with the beast and catches this unbelievably smug, heavily mocking glare. It instantly sends his rage meter through the roof. There is zero chance he's letting an overgrown pigeon disrespect him like this. He instantly pops his most violently heavy fist skill. The system chimes out, dealing a massive 50% chunk of damage directly to the eagle's health bar. Carria instinctively lets go, but Han completely flips the script, grabbing the beast's claw in a death grip and refusing to drop. The monster screeches in pure, unadulterated agony. Surfing right on Carria's back mid-air, Han casually drops his ultimatum. He'll spare the overgrown chicken's life, but only if it signs the contract to be his new ride. Without even waiting for a response, he winds up his steel gauntlet, the exact broken item that legally doubles the pain multiplier on every single hit, and drops a devastating blow. The system flashes a fatal 80% damage warning. Down on the ground, the girls are completely paralyzed watching this insane mid-air boss fight unfold. Out of nowhere, the system lights up with a hidden high-tier option right in front of Han. He slides the Tamer's ring onto his finger, and boom! The artifact's ultra-rare one-shot taming effect triggers a broken perk usually locked behind top-tier Beastmaster classes. The system spots Han's insanely high intelligence stat and stacks it as a massive buff. The giant bird Kikoko instantly stops thrashing halfway under his control. To seal the deal, he just needs to officially name the beast. Scrolling through his fresh pet menu, Han shrugs, casually flexing that taming is honestly a walk in the park. Sisong raises an eyebrow, side-eyeing him. Wait, do you actually have Beastmaster skills? Han just shakes his head. Nah, just relying on this overpowered loot I snatched up. He playfully roasts Han, claiming that getting carried by gear is basically cheating. Right on cue, the system drops the bird's official stat sheet. It is an S-class pet. But the catch. This massive creature strictly eats monster stones and pure gold, making it an absolute walking black hole for his wallet. Han freezes, seriously sweating over the massive upkeep cost. But an S-class beast fusion is insanely busted in combat. Biting the bullet, he whips out a heavy pouch of gold coins. Instantly, the bird's eyes flare up with the intense greed of a hoarding dragon. It hits Han like a truck. This feathered menace isn't just highly intelligent. It has been completely playing dumb this entire time, just to secure the bag. Leaning in, he strikes a deal. Listen to me, and every shiny piece of loot in this world is yours. A chime rings out, taming 100% complete. Han flashes a wicked grin and officially dubs his new ride Kikoko. Sisong looks genuinely hyped. Sia, not so much. She questions the entire point of this chaotic taming method. But before she can finish complaining whoosh, they are suddenly blasted into the sky. Clinging to Keikoko's massive back, both Sia and Sisong are absolutely mind-blown by the insane velocity and the crazy aerial view of the dungeon. Checking his holographic map, Han mutters that they should have hit the hidden entrance by now. Scanning the dead end, Sia theorizes that maybe a secret trigger activates if they crash directly into the massive cliff face. Han sighs, admitting his mining stats are totally non-existent, and the game's invisible barriers are actively blocking flight in this specific zone. Sisong chimes in, warning that rival guilds already tried bashing the cliff's base, but they all got slapped with a brutal, not-qualified system rejection. "Hold on for your lives," Han yells. Without hesitating, he commands Kokoko to dive bomb straight toward the jagged rock wall. His crazy strategy, launching himself directly off the bird's head to body slam the cliff. The second his boots slam against the stone, he drives his glowing fist deep into the cliff's surface. Instantly, the system erupts with a blinding magical light. It scans the explosive dark aura radiating from his heaven-shattering ghost art. A brand new holographic prompt glitches into existence. System warning. The gate to the Cliff of Time cannot be opened yet. Missing requirement. Sacrifice 200 Cargnus mountain beasts in under 5 minutes. Our protagonist balances right on the precipice, his brain scrambling as the sheer gravity of this nightmare crashes down on him. Fail to cough up 200 beasts before the clock runs out, and this entire ridge collapses. It would plunge them into a hidden labyrinth of shattered illusions, a fragile glass cage restraining pure, unadulterated evil. The absolute necromancer. His eyes dart toward Sisong, then pan across the massive rotting army swarming the valley floor. He demands to know if she's got anywhere close to 200 corpses down there. Sisong slowly shakes her head. 286. Exactly, she replies, her voice totally deadpan. He brushes it off. 200 or 286. It doesn't matter. The blood price has to be paid. But Sisong violently shuts that down. These soldiers, she snaps, are my children. He locks eyes with her, totally baffled, demanding to know how she could possibly view rotting monsters like family. Is she actually communicating with the dead? Her fierce glare melts as she whispers that her summons refuse to be treated like disposable trash. That split second of empathy catches him totally off guard. She's the absolute last person to catch feelings or crumble under pressure. Still, a raw tremor fractures her voice. His memory instantly. They are already bleeding on the exact same cursed path. He shoves that harsh reality back in her face, reminding her that she is literally fated to rule legions and bow to absolutely no one. This, he insists, is just the prologue. If they flinch now, their entire empire burns to ash. Sisong nods, admitting she gets it. Yet, butchering her own army with her bare hands feels totally agonizing. Even flexing her insane magic, wrangling another 200 fresh kills before the timer zeroes out is physically impossible. A dark, visceral sickness twists in her gut, screaming at her to stop. Sia's desperate shout shatters the heavy silence, screaming for her brother. Han genuinely starts questioning if this insanely rare class has permanently mutated Sisong's brain, hardwiring her to feel her summon's agony. She's never been this vulnerable. But something far darker is festering beneath the surface. Sia pushes back hard. There's literally zero alternative. Han pivots to Sisong, forcing an ultimatum. She can either pull the trigger and ride this out with him or bail right now and forge her own way. Sisong freezes for what feels like an eternity before finally giving a stiff nod. She's locking in, whispering her true name, Marianne. The absolute necromancer unleashes her incantation. The brutal ritual ignites, immediately ripping 200 of her loyal soldiers into the void. Perched on Coco's gargantuan unmoving back, Sisong violently shakes as the endless ritual drains her. The atmosphere visibly bends, thick with a suffocating, putrid wave of death magic. One after another, her fiercely guarded summons crumble into pitch-black ash. Right at her boots, violently ripping chunks of her soul away with them. System windows spam her vision, 200 casualties, the baseline requirement. But her actual loss is astronomically higher. Han, watching just a few feet away, practically suffocates under the crushing pressure she's radiating. He curses under his breath, wondering if this insane backlash is a hidden class penalty, and without hesitating, blasts her with a low-tier healing spell. If he doesn't stabilize her fast, this dark mana drain will flatline her. Sisong stubbornly shakes him off, grinding her teeth and whispering that she has to tank this pain alone. A terrifying mutation triggers inside her core, right as her legs give out. She fights off, blacking out, stumbling wildly as her body violently wrestles between the insane stat boosts she just stole and the pieces of her humanity she just burned. Han and Sia instantly sprint to catch her sheer terror plastered on their faces. They are flying totally blind here. The past 20 years, the brutal grinds, the blood-soaked clash with the Sky Devil, every devastating loss and silent win. It all violently crash lands right here. This entire Olympus system has always been a rigged trap, but backing down. That isn't even in Sisong's vocabulary. Han's mind races at lightning speed. Olympus might treat them like game pieces, but he's totally locked in knowing he can smash through this raid. Still, the aftermath is a massive blind spot. He shoots Sia a look asking if she's down to play support. She firmly nods, insisting she's ridden with him through hell already. Obsessively tracking every detail, and she isn't quitting now. Han immediately checks Sisong's temperature. She's completely down for the smoke. Lastly, he turns to Coco, who rumbles a heavy grunt of approval. Han tosses the colossal beast a tiny artifact, ordering him to swallow it whole. That single drop is worth a staggering 8 million gold. Coco's eyes ignite as he ruthlessly gulps it down immediately, triggering a massive system alert. Han just unlocked official clearance. He is fully authorized to conquer Kelt's legacy. A massive rift, glowing with ancient power, materializes out of thin air, prompting him to enter the abyss. Han calculates the massive risks, a dangerous curiosity burning in his eyes, and smashes accept. The system violently registers his input, broadcasting that Kelt's brutal gauntlet is fully initialized. Miles away from the crumbling ridge, in a dead silent corporate high-rise, a management suit aggressively barks into his phone, desperately trying to do damage control, but the VIP on the line isn't buying his garbage. The voice lethally warns him to check his greed. If he tries to pull another scummy backdoor play, they'll leave him to rot. Young Un, the head of guild management, stands over him with arms crossed, glaring until the guy swears on his life to never pull a stunt like this again. He aggressively kills the call, violently slumps into his leather chair, and curses that he just got absolutely played. Staring at the ceiling, he frantically starts plotting his next move. His mind locks onto Lupin Doll and that frail-looking kid third-wheeling his target. But there is zero chance he knows that same scrawny kid is actually packing the Rampadian right now. Suddenly, this catastrophe feels like an absolute goldmine. Whoever crossed him just poked a sleeping bear. His custom bounty is officially live, and over 700 bounty hunters have already swarmed the bait. Suddenly, his phone buzzes. Byung-gun scowls. Another call this soon. He snatches the phone, barking out a demand to know what is happening. A voice on the line brings up the massive Rampadian hit on the bounty board. Byung-gun proudly claims credit. Then the caller casually drops an absolute nuke. They literally just awakened as the first ever constellation. The management boss freezes dead in his tracks, demanding if they are pulling his leg. The caller swears it is true, claiming crazy beginner's luck, and hypes up their readiness to help Byung-gun serve up some brutal payback. The absolute second the system chime rings out, Han gets violently ripped into a... It takes 0 seconds for him to realize his squad got totally scattered. A quick flash of panic grips his chest. He instantly crushes that fear as a gargantuan 3-legged crow dive bombs from the sky. Its suffocating pressure chokes the air out of his lungs. Han does not even blink. A single ruthless slash and the beast folds like wet cardboard. The system flashes a victory prompt. Hunt obliterated. 90,000 gold hits his inventory, and his experience gauge maxes out instantly. Yet Han stands frozen, highly paranoid. That monster was way too pathetic. The weirdly hollow victory instantly drags him into a traumatizing flashback of his hellish training under his old master in Reina. Back in those days, every single agonizing sword swing felt like his absolute last breath. He can perfectly hear that icy voice piercing through his agony, forcing him to stay alive, to claw his way up, to conquer everything. Gazing back, it hits him hard. Those brutal lessons were never about basic survival. The ultimate breathing avatar of absolute evil. Suddenly, another system alert snaps him back to reality. 0 step-up points are needed to clear this zone. His brutal climb up the ladder just hit easy mode. His rank skyrockets straight to level 50. Miles away, Seiya is absolutely shredding through mobs like an unstoppable force of nature. Blinding lightning splits the chaotic battlefield. Each crackling strike vaporizes endless waves of monsters. The system spams her vision with notifications logging every single slaughtered bat. Right in the heat of the bloody slaughter, her magical aura violently twists. Meanwhile, deep inside Kelt's murky ruins, heavily armored knights march out. Sisong unleashes an aura that violently shifts into pitch-black ruthlessness. She slices right through their steel with bone-chilling precision. The interface rapidly logs her brutal massacre. Suddenly, an eerie ripple twists the air and death itself physically bows to her. Sinister black energy erupts from the soil, violently dragging the slaughtered corpses back onto their feet. Battered skeletal warriors claw their way out of the dirt, dropping to one knee in perfect sync as they chant her true moniker, swearing total loyalty to Marion Lim. A heartbeat later, their dark forms mutate, elevating from mindless undead into elite dead knights. Saesong blinks, feeling the crushing weight of her new title. That legendary name drips with an ancient, overwhelming authority she totally never saw coming. Cut to Coco, who is currently busy smashing gigantic toxic earthworms into absolute. Right in the middle of the bloody chaos, he spots a glowing, weirdly mesmerizing blue stone. With zero hesitation, he literally swallows the thing whole. The system immediately fires back, confirming his exclusive evolutionary sequence is officially locked in. Suddenly, the entire combat zone warps yet again. In a literal flash, the scattered squad gets teleported back into a huddle. Han sweeps his eyes over the crew, not a single scratch on anyone. Seiya and Saesong both drop the exact same hype-insane level jumps. Han quickly realizes his own stats have hit the absolute roof. Suddenly, the ground aggressively quakes. A deafening rumble tears through the earth as the system broadcasts that Kelt's colossal main gates are wide open. Han barks at the squad to stay completely locked in. But before they can even strategize, an insanely familiar voice echoes through the air. A glitching massive hologram flares to life, taking the exact shape of his deceased master. Even as a phantom projection, the man's suffocating pressure feels agonizingly real. The phantom smirks, praising Han's insane glow-up, crediting every single. The ghost even credits Han for supercharging the infamous Sky Devil's army, dropping a massive spoiler that Han's bloody path will inevitably end with him dominating an entire continent. The interface chimes aggressively one more time, refreshing the legendary Absolute Evil Man questline. Everything instantly clicks in Han's brain. His terrifying villain title, that SSR tier quest, and the borderline abusive combat drills his master forced on him. It was all a masterfully rigged game, meticulously orchestrated to obliterate the Empire and plunge the future into the Sky Devil's pitch-black grip. The glitching hologram drops one final deeply cryptic riddle before fading out. It mutters something about a perfectly pure soul who, the moment they recognize Han's true face, will literally hand him the keys to command death itself. Han barely even has a split second to digest that mind-bending lore drop before the giant phantom violently shatters into digital dust. Another system alert flashes across the screen. Kelt's legacy is officially conquered, having the absolute necromancer there locked in that final requirement. With the nightmare finally over, Saesong casually flexes about how insanely short the whole trial felt. Han nods in agreement. Seiya, meanwhile, is practically beaming. Come on, they literally carried each other, boosting Saesong to a tier she never could have hit solo. Han keeps his mouth shut, but he totally knows what is up. If he had run that gate alone, he would still be hard stuck. Then the loot drops. The system hands over 2 step-up points, 20 bonus stat points, and a single redstone. Han locks his eyes on that gem, knowing damn well its street value is absolutely astronomical. With a haul like that, going broke is basically impossible now. Seiya bags one too, and her hype is immediate and deafening. Han just keeps his thoughts dialed back. Let her have her moment. Saesong inspects the drop, verifies it is the real deal, and then casually drops her own loot reveal. A step-up point and an insanely overpowered skill called Unlimited Mana. It literally chops the cost of summoning the undead straight in half. And if she maxes it out, zero-cost absolute infinite summons. Seiya hypes her up, tossing out the idea of a massive feast to celebrate. Han, however, cannot shake the dark reality of what that means. Saesong commanding an endless horde of the undead without burning a single drop of mana. That is straight-up nightmare fuel. Right in the middle of their chat, box suddenly erupts in a blinding light. The system chimes in. His tier just spiked evolution complete. He just unlocked a brand new title, Courier. His level skyrockets to 73, hitting a massive class jump from grade 5 all the way to 55. Han just blinks, caught somewhere between totally stunned and seriously impressed. That has to be his slice of the pie for helping them crush the gate. Shaking it off, Han redirects his focus back to his own build. Pulling up his own stats window, there is only one attribute begging for an upgrade: Destruction. He dumps everything into it. The system instantly roars to life. Destruction has awakened its ultimate form, triggering a dual destruction effect. The sheer firepower of it hits him like a freight train. This is an absolute game changer, but miles away, a totally different vibe is brewing. A ruthless squad of bounty hunters is sniffing out their trail. They scrub every single inch of the dirt, but past a certain marker, the tracks just vanish into thin air. The sheer cliff drop gives them absolutely nothing, zero footprints, zero clues. Kang Musiok, the Crimson Gladiator, steps up to the edge and takes the reins. He can feel it in his bones. Their target is close. But before they can even make a move, the entire cliff face violently shatters. A colossal, monstrous eagle bursts straight out of the solid rock, hauling 3 riders on its massive back. Back with Han, the system pings out of absolutely nowhere. Heavenbreaker Heart Arts has just evolved into true Heavenbreaker Heart Arts. The raw energy surges through Han like a high-voltage shock. His speed instantly spikes by 30%, cooldowns are completely slashed in half. His absolute evil points tick up to 3 charisma maxes at 10, and every single base stat leaps up by nearly 10 whole points. Sia, leaning over his shoulder to snoop on his screen, flashes a smirk dripping with curiosity. Sisong shoots him this wide-eyed look, silently screaming, "Are you seriously this broken already?" Han does not even try to play humble. Then Sisong drops the real question, has anyone ever actually cracked level 90? Sia casually drops the absolute nuke that she has already shattered 100 in a few stats. That revelation rocks Han to his core. Yeah, this girl is light years beyond a casual player, but before they can even process that flex, the system aggressively cuts the chatter. Kelt's legacy is officially wiped. A final golden prompt locks it in. True Heavenbreaker Hard Arts is now fully unlocked for absolute evil players. But then comes the brutal catch. 32 seconds to evacuate or hunt mode goes live. A seriously toxic little trap. They do not waste a single millisecond. They rappel down the rugged cliff face with absolute flawless precision. The instant their boots slam into the dirt, Sia exhales a heavy breath. Quest complete. But peace is always a lie in this world. Sia's eyes instantly go razor-sharp, pointing dead at the ridge. A squad of heavily armored figures is just standing there waiting. These are no random mobs, these are elite bounty hunters. The Rampadian kill order is still burning hot, and these chasers are 100% convinced Han is their walking payday. Relentless, brutally stubborn, and entirely here for his head. Before anyone can even twitch, a massive shadow plummets out of the sky. Kang Muzok. He craters into the ground right next to Bok Bok, kicking up a massive storm of dust. Sia's voice visibly shakes as she stammers out a plan to bail, but Kang immediately cuts her off, deadlocking his gaze onto Han. His tone is absolute ice. The hunt dies right here. He calls Han Rampadian with the heavy conviction of a man who knows he is right. Han's voice drops into a deadly whisper, ordering Luna and Marion to instantly melt into the shadows. Kang's insane confidence drips from every single step he takes. Hovering closer, literally defying gravity, undoubtedly fueled by his constellation's power. Then a cold blue system alert blinks. Scheme successfully triggered. The surrounding bounty hunters stay dead silent, knowing exactly how fatal this standoff is about to get. Kang does not even bother to mask his identity. His title echoes across the battlefield, the Red Flame Gladiator Shinsung board member, First Constellation. Flames swallowed him whole, morphing into a literal suit of blazing armor. Forget cashing in on some measly bounty, this was deeply personal now. This whole circus was just a pathetic PR move for Shinsung to stroke his own ego. But before anyone could blink, Bok Bok went completely savage. Slashing his claws across Kang's chest, he literally bulldozed a top-tier constellation backward. Dust kicked up as Bok Bok drifted near the cliff's drop-off, standing 10 toes down. Every hunter in the vicinity deadass stopped breathing. Did a literal pet just body a god-tier player? Kang started tweaking, muttering curses under his breath as panic set in. Han absolutely roasted him on the spot. He called out Kang for being hard carried by raw cash and pay-to-win items. That was the absolute last straw for Kang's sanity. Taking him alive wasn't on the menu anymore. The dude swore he'd reduce the entire zone to ashes, his legendary gear howling as it synced with his rage. Crimson energy coated him like a second layer of skin. Sia was ready to, but Han immediately shut that idea down. If the legendary 7th constellation blew her cover, now their entire squad would get doxed to the whole world. Flying under the radar was an absolute must. Kang blitzed forward like a maniac. He just stood there icy as ever. Slicing straight through the inferno, he unleashed a devastating hook that literally fractured the air. A cold system notification popped up. 50% damage mitigation. Active. Plot twist, it didn't mean squat. The strike connected like a runaway freight train, sending Kang's overpowered items into an absolute frenzy. The breastplate splintered but instantly auto-cast a barrage of healing spells and defensive barriers. Some random mercenary in the back whispered, "Bro, his build is actually broken." Han was completely unfazed. He dashed in tight, realizing Kang was literally all flash zero mechanics. Triggered, Kang spammed his ultimate rampaging flame. The blast leveled the battlefield like an apocalyptic firestorm, absolutely shredding Han's HP bar. But our boy wasn't backing down a single millimeter. He threw a split-second hand sign to Bok Bok. "Wait, scratch that, Coco." It was finally time to drop the fake name. He ordered Coco to go play bodyguard for the crew. The beast just nodded, eyes locked in with zero hesitation. The atmosphere above them burned crimson, turning the clouds into a sea of fire. This wasn't some petty street fight anymore, this was a blockbuster raid boss encounter. Cut to a hyper-sleek corporate penthouse miles away where Gu Chan Sung strolled straight into the executive suite after getting a red alert page. The big boss looked absolutely triggered. He was throwing a massive tantrum, screaming that everyone was treating him like a ghost just because he went offline. He demanded an instant press embargo. Zero Leaks wiped the footage even though he knew damn well the internet was already scraping the clips. Glaring out at the skyline, he started going off about how glitchy reality had become a corrupt server where absolute noobs got handed everything, while real heavy hitters got nerfed. He started yapping about an inevitable server wipe, a total reboot that would delete the dead weight for good. These kids, he growled, are the final generation wasting their time on hopelessly cringe ideals. Panning back to the front line, Han was riding on Coco's back, a super rare smirk of respect actually showing on his face. Sia and Shin Song were MIA for this phase. The beast stayed dead silent, shifting into overdrive. Flashbacks of the previous bloodbath hit him. His feathers burnt to a crisp, taking hit after hit. But the dude literally never quit. Hearing Han's ice-cold shot calling slicing right through the noise, Coco locked in. Going forward, he wasn't just throwing blind punches, he was a loyal soldier taking orders. The squad finally touches down at Sky Devil Base. A mob of little kids immediately swarms Coco to pop some heals on him, while Han chills in his command chair, radiating major boss energy. Seo Ji-yoon kicks the door open, dropping an absolutely massive stack of paperwork onto his desk. Han peeks at the towering pile, his eye twitching, then asks if this is their hardcore survival strat for the upcoming Frostbite season. June just drops a stony nod. Because winter in this zone isn't just a debuff, it will literally devour your soul if you slack off. High-tier warmth items are mandatory. With around 800 survivors crashing at Skydevil HQ, the raw math demands a minimum of 8 million gold. Han's jaw practically hits the floor. These guys were grinding survival strats before he even logged in today, despite the wild fact that he's basically living code in their universe. Give it a minute and they'll be running Wall Street algorithms and building massive rebel fortresses out of thin air. June drops the flex. Their vault is sitting on 4 billion gold straight up looted from Johan and Vale's stash. He gives her the green light to drain what she needs, even though his wallet cries a little on the inside. When she demands 1.4 billion, he grits his teeth and silently agrees. Walking out, she smirks and mentions she'll definitely hype up how insanely generous he is to the rest of the camp. Sky Devil's loyalty meter skyrockets basically overnight. Honestly, Han is chilling. He just dinged level 50, and with the new raid zones finally unlocking, he is about to print infinite money. Hard cut to a gothic fortress miles away, where a crimson-haired demon named Johan is plotting in the shadows. Lexer, the notorious Third Elder, steps out of the gloom. Everyone knows Johan doesn't waste time on pointless chit-chat. Lexer raises an eyebrow, already sniffing out the vibe. Let me guess this is about the Absolute One. Johan shoots back a deadpan yup. He claims the guy's aura is absolutely soaked in phantom energy, definitely busted enough to claim the Grandmaster throne. The Third Elder doesn't even hesitate to back him up. Period. There is no shot Lexer is bowing down to anyone with He fires a quick reminder that he grinded for years to build the Black Floral Syndicate from the ground up, the exact same way Johan birthed Murder Vale. But the fact that his own guildmaster is still getting completely outscaled by Johan, that toxic power gap makes his blood boil. Johan straight up questions if the Third Elder seriously believes he can wipe the floor with the Master. Lexer slices right through the tension. He argues they have already mapped out the Master's ceiling and the rest of the Elders, they absolutely refuse to just wait around catching dust. Johan claps back, warning them that the Master has leveled up way past his old self. The boss came back deadlier, hitting way harder, easily packing enough heat to stand toe-to-toe with the Elders. Even completely stripped of his gear, the dude is an absolute unit. Plus, he is the only lifeline pulling in loot from the outside world. Lexor points out the Master swore he would secure winter supplies, but Murder Vale still has the capital on complete lockdown. Johan clears the air, dropping the fact that those stacks of cash aren't looted. They are willingly surrendered, and the boss is funneling every single penny into Sky. In the Master's eyes, Johan is literally just a pawn on a massive chessboard. He tells Lexor to chill out, promising a heavy drop of military cash is on the horizon. Once that drops, they will blitz their target. Cutting away, Han and Sia are glued to the daily feeds. Olympus Nova just rolled out a wild new blueprint to custom-build monsters, mixing redstone and blackstone. If they actually pull this off, grinding in the massive red flag, a brutal 30% success rate. Sia calls it pure lunacy, cooking up beasts from absolute scratch, like some twisted supervillain experiment burning through mountains of cash. Han just shrugs it off. She pokes fun at him, calling him way too unbothered, especially after he literally deleted the first continent off the map. Doesn't it get under his skin that Nova is stealing all his clout? He just gives her a gentle pat on the head. He couldn't care less. Flexing the Absolute Evil title holds absolutely zero hype for him. Whoever he fights next can probably spawn their own freaks anyway, so getting jealous is a massive waste of breath. He warns her to stop shining a massive spotlight on herself. If she wants to socialize, she needs to link up with other constellations instead of constantly ghosting his shadow. Staying glued to his hip just ruins their stealth game. Forging her own lane wouldn't be the worst play. She shoots that idea down in a heartbeat. His power boosts are way too broken, she refuses to ditch him. Han drops the argument, but his brain stays locked on Nova's crazy experiment. Even with a shaky 30% win rate, if the Sky Devils score just one lucky drop, they can kiss dumpster diving for loot goodbye. She wants to know their next drop zone. He fires back without missing a single beat. Sky-flowing river. Colossal titans just roam the map. Massive flop-eared elephants, heavy-duty hippos, shooting literal cannon blasts, and nightmare-inducing two-headed gators to gatekeep their precious redstone supply. That is exactly why they dragged Zeta along. The legendary Sixth Elder, absolutely notorious for dropping massive area-wiping nukes. Now that he cracked the True Heaven shackle and Ghost Art, Han is totally done playing hide-and-seek with his absolute evil persona. They hit the riverbank warp gate. Sisong, Sia, and Rufendal are already posted up. Zeta hovers just out of sight, rocking active camo. Han slices the squad into duos. He gives Sia a heavy reality check. She is a high-tier constellation, not just some random player. He and Rufendal are pushing the front line first. Sisong takes the second wave. Sia stays frozen until he pings her. A Nova watchman clocks them, initially mistaking them for Mac's chaotic squad until the red flags start popping up. Dark energy, zero armor, a massive eagle sweeping the sky. It hits him like a freight train. It is the Ramtadian. The scout completely loses his mind and frantically pings command. The playback let the Ramtadian walk right through, leaves him completely gagged. As Han rolls up, the Nova guards literally part the sea, warning him to stay strictly inside the lines, and wave him right into the gate. Han throws them a highly skeptical look. Rufendal whispers that they have definitely checked his stats. Han nods. The viral clip of him absolutely dog-walking Kang definitely hit their feeds. Honestly, Sia and Sisong are practically guaranteed VIP entry now. It adds up since Kang sits in the Nova director chair. The whole guild has probably watched that beatdown on loop. That realization seriously ticks Han off. Off to the side, a low-ranking Nova grunt whispers asking what else command ordered. The directive is ice cold. Maintain the status quo. Bury the problem quietly. The silence is deafening. Han realizes their backup is practically non-existent. He orders Rufendal to stick like glue, keeping the squad tight for a quick reset. Rufendal gives a quick nod, but Kang and his hit squad are already camping in the blind spots, thirsty for payback. Right when the window opens, Kang launches the ambush. Han, reading him like an open book, coldly commands Rufendal to pop a barrier and tank the heavy hit. With a wicked little grin, he teases that Rufendal might even farm some crazy buffs from absorbing the damage. The blitz strikes like lightning, but Han stays completely icy. He snaps into combat mode like he practically wrote the script. He yells at Rufendal to trigger his magic shield, promising to stack insane defensive boosts right on top of it. From across the battlefield, Kang screams at his strike team to sync up their combo moves and weave in nasty stun locks. Rufendal's energy wall flashes upward just in the nick of time, though he complains the blast radius is way too thick for a solo carry. Han shoots him an icy confident nod, stepping up to split the heavy damage. Blinding smoke chokes the air as Sisong shoves his way through the chaos, coughing out his lungs, desperately trying to figure out what kind of hell just broke loose. He yells out, warning her to fall back because it is an absolute death trap up there. She freezes, second-guessing herself, then signals to halt the push. Honestly, the whole setup looks completely sad compared to the epic clash she pictured. Even that ultimate move, the exact one that straight-up deleted a constellation, barely leaves a dent. Watching this train wreck unfold, the Nova boss is seething. He tries to hype up his squad, barking that anyone crossing Nova is basically digging their own grave. But he never finishes that sentence. Coco drops in out of thin air, snipes him mid-rant and puts him to sleep permanently. Lurking in the shadows, Seiya stays crouched, desperate for the green light. She whispers to Han, asking if it is time to unleash hell. He orders her to chill, reminding her that timing is literally everything, and their window hasn't opened yet. As the smoke finally clears out, Han pivots to Sisong, making sure she is good. She brushes it off, swearing she hasn't taken a single point of damage, all thanks to his clutch block earlier. Her jaw clenches. She is totally done hiding. She wants to throw down right next to him. As the crew hops off Coco's back, the Nova grunts spot them totally shook that they tanked that massive nuke without a single scratch. Seeing their flawless defense makes the enemy sweat, but his meathead soldiers are already jumping to conclusions. They assume Han's crew are just like Rufendal, massive meat shields with zero actual damage. One of the grunts steps up, volunteering to smash their tank into the dirt. The Nova commander does not even blink, greenlighting the push. Han shoots Ruffendal a look, making sure the cameras are rolling. With 70 enemies stacked up in front of them, Han tells him to vacuum up any high-tier loot. The second this absolute massacre kicks off, then Hatchet, one of Nova's brainless bruisers, struts forward, spitting out a massive ego check. He gloats that they are hopelessly outmanned and outgeared, demanding they just roll over and surrender. If they beg director Kang Muzak for mercy, maybe, just maybe, he will not wipe them off the map. Han is so over it. He calls out their delusional power trip, roasting their pathetic wannabe landlord energy. They haven't built a single thing in this world, haven't charted a single map, but strut around acting like they own the whole server. He drops reality on them. Kang Muzak threw the first punch, and now he is going to catch a body for it. Han's ice-cold vibe makes Hatchet's tough guy act completely crumble. His confidence shatters as Han's overwhelming aura flares up. Done talking. Han casually summons his undead legion, cracking the earth wide open as his army claws its way to the surface. Se-Song instantly drops her buffs, spiking their stats the second they hit the dirt. Han points his finger, signaling the slaughter, and orders Nova's head honcho to step up. Mercy is officially off the table. Hatchet still plotting some big brain move to isolate Han. With healing items and potions, never even sees the blur coming. Han's fist caves his chest in. No shiny weapons, just pure, unadulterated brute force, and Hatchet folds instantly, eyes bulging, completely unable to process how his health bar just vanished. Han glares down at the body, mind blown by the absolute joke. Hatchet was supposed to be a hardcore tank, a guy who fast tanks level 80 monsters for breakfast, but one casual punch literally deleted him. Without skipping a beat, Han commands the undead to trash the rest of them. Nova scouts are paralyzed with shock. One single punch, just one, and their top-tier tank is sleeping on the pavement. Panic spreads like wildfire as the grunts whisper about falling back. The undead are still standing tall and sheer terror is setting in. The director literally laughs at the idea of retreating, fully assuming this necromancer just dumped his entire mana pool on that flashy summon, and has zero juice left for round 2. But Se-Song's whole strategy isn't about outlasting them, it is about drowning them in pure, overwhelming numbers. Nova's scouts scream at their squad to snap out of it and keep pushing. Han does not give them an inch to breathe. He unleashes the Death Knights to completely shred their front line, tossing a quick warning to Se-Song to stay back and play it safe. She shoots him a nod, watching as Han's entire aura turns pitch black. Something insane is about to drop. The system pops off, announcing the activation of true heaven-shattering ghost art. Han's stats go absolutely nuclear. Attack and range skyrocket by 30%. Mana costs plummet, and cooldowns get slashed right in half. His average mid-tier skill, White Slash, evolves straight into true White Slash. He does not waste a single millisecond. The blade completely melts through soldiers like wet tissue paper. Pure chaos exploding as the Nova director screams for the tanks to hold the line. They literally never had a chance. Half the squad is already getting sent to the lobby before his order even reaches them. The system pings loudly, hero-level player flatlined, 5 absolute evil points secured. A sketchy hidden note pops up, claiming it can wipe out any unreasonable debuffs from his body. Han doesn't totally get it, but banks the info for later. Meanwhile, back at Nova headquarters, it is an absolute meltdown. Directors are scrambling like rats as the brutal combat footage leaks all over the web. Their hyper-guarded hunting zone has just been blown wide open. The entire timeline is currently eating popcorn while Nova gets absolutely cooked in 4K. Their PR team is sweating bullets, scrambling to delete the VODs, trying to sweep this massive L under the rug, but the internet never forgets. Meanwhile, right back in the trenches, Se-Song flips the script, unleashing a horde of undead straight at their old squad. Nova's top boss is literally shaking his jaw on the floor as his own downed troops stand back up, weapons drawn, ready to jump their former brothers in arms. Any ounce of courage he had evaporates the second Se-Song's voice hits the air. Absolute sub-zero temperature. She tells him to just take the massive L and embrace the inevitable. Absolute pure chaos rings out across the dirt as Nova's frontline gets folded like laundry. Han is just slicing through the leftovers, cold, locked in, and totally unstoppable. Suddenly, a notification pops up. Bam! He just bagged an ultra-rare redstone cache straight from the Blazing Horde's vault. For the very first time, some actual god-tier loot is finally hitting his inventory. Flexing his curiosity, our boy burns exactly 1 absolute evil point just to casually delete his luck stat, the one that's been living in the trenches of the negative digits. It skyrockets into the green before you can even blink. His strength literally hits the ceiling, maxed out. A totally hyped, wicked little smirk creeps onto his face. Rufundal is barking orders in the background, hyping up the crew to sweep the floor and funnel absolutely every single drop straight into Han's pockets. Han zones out for a sec, brainstorming if he can cheese the system and juice up his other stats too. But that thought gets completely derailed when Rufundel starts frantically flagging him down. Red alert. Wave 2 just touched down, and we are not talking about random NPCs. Nova's heavy hitters, the legendary 3 swords, just pulled up to the function. One of these absolute units locks onto Han, spots the Ramtadian drip instantly, and drops a totally unchill final warning. Drop the weapons, let them run a vibe check, and just maybe they won't send him straight back to the lobby. Han demands the spark notes on these new tryhards, pressing them. Rufundel doesn't even try to soften the blow. He drops the raw stats. On the left side, we've got Curdle, pure unhinged energy, an up-close and personal brawler who literally grinded his way out of a secret hidden class. Han gives the guy a quick ocular pat-down and just scoffs, whispering that dude does not give off main character boss vibes. Posting up on the right is Assassin, another super sweaty hidden, and holding down the dead center, Rufus, an absolute brick wall of a tank who specializes in soaking up damage. Han instantly flashes back to Rufundel's weird obsession with force fields and magic barriers. He's low-key wondering if this Rufus guy is actually Rufundel's secret man crush. Rufus steps up and drops the hammer. Tap out quietly, submit to their interrogation, and there's a slim chance he doesn't get his account permanently deleted. Han sniffs out the cap instantly. Their entire body language is screaming firing squad, so he just stands there giving them the silent treatment. Rufus barks that the timer is ticking, answer now, or it's on site. But Han's analytical brain is already working. He clocks that this so-called elite squad doesn't even have a support or healer in their lineup. Either an insanely galaxy brain flex, or just pure unfiltered delusion. Curdle full sprints and acting way too confident, fully convinced Han is just some default skin noob. But Han literally catches the incoming nuke of an attack with his bare freaking hands. The absolute panic in their eyes, pure cinema. Even Curdle's ego takes a massive hit as he realizes Han's specs are way out of his league. But that little lightbulb moment gets rudely interrupted by a right hook to the jaw that launches him straight into orbit. Rufus's brain breaks as he realizes the intel on Han was complete garbage. Curdle actually survives the hit though, and Han has to give him 0.5 seconds of respect for not instantly turning to dust. Han glances back at Rufundel and tells him to make sure the stream is catching every frame of this. Rufus, absolutely sweating now, completely pivots. He tries to slide into Han's DMs with a peace treaty offering exclusive zone rights, ripping up the bounty, and baiting him with a VIP seat at the Nova table. We are talking 100 million won a year VIP fast passes to every single high-tier rift. A fully certified contract and unlimited clout from the absolute top dogs of the alien syndicate. Han literally does not even blink. He verbally bodies the offer, absolutely roasting Nova's pathetic power trip and gatekeeping. He makes it crystal clear he didn't log in to become a corporate sellout. He is here to watch their entire empire turn to ash. He flips the script right back on them. Would they really be dropping a bag like this if he was just some random level 1 casual? The chat literally watching this go down in real time is losing its collective mind, spamming anon messages left. Half of them are memeing on Nova's massive desperation arc, while the rest are theorizing what Han's actual masterclass strat is. Han just waves it all off. Total desperation play. With diplomacy officially dead and buried, the Nova Goon Squad calls GG's on the talking phase and full sends it right at him. Han's only response, true white slash. One perfectly timed, absolutely cracked swing that literally deletes Curdle from existence. Assassin, instantly realizing he'd get folded like a lawn chair in a one-on-one, completely pivots. He locks onto Seesong, betting all his chips on the classic gaming trope that a necromancer is squishy up close. Dude hits the stealth button, ghosting his way in for the backstab, but literally a millisecond before his blade connects. Johann materializes straight out of the Shadow Realm, packing him up before his brain can even process the frame data. Assassin's final fading thought is just pure unadulterated shock, sent packing by a phantom he didn't even get an aggro warning for. Nova's remaining squad is completely paralyzed. This dude was hyped up as an unkillable server boss, and now he is just staring at the respawn screen. The rumors start flying in chat he belongs to the dreaded Black Flora group. Absolute confusion immediately morphs into cold, shivering dread. Pure chaos erupts when a terrified whisper ripples through the crowd. The kids from Murdervale just crashed the party. Just dropping the name of the boss of Murdervale is enough to make their... Rufus watches his elite squad completely fall apart, his jaw practically glued to the floor. Murdervale is actually here. That shadowy psycho has never stepped into the light until today. How in the world is this guy tied to Han, the ultimate wildcard? But before Rufus can even process the mind-bending connection, Advent of Diva drops from the sky like an absolute nuke. Zeta slams into the dirt with a deadly promise. Anyone standing against the Master is catching a one-way ticket to the afterlife. He instantly launches himself straight into the meat grinder, totally Johan quickly says, sorry for popping off too early, but Han just brushes it aside. The hitman is permanently offline, and honestly, that is all he cares about. Sweating bullets and totally desperate, Rufus practically gets on his knees begging for a redo on their negotiation. He straight up confesses that offering 100 million was a massive lowball, swearing to roll out the red carpet if Han signs with Nova. Han just cracks a savage smile and lunges for the kill. He is not out here taking the leftovers of Nova. Rufus eats 4 brutal combos straight to the face, his eyes wide with pure disbelief as he collapses into the dirt. Han snatches up a fat bag packed with 200,000 gold, totally mind-blown by how insanely loaded these Nova guys actually are. Rufendal scrambles to hoover up the rest of the drops before any randoms crash the scene. Song leans in, asking if Johan and Zeta are rolling with the squad of Han. Han gives a nod. Yep, they are the heavy-hitting elders of Skydevil. Puffing out his chest, Rufendal flexes that he already vacuumed up every single piece of loot on the battlefield, holding it all out for Han like a trophy. He absolutely insists that his boss should never have to stoop down and dirty his hands grabbing dropped items. Johan and Zeta just stare at Rufendal like the guy is an absolute myth for having that level of crazy dedication. Han just stands there wondering exactly how much treasure this loot goblin managed. Suddenly a panicked scream shreds through the air. Coco, the warning is a razor to the ear. Get your heads down right freaking now. Rufus and Song are ordered to take to the skies instantly. Johan and Zeta instantly lock into combat mode. Song frantically asks what is happening, but Han just shakes his head. He is completely clueless. But something colossal is charging their way. A pitch-black shadow swallows the entire crew just as the system flashes a blood-curdling crimson warning. Quest updated Boss Master raid officially initiated. The system drops the ultimate lore drop. Absolute evil has officially touched down, waking up the second its dark aura locked in with the twisted glitch of this monster zone. On cue, gigantic raid bosses burst from the earth. We are talking a nightmare chimera rocking weirdly elongated rabbit ears, another freakish mutation looking like a bizarre water cannon, and a massive tank-like beast flexing 2 drooling, snarling heads. Boom, a brand new raid objective flashes on screen. Boss Monster Raid. Han locks eyes with these skyscraper-sized titans, honestly hyped but low-key annoyed by their absolutely busted scale. Zeta scans the absolute unit of a threat level and drops a brutal truth bomb. This meat grinder might be way above his and Johan's pay grade, especially since the stats of Han are currently hard-capped. His tactical advice: fall back and survive. Johan, terrified of watching Han get totally wiped, backs up the retreat call of Zeta, but Han instantly cuts them off with ice in his voice. Running is absolutely off the table. He glares back, asking if they seriously doubt his power. The dead silence dropping over the group tells him everything he needs to know. Then just watch me, he snaps, cracking his knuckles as he preps to launch. Right on cue, the system hits him with another ping, confirming these god-tier bosses only spawned because they were provoked by the aura of absolute evil. Everything clicks in the brain of Han. These are not just your standard mobs. They are locked behind a puzzle with mechanics that literally only he has the code to break. The heaven-shattering ghosts erupt into a violent frenzy as his internal mana perfectly syncs up with the dark, overwhelming flex of abs. The second he takes a single step forward, the colossal bosses completely freeze up. They are glued to the floor, paralyzed by the absolutely suffocating killer intent bleeding out of him. Dripping with pure swagger, Han casually strolls right into the danger zone. Zeta and Johan are completely stun-locked, watching with their jaws practically hitting the floor. Then a golden alert pops up. A super rare hidden piece fragment is officially cleared, triggered entirely by the glitched conditions surrounding these paralyzed titans. The frequency of absolute evil is now perfectly synced up, granting him total undeniable dominance over the entire field. These skyscraper-sized nightmares literally start shaking under his aura, completely aware that the Grim Reaper is staring them down. Zeta, who already thought Han was a legend for bullying the Nova Alliance, is absolutely blown away. The sheer speed of his power creep is straight up terrifying. Johan, shivering to his core, barely whispers the truth. Han has completely evolved past the guy that— Bam, another system notification crashes onto the screen. Han just smashed through the secret requirements, unlocking an ultra-rare hidden skin reward. A split second later, the boss monsters literally vaporize, completely wiped off the map without Han even throwing a single punch. Cut back to the sleek glass towers of the Nova Alliance HQ, where an ultra-sweaty crisis meeting is happening. Their radars just picked up an astronomical power spike, and Jung-hoon drops the nuke. The max chaotic player just successfully breached the sky-flowing river. When the suits demand a full damage report, Jung-hoon delivers the fatal blow. This complete menace is sitting at level 50. Pure, unadulterated panic completely fries the boardroom. The untouchable iron grip of the Nova Alliance just got shattered. Not even their ultimate prodigies, the three swords, could hold their ground against this solo juggernaut. The hyped-up trio just stands there staring at their shoes, mumbling pathetic apologies. Surprisingly, the top brass does not even bother roasting them. The reality is staring everyone right in the face. The power scaling of this player is absolutely broken. But the top brass is absolutely fuming over their own blind spots. If they had clocked his insane potential on day one, Nova could have locked down a contract instead of letting the whole situation crash and burn. Fumbling that bag hurts like hell. This Max Chaotic guy isn't just overpowered, he completely shatters the game's fundamental logic. Chilling at level 50 and already hijacking every major news cycle, entire nations are sweating. Even the United States Justice Alliance is creeping into the chat scheming to weaponize him for their own agenda. Nova's public play wipe him off the map entirely. A wild card of this magnitude fundamentally breaks their perfectly rigged society. And that threat level just went nuclear now that he is rolling with a squad. Analyzing the player's bloody track record, Kang connects the dots, and the final picture is absolutely terrifying. He is the literal embodiment of absolute evil. Kang swears every single move the kid makes proves it, locking eyes with his grandson Mu Sok. The old man preaches his master plan, imagining a paradise where the top percenters finally stop bleeding out just to maintain the status quo. They will cancel the player, painting him as the ultimate villain to the masses. Kang plans to hijack the media cycle and brainwash the crowd until the lie becomes gospel. But in the shadows, they are holding an ace. If they can somehow leash this absolute beast, Nova will slap a collar on him and put him to work. Raw firepower always has a price tag. Meanwhile, deep in the war zone, Han unleashes another savage combo. His knuckles cave in the skull of a colossal elephant beast, flaring with apocalyptic energy as Kang's voice haunts the corporate shadows. Before dropping a contract, they have to back this kid into an impossible corner regardless of his god-tier ego. He is still flying solo. Nova is going to teach him a brutal lesson. A lone wolf, no matter how cracked, can never survive getting crushed by a hyper-optimized empire. But Han is a literal force of nature, blitzing forward to execute the monster with one devastating, earth-shattering blow. The system's robotic alert pings. The two-headed chimera boss has been obliterated. The massive beast folds into a lifeless heap. That makes 3 for 3 total boss wipeout. The system instantly flashes the raid clear notification, unleashing a flood of sweet loot. Reality literally bends. Han takes a breather to admire the carnage, admitting this was an absolute masterclass in destruction. Channeling that absolute evil aura was 100% worth the gamble. Suddenly, a fresh notification drops. 3 million gold, a massive level up, and 0.3 absolute evil points. His brows furrow, questioning if this insane haul is exclusively from dropping the big bads. If that is the case, where are the monster cores? Right on cue, the interface drops 3 pitch-black stones straight into his inventory. Han actually flinches in shock. Johan and Zeta are screaming his name, but Han just mutters into the void, wondering if he is hallucinating. The system spells it out. Out of every single core in existence, these obsidian gems are the apex. Across 2 whole centuries of Olympus running the show, these things have only dropped 3 times. The drop rate is mathematically impossible. Han just glares at his palm, old memories bleeding into his mind as a wicked smirk stretches across his face. Johan whispers that their boss looks suspiciously hyped. Zeta bets it is an adrenaline high from flexing his god-tier stats. Johan shakes it off, sensing a totally different vibe here. Boom, unexpected guests enter the chat. The big boss of the Justice Alliance touches down with a super polished hello, dropping a heavy sigh of relief that he did not miss the party. Shadowing him is Ellen, the commanding director of Blue Heart, stepping up and instantly barking at everyone to freeze in their tracks. Han automatically slides backward. As the Alliance captain invades his personal space, silently wondering how Ellen practically teleported to his flank, the big boss plants his feet, locking dead onto Han. Meanwhile, Seonghan and Zeta tactically drift out of the way, while Johan herds the rival guilds into position. Johan demands to know their endgame. The uninvited VIPs drop their credentials. Ellen steps into the spotlight, flexing her rank and title. The Alliance leader nods, confirming she is playing for their team. Ellen zeroes in on Han, demanding his full focus. She doesn't stutter, they are here to draft him. The offer: a fat signing bonus, a 300 million won base salary, custom mythical gear, VIP passes to Blue Heart's private grinding zones, exclusive black maps, and blank check support. Ellen waits for his verdict, but instantly, the Justice Alliance captain hijacks the pitch, dropping his own bait, a 300 million won signing check, a 500 million won yearly payout, topped with a mega rare item set. Han just stays muted, letting them talk. They try to gaslight him, claiming even a monster like him will get wiped out without a mega guild playing bodyguard. Ellen twists the knife, warning that dodging their contract means getting permanently blacklisted from the entire Korean trade grid. They own the ecosystem here. Han absorbs the threat but mentally hits the delete button. Like he actually gives a damn, he already holds the cheat codes to farm and flip his own loot. Your offers are literally nothing special. To flex his point, Han lets his aura absolutely explode. Bam, 3 cloaked beasts spawn out of nowhere, locked and loaded to strike. One blink later, they're totally wiped. Han's already snatched up their loot drops before the dust even settles. Glancing at his fresh stash, Han realizes a 500 million won payout is basically spare change. Not even worth a second glance. With his god-tier stats, he could easily grind out that kind of cash in his sleep. Ellen freezes totally spooked. Witnessing Han's raw power in person makes the leaked combat footage look like child's play. To this guy, their massive budget is literal pennies. Deadpan Han shoots down the offer. Hard pass. Swallowing her pride, Ellen smoothly dips out with corporate politeness. But then the Justice Alliance captain clears his throat, dropping a massive correction. Looks like there was a massive translation error. Their signing bonus isn't 500 million won. Try $500 million. Han completely short-circuits. Wait, what? He misheard the whole pitch. He thought they were lowballing him in local currency. Instantly, that bag looks ridiculously heavy. He side-eyes Ellen, asking if her guild is matching that energy, but nope, she awkwardly admits they are strictly talking Korean won. The Justice Guild head literally tilts his head briefly, wondering if they're overpaying this kid. Regardless, the gap between the two offers is just embarrassing. Think about it, Blue Heart dispatched a single director dangling 300 million won. Meanwhile, Justice rolled up with their top brass dropping $500 million on the table. The Justice head throws shade at Ellen bluntly, asking if her mega guild is seriously trying to recruit a legend with a measly 300,000 bucks. For a total powerhouse like Han, 300 million won isn't just a lowball, it's straight up disrespectful. He prays Han isn't too offended by the whole clown show. Smoothing things over the head promises they completely respect Han's solo grind, but their door is always wide open. Han keeps it cool, throwing them a bone. If I ever decide to join a squad, you guys get the first call. Ellen is internally spiraling, absolutely shell-shocked by the financial gap. She knew Justice was wealthy, but this level of cash flow is totally unhinged. Catching her totally spacing out, Han raises an eyebrow. Hey, you good over there? Snapping back to reality, she stammers an apology, muttering that she needs to bounce if they're done here. Han doesn't even twitch as she marches out. The second she turns around, her mask slips. Pure, unfiltered rage takes over her feet. In her head, she's viciously ripping into him, just another arrogant punk with a god complex. Suddenly, her earpiece chimes. High Command demanding a sit-rep. He's exactly the toxic narcissist the intel warned us about, she hisses. The voice echoing in her ear instantly agrees. Absolute garbage. Killing the comms, Ellen practically fumes, brainstorming her boss's next play. They're definitely going to crush his ego and force him to realize that going solo is a death wish. But for now, her main quest is locked in. Secure that mysterious pouch they discussed earlier. It's a literal do-or-die objective. She confirms the orders and goes dark. On the flip side, the mystery caller smirks, realizing Han just painted a massive target on his own back. Whatever wild strat Han is cooking up, doesn't matter. The board is currently tilted in their favor. Once Ellen snags that item, the whole meta is going to flip. Smash cut back to reality. Han is deep in thought, obsessing over the black stone. He needs a foolproof strat to detonate its potential and completely break the system. How does he flex this artifact to the entire globe? Suddenly, his phone buzzes. Unknown caller ID. He answers, and an instantly recognizable voice fills the speaker. It's Heseong. Han literally pauses, completely baffled he never dropped his digits for her. A soft giggle echoes through the line as she verifies it's her, politely asking if he's free. She reveals she's currently chilling with Seiya. They want him to slide over to a local cafe just for a fast, real-life vibe check. Han pushes through the cafe doors, instantly locking eyes with the duo huddled at a corner table. Seiya wastes zero time, proudly claiming credit for setting up this offline squad meetup. She totally admits to leaking his private number to Heseong, arguing that the party desperately needed some off-screen bonding time. Smirking, she casually drops a comment about how stunning Heseong looks today, nudging Han for his reaction. Crickets. Han doesn't even blink. Seiya shoots him a weird look. Hello Earth to Han, why are you being so quiet? Instantly his temper spikes. The atmosphere turns freezing cold. He ruthlessly shuts the whole thing down. He couldn't care less about these offline playdates. Real talk, he didn't even want to step foot outside his apartment today. The only reason he showed up, to drop a massive reality check. The current meta is way too volatile to be playing around. Every single leaked word, every real-life slip-up, that's free intel for enemy guilds. They need to lock down their privacy immediately. He sternly reminds the girls that one rookie mistake in public could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction of deadly rumors. Doubling down on the lecture, he orders them to strictly separate their game tags from their real identities. No gamer slang, no slipping into character. Total stealth mode. Pivoting to He-song, his voice drops an octave. It's an absolute command. Do not under any circumstances leak your in-game name. And your class bury it. You breathe a word of that to anyone, and it's game over. He-song visibly flinches, hesitating. He fiercely repeats the warning until she finally, completely thrown off by his hardcore villain energy, Seiya fires back. Dude, why are you acting like it's the apocalypse? Literally nothing bad has even happened yet. He instantly claps back coldly, warning Seiya that her own reckless moves are going to drag massive drama straight to her own front door. Then hitting her with a death glare that could freeze hell, he demands an answer. Now, who exactly gave you the bright idea to leak my private digits? Seiya stammers out a weak excuse about them being a duo. But Han slices right through her sentence. He completely shuts it down, no games and zero slip-ups. Dropping that bombshell, he casually mentions he has moves to make, and ghosts the cafe. Seiya just watches him walk away, absolutely stunned, muttering under her breath. Seriously, who would even stalk them that hard anyway? She spins back to Sae-song, shrugging with a total my bad vibe. Insisting Han doesn't usually act so unhinged. Sae-song stays totally silent, her mind racing over the intense aura he just radiated. Since day one, there has been this unspoken vibe about him, a quiet, unshakable gravity that instantly makes her feel secure. He is always the one stepping up when the heat is on, silently guarding her back. That low-key protector energy is exactly why she wanted to meet up and say thanks in person. She flashes back to Seiya, hyping her up, joking that Han would literally lose his mind if he saw her IRL. Yeah, that feels like a massive joke right now. Is he seriously that blind to how she looks? That thought bugs her way more than she wants to admit. Cut back to the game. Rufendal trots up mid-expedition, dumping a massive stack of loot into Han's hands. Han gives the kid's hair a quick approving ruffle. Rufendal instantly waves off any reward, swearing that just shadowing and soaking up Han's god-tier skills is payout enough. Han flashes a subtle knowing smirk. If this kid knew Han was hoarding the most insane, ultra-rare drops out there, literally the black stones, he would probably pass out cold. Right then, a new icon pops up in Han's stash. A video crystal. It must have slipped in when he snatched Ellen's bag earlier. The system chimes, flashing an alert that the files are officially unlocked. He swipes through the data, his eyes narrowing. The clips flash, chaotic raid brawls, prime hunting zones, and a massive trail of sketchy contracts and under-the-table payoffs. As Han connects the dots, the whole picture violently snaps into focus. This is the exact reason Ellen tried to bribe him with 1 billion won to hijack the raid. The puzzle pieces finally lock perfectly. Johan suddenly spawns in, shouting his name. Han shoots back a reply. And Johan drops some heavy intel. There is a shadow raid portal stashed way up north of the Corganus Mountains over in Runia. It is completely locked down by Ellen's alliance dogs, and the captain guarding it has been heavily exploiting his rank to farm fat stacks for himself. Johan casually mentions he already issued the hit. The second that Captain steps past the safe zone, he is getting flatlined. Meanwhile, Han stares down at that video crystal with a totally new vibe. This is not just random footage. It is pure toxic leverage. Played right. This thing is a nuke waiting to wipe out the alliances. Over at the raid, HQ Byung-un glares at the global forum feeds, scrolling through an ocean of toxic comments dragging Ramtadian. They are absolutely roasting this no-name scrub for flexing like royalty, just because he snagged a scrap of real power. Byung-un's face contorts into a bitter, icy scowl. His eyes dart toward the colossal main screen as a breaking news alert explodes across the feed. The identity of the server's absolute menace is officially confirmed. He hates to admit it, but Han's solo raw damage is absolutely busted straight up one-man army status. But still, why on earth would Han poke the bear with Mosaic and aggro the entire global server in Byung-un's eyes? Branding himself as the ultimate villain is literally torching every bridge. Han didn't just trigger Mosaic. He crossed Ellen's massive syndicate, and there is 0% chance Ellen is just going to swallow that disrespect. The second the top-tier guilds march out, the rest of the sheep will swarm, shoving his gaming chair back. Byung-un's face drops into a dark, calculating stare. Raw stats can only carry a player so far. Sooner or later, Han has to jump continents, and that means he is forced to use the raid portals. Blacklist him from the gates and he is totally trapped. Throw in a full alliance embargo on his auction house trades, and he will be reduced to a broke, low-level rat. But the second that smug thought crosses his mind, a glowing red market alert hijacks the Olympus dashboard. A massive headline crashes in. A legendary black stone has surfaced. Byung-un squints hard at the monitor, struggling to process the glitch. If Han is genuinely sitting on a god-tier relic like that, this whole game is about to get way messier and dangerously out of control. The leak explodes across the web like wildfire, shocking the community to its core. The mythic Black Stone has spawned data miners trace the drop straight to the Korean server, and the entire planet instantly loses its mind, furiously calculating how astronomical the bidding war will get. This drop isn't just a patch note, it is a full-blown earthquake. The mere whisper of a black stone shakes the virtual economy and media outlets to their absolute core. Every news boss is instantly screaming for live wall-to-wall coverage, pledging to crash the scene first, completely ignoring the massive price tag. Cut to the Alliance leader's office. The vibe is absolutely suffocating as a grunt delivers the latest intel. The Blackstone's new master refuses to sell. It is a hard pass, and the excuse is straight up petty. Turns out it is the same Max who just flipped the server upside down. His reason, he just fiercely despises Nova. The boss's eyes go pitch black. A totally unhinged powerhouse now grips the Blackstone. This completely resets the entire chessboard. Meanwhile, Seiya is quietly seething. Swiping through a toxic wasteland of hit pieces trashing her brother, she is totally confused. Every single post drips with pure slander and twisted lies. Her blood literally boils, watching his last ounce of public goodwill vanish into thin air. Our boy, though, he just casually skims the trending hate chilling. He saw this exact smear campaign coming a mile away. Shaking with pure rage, Seiya obliterates a tree trunk with a brutal kick. He just observes her muttering that she is wasting perfectly good energy. She snaps right back, voice completely raw from exhaustion, swearing to drag every single trash reporter to court. Sion hovers nearby, fists completely white-knuckled as she fiercely nods along. There is zero chance she can match the chill guy standing right there, with the total psycho plastered all over the media. Han absorbs her loyalty in silence, honestly wondering what he even did to earn such blind ride or die trust. But whatever, no time for feelings. Being public enemy number one was absolutely guaranteed the second Nova and Eileen painted a target on his back. Getting cancelled by the media, just another Tuesday. Honestly, PR is not his headache right now. He possesses the literal Blackstone, and he is gearing up to fleece the absolute highest bidder. But plot twist, no amount of cash will buy them total ownership. Boom, auction day drops. A massive horde of players jams into a ruined coliseum out in the Centennia Zone. The endless lines outside are absolutely radiating pure, unadulterated frustration. Every single warp gate controlled by Nova and Eileen has mysteriously shut down. A totally glaring attempt to trap the Blackstone on their home turf. But Han he is already 10 steps ahead. He insertion intentionally leaked the coordinates a mere 3 minutes before go time. Zero window for last-minute griefing. Flanked by Johann, Zeta, and Lexo, he mentally double-checks his master plan. Sershan's galaxy brain tactics are crushing it. People are actually swallowing the most unhinged entry demands without a single peep. Nobody wants to catch a ban from this event. Security is utterly suffocating, stripping every single player of their gear right at the gates. Just a bare-bones security detail patrols the interior, chained to insanely strict engagement rules. A panel of untouchable neutral elders monitors every single breath. Gruesome murder wheels encircle the fighting pit, radiating pure intimidation. The rules are absolute: throw one punch and you get instantly obliterated. A massive holoscreen publicly blasts the usernames of everyone blacklisted, straight up baiting them. Humiliated and foaming at the mouth, those rejects are bound to strike back. But the show must go on. The final rules echo like thunder across the stadium. The vibe inside is literally crackling. The massive crowd holds its breath as our guy strolls center stage, tossing out a chillingly polite hello. He sarcastically apologizes for the invasive pat-downs, then drops the rules. Bids are exclusively in pure gold, starting at absolutely zero. The ceiling is non-existent. Before the mic even squeaks, some whale screams out an opening bid of 600 billion gold. The auction instantly spirals out of control. 700 billion, 750 billion, 800 billion, then 860 billion. The cash pot is exploding like a runaway freight train. He is just doing the math in his head. 1 trillion, then a cool 2 trillion. It is absolutely wild how a tiny rock is shattering the entire economy. And then the ultimate mic drop hits. A voice casually drops a bid of 30 trillion gold. The whole Coliseum flatlines. The flex comes from Randall, a sickeningly wealthy tycoon who totally dominates the Middle Eastern server's Faria territory. Players from that zone literally never touch outside grass, so his sudden spawn and that god-tier flex just paralyze the room. Some other dude frantically counters with 31 trillion, chanting it like his life depends on it. Randall doesn't even twitch. He ice-coldly bumps it to 50 trillion gold. The smirk on his face screams absolute dominance. Lurking in the shadows, Sershin is dead certain securing the first ever master auction with that astronomical bag feels totally locked in. But Han He refuses to call it. He locks eyes with the crowd hungry for an even bigger fish to bite. Syrian's eyes narrow into cold slits. He knows the underground players are about to finally creep out of the woodwork. Out of nowhere, pure chaos hits. A deranged fanatic roars that absolute evil is about to wipe them all out, laughing like a total maniac with explosives gripped tight in his fist. Our guy snaps his head toward the noise and instantly pegs them as Nova's goons. The lunatic shrieks something about praising absolute evil, then chucks the explosive straight into the packed mob. Han gets a massive flash of Syrian's warning. The pastor's whole playbook relies on pure panic, trying to throttle player travel from other servers by plastering cursed runes over the warp zones to completely barricade them. And when that blows up in their faces, they pivot to straight-up acts of terror. Unhinged kamikaze blasts designed to spark mass hysteria and frame the whole thing as a twisted cult bloodbath. Honestly, the strategy is a total joke. Han realizes Syrian's prediction was flawlessly accurate. He barks out Johan's name as raw terror sweeps the crowd. In a flash, Johan moves with terrifying ghost-like speed. Manifesting right behind a bomber, he ruthlessly shuts them down before a single fuse is lit. Johan's intense aura just slices through the roaring madness, like a hot knife. Han is genuinely stunned at how these enemies are playing right into Syrian's hands, mirroring his predictions down to the last pathetic detail. Their dirty tricks hit hard, but they stepped right into a trap they always saw coming. And just like that, the actual war finally kicks off.